Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What if Naruto had godlike powers and got harem. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Two shadows ran through the streets of Konohamaru, stopping only long enough to go through some of the trash they were looking through for some scrolls and maybe some food. One was about a foot tall, with the vague shape of a baby fox with amber-colored slitted eyes. The other was a boy around 12, with dark spiky hair and blue ocean eyes that stuck out from the shadows. In fact, they both almost looked like shadows themselves, since it was a minor jutsu made by the boy himself. The little fox was making growling noises to the boy. "We must hurry. It is almost dawn, and the villagers will not want to see you this early, master." They could speak to each other using the canine language the Inuzuka knew well, so they had no problem with most of the dogs in the streets. As long as one pack didn't interfere with another, there would be no conflicts. In fact, he got along with most of the Inuzuka dogs, despite his scent of a fox. They once growled something about alpha, but he didn't understand just yet. The boy also made a growling sound, saying, "Don't worry too much, Akaio. The villagers are quite lazy on Mondays, so we don't have to worry about them for a few more minutes, perhaps another half hour. But maybe we should return for a short nap." The little fox, Akaio, yipped at its master, yawning as well from all the running the two of them had to do all night. They ran towards their apartment, ducking out of the way whenever a villager would pass by. Once in their apartment, they checked to make sure there wasn't any trap set up by the villagers, before letting their shadow jutsu drop, showing Naruto Uzumaki, the loud and obnoxious knucklehead of Konoha. He placed all the scrolls he found that night in a storage scroll. "You know, Naruto-sama," said Akaio, "I sometimes wonder why you chose to be a loud and ridiculous fool as a disguise around the villagers. I understand that they would destroy you if you were to show your true strength, but why not be something a little more normal?" Naruto smiled and said, "Well, Akaio, if you think about it, if I ever showed what my true strength was, the villagers would be after me with torches and pikes. I'm not sure why they hate me, but there are those that still care about me, and that's why I'll become more and more stronger. So it's better to stay hidden until I graduate this year, so once I become a shinobi, the villagers can no longer treat me as they wish. If they tried to harm me, they would be violating a fellow shinobi of the leaf, making their attacks a bit difficult to get away from. Not only that, if I act stupid, I'll be ignored a bit more." Akaio gave a small yip to show it understood. Naruto-sama was the kindest person it had ever met, and if it weren't for him, the little fox would be part of a queen's coat or something for its rare black fur. She may not have been any ordinary fox, but she could still die like any other one if done right. All the humans had to do was pierce the heart, and the fox would die instantly. If they hit any other part, it wouldn't matter, since its body was almost made of the same substance a shadow clone was made of. It could blend with the shadows and expand its body into any shape and size. All it had to do was collect the shadows around it and it could turn into anything. It would heal quickly, but it was a bit painful. "Well, off to bed now, Akaio," Naruto said, and leaned down to pick up the little fox, holding it like a baby. Akaio yawned, showing its small but sharp teeth in its mouth. They both cuddled into the bed and closed their eyes, ready to sleep for a few hours before finally going to the academy. In the morning, the alarm sounded, and Naruto fluttered his eyes open while turning the alarm off and saw he still had Akaio in his arms. As the little thing started to wake up and stretch, it then brought up its left leg to scratch its left ear before looking up at Naruto and yipping. Naruto smiled at his little companion and patted it on the head. In a second, Akaio turned around and walked straight towards the shadow of the couch in the direction of the door to be able to see anyone who tried to break into its master's apartment. Naruto smiled and tossed a doggy treat into the shadows as Akaio started munching on it while Naruto put on his orange clothes that he usually wore for the mask he wore as the knucklehead of Konoha. "Get ready, world, here I come," shouted Naruto, while inside he was saying, "Soon, I can stop acting like an idiot and be myself." He smirked and started roof jumping to the academy to get a good head start on things. He couldn't make a regular clone, but he thought if he made more than just one, he couldn't kill them from pushing too much chakra into simply one. He went to the class and saw he was on time for once. He didn't care and took his seat, right next to the screaming pink-haired banshee. He hated it a lot, but as the mask he wore, he had no choice but to oblige to his destiny. He turned to look at Sakura, the biggest screamer in the world. "Hi, Sakura-chan. You want to go on a date with me after school?" he asked, forcing his happy smile mask, while inside he was thinking, maybe I should drop the mask now. Maybe she won't punch me anymore and then I'll just leave her alone. That'll be a nice solution. Sakura did the very thing he expected her to do. She turned to him and said, "Leave me alone, Naruto Baka. I'm trying to get Sasuk-kun's attention. See if I give a crap." Naruto wanted to scream, but held his smiley mask in place. "Pretty please, Sakura-chan. You keep wasting your time with him all the time, and he'll keep ignoring you, so you might as well be with me, right?" This only got him a big bump on his head from being hit by the pink banshee. He wasn't that hurt, since he already had been tortured hundreds of times by the villagers. But he wasn't about to let Pinky know that, so he pretended to be knocked out cold, which was easy, since all he had to do was keep his eyes closed and look asleep. He came to after counting to 200, then just sat there, trying to get a date with the banshee. he noticed the sad and shy look of Hyuga Hinata. She had a cute habit of stuttering and poking her index fingers against each other, which made her stand out more than anyone else since she was the heir of the ever-powerful Hyuga clan. Next to her was the walking hormone, Inuzuka Kiba. On his chest, inside his coat, lay Akamaru, his companion. He was still trying to get a date with her, but she refused in the most polite way possible. This, of course, wasn't left unnoticed by Naruto, who gritted his teeth in annoyance. "You just don't learn, do you, Mudface? I'll place you in your spot soon enough." He tried to ignore him, and thanks to Iruka and Mizuki coming into class, everyone was forced to sit down. "Alright then, we're going to start the exams now. I'll call your names alphabetical order and you will each perform a clone." As Iruka started calling out names, Naruto felt someone looking at him. He looked next to Iruka to see Mizuki-sensei looking at him with a glint of hatred in his eyes. Those eyes always made Naruto uncomfortable, so he laid his head down until the team finally returned to his seat with the cheerleading fangirls and began to brood. "Naruto Uzumaki," Iruka called out. Naruto got up while listening to many say he wouldn't graduate. He just shrugged it off and made the right-hand sign before, in a cloud of smoke, 3 Naruto clones appeared. The problem was they almost looked sick and pale, and were barely even standing. Naruto frowned when he felt that there was someone screwing with his chakra manipulation. He looked over to Mizuki, who looked like he was trying to suppress a smirk. Naruto wanted to say something, but Iruka said, "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but you can't pass since you couldn't perform the jutsu right." He looked like he was in pain, and Naruto forced himself to cry as well. He knew that would be what Mizuki wanted, so he ran out of the academy. When everyone else passed and started being picked up by their parents, Naruto was crying, but only through the mask. In the inside, he was making plans on making Mizuki team pay dearly. He wasn't going to show any mercy to the gray-haired bastard. He was about to leave when he felt someone grab his shoulder. He knew the chakra signature of the person and wanted to punch him, but knew Mizuki wouldn't just come up to him to be nice. He turned around slowly and looked up at the smiling face of Mizuki, who mostly seemed to be forcing the smile. "Come with me, Naruto-kun. I have a secret to tell you," he said, not dropping his smile that somehow turned into a smirk. Naruto thought, what does he want? He followed Mizuki until they were at the Hokage monument on the current Hokage's head. They sat down facing all of Konoha. "You know, Naruto," started Mizuki, "you shouldn't blame Iruka-san for not letting you pass. The guy cares a lot about you, so go easy on him." He turned to see Naruto nod. He turned back to the village and said, "What if I told you there was a different way to become a genin? It's quite simple, really. All you have to do is steal a certain scroll. The stealing part is to test your stealth. That way we'll see if you can sneak past enemies in the battlefield. Then you have to learn one of the jutsu the scroll has, and you're all set." He gave Naruto a smile and stood up. "That's the only way I can think of to be able to help you, so sorry there wasn't much of a choice." Naruto knew that Mizuki was tricking him, but he thought that if he read a few jutsu and copied them in his own scroll, he could learn about them later on. "Okay, Mizuki-sensei, I won't let you down." Naruto stood up and headed home to get ready for his next test. Mizuki watched as the blonde disappeared from sight before laughing evilly. "Soon, I'll kill the stupid Kyuubi brat and be rewarded by Orochimaru-sama. He'll be pleased when he learns the damn demon is dead." Mizuki turned around and walked back to his own apartment to get ready. In the night, Naruto couldn't believe how easy this was. He had a black ninja to strap to his back, which seemed out of place with all the orange. Sure, the place was guarded, but it was very easy to get past the guards. Once outside, a few yards from the tower, he looked into the scroll and saw it had hundreds of jutsu that he never heard of, and a few he did know. He read the first one and saw it was Shadow Clone Jutsu. After some reading on how it gives the user the strength in numbers, he learned that whatever his clones learned would be transferred to him when they dispersed. Seeing as Mizuki team wouldn't be here for a while, he decided to start training. He looked around and saw nobody around before calling out, "You can come out now, Ekayo." The ninja on his back shifted into the form of a baby fox with black fur before leaping to the ground. "This should be fun, Naruto-sama." Meanwhile, Sarutobi frowned at what the boy was doing. Normally he would feel proud on him being able to steal the scroll without anyone knowing, but right now he was worried on what Naruto would do with the Forbidden Scrolls jutsu. He didn't even notice that there was a black fox next to Naruto, since it was the middle of the night. "Naruto-kun, what in the world are you doing?" he asked himself. He decided to alert Iruka first before telling anyone else. Naruto stood up from the ground, panting and sweating from the training. He had to admit, making shadow clones was tough, but he finally made it. He went over to the scroll, which was being guarded by Ekayo. The little fox had a scroll spread before it with a paintbrush in its mouth, a black ink canister next to the scroll. It was copying the jutsu, which surprised Naruto the first time he learned Ekayo could write fast with just its mouth. When Ekayo saw its master coming, it trotted over to him and canine spoke, "How did it go, Naruto-sama?" Naruto smiled and said, "It went fine, though I hope I'm not too weak to fight Mizuki team should he show up." "How much did you copy?" "About half of it, and there are a few things that don't make sense to me, but I wrote it down just in case." Naruto smiled at the little fox and brought out a dog treat. "Good job, Ekayo." He tossed the pup the treat, which it caught happily, before turning to the scroll and rolling it up. he suddenly felt a chakra signature and said, Akayo, turn into something nobody will notice, quick. Akayo, finishing her treat, turned into a snake and wrapped around Naruto's waist before turning into a black leather belt with a metal fox head on the buckle, its eyes glowing amber faintly. Naruto nodded and growled out, nice, Akayo. You look good. Thank you, Naruto-sama. Just then, Iruka came into the clearing, while Naruto quickly put a smile on. Naruto, what are you doing with the forbidden scroll? Do you have any idea what you have done? Of course I know, said Naruto with a smile. I passed. I'm a genin now. Naruto pretended to look around confused. But where's Mizuki-sensei? He said if I learned one jutsu from the scroll, I could become genin. Did he send you instead? It was the easiest way to warn Iruka while not telling him directly of Mizuki being a traitor. Iruka looked confused for a moment before he realized what Naruto was saying. That's when Mizuki finally came along and started talking and trying to make Naruto give him the scroll. Naruto was about to give it to Iruka when Mizuki said, don't you want to know why you're hated by the whole village? At this, Naruto froze and stared at Mizuki. He really knows why. Iruka shouted, no Mizuki, that's an S-class secret, he's not supposed to know. Mizuki threw one of the Fuma shurikens strapped to his back and threw it at Iruka, who jumped out of the way. The shuriken impaled itself on a tree that was behind Iruka a second ago. It's because you're a demon, shouted Mizuki. You're the reincarnation of the Kyuubi, the demon that attacked the village 13 years ago. The fourth didn't really kill the demon, he sealed it inside a newborn baby. You are that baby. He grabbed the other Fuma shuriken and started spinning it. Now, he said, rearing his arm back to throw the giant weapon, you die. He tossed the giant star at Naruto, who still didn't have time to digest the information he was just given. Iruka saw this and jumped in front of Naruto, taking the hit as the shuriken hit his back, knocking Iruka over Naruto. Naruto, Iruka said in a low whisper, don't listen to him. You're not a monster. You're a real child, and you're a lot like me when you want attention. Take the scroll to safety, away from Mizuki. Go. Naruto could do nothing more than obey, and scrambled out of there with the scroll on his back. Mizuki retook the first shuriken he tossed before turning to chase after Naruto. Iruka got back on his feet with a little effort before taking the giant shuriken out of his back and chasing Mizuki. Naruto had tears in his eyes, blurring his vision. That's why they hate me. They think I'm the Kyuubi no Yauko. But Iruka-sensei said I'm not. What am I? He didn't realize Akayo returned to its fox form and ran beside him. The little fox was silent, but thought, Naruto-sama is the container of Kyuubi-sama. It explains why he has a fox-like scent, but he's nothing like Kyuubi-sama. Kyuubi-sama was a strong demon, but she wasn't evil. Why would she attack the village Naruto-sama protects? Something isn't right. Naruto saw someone catching up to him from behind and dove into a nearby bush, Akayo close behind him. Naruto saw that Iruka and Mizuki were suddenly battling. He saw Iruka was badly hurt and seemed tired as he sat against a tree's trunk. Mizuki growled out, why do you protect that demon filth? He'll eventually turn on the village and destroy it all. That's what monsters do. Iruka chuckled and said, you're right, that is what monsters do. However, he started picking himself up from the dirt. Naruto isn't a monster. He's a boy with dreams that are close to his grasp. I know he can become Hokage, and he will eventually. Mizuki glared at him and said, you're wasting your breath. Your last words should have been cursing the demon brat on wasting your life. He brought back his left arm, which was the arm holding the shuriken he still had, and aimed at Iruka's head. Now die. As he was about to throw the shuriken when he felt a huge pain in his left hand, forcing him to drop the Fuma shuriken and look to where the pain was. Phew, he shouted. Naruto was right next to him, blue eyes blazing. He was holding an elegant katana that seemed to be made of shadows in his left hand. It had silver wind-like patterns all along the blade, along with an amber pommel that looked to be in the shape of a fox's fang. Don't you dare hurt Iruka-sensei. Naruto growled out, or I'll destroy you. He twisted the katana, making Mizuki scream in pain. Soon, black markings started spreading around Mizuki's body. When he felt it burn, he turned again to Naruto. What are you doing to me? He shouted. I'm placing you under one of my favorite jutsu. You won't be able to move for a long time, Mizuki team. Shadow style, black imprisonment. Naruto said, his eyes still blazing, almost glowing. Iruka could only watch in amazement as Mizuki's skin was covered by the markings until his skin turned pitch black and his body slumped to the ground. Is he dead? Asked Iruka, who thought he looked rather dead. Naruto shook his head. No, just paralyzed. He can't move until I release the jutsu. Iruka nodded and wondered how a child around 12 could take down a Chunin with a simple stab. He smiled and said, Naruto, get over here. Naruto went over to Iruka, Mizuki's body forgotten. Close your eyes, Iruka ordered. Naruto did, and after some movement, Naruto opened his eyes to see Iruka holding his goggles and no headband on his forehead. Naruto gave a big smile when he felt his forehead and said, thanks Iruka-sensei. Iruka smiled at his student, feeling proud of him. He was about to say something, when the sword Naruto had melted into the shape of a baby fox with amber eyes. The fox turned to Naruto and gave a playful yip. Naruto smiled and bent down to scratch the back of Akayo's ear, making the fox's tail wag. This is my partner, Akayo. She's been with me for some time now. Naruto explained. Iruka gaped at the little fox. That fox. How can it? It was just. Haruka stuttered, not sure what to ask first. I'll explain it to you on the way back to the tower, Naruto said, Akayo now on his head, riding the same way Akamaru did atop Kiba. Haruka simply nodded and followed the boy as he began explaining how he met Akayo. A 7-year-old blonde ran as fast as he could from a pack of drunk villagers. He had blue shorts, blue sandals, and a white sweater. Since the villagers didn't care what happened to the kid, they could use him as a punching bag whenever they wanted. Naruto ran and ran, dodging anything thrown at him. Bottles, bricks, knives, etc. He turned to the left in the next corner and rushed behind an alleyway going to the back of a clothes shop. He ducked behind the trash cans and watched as the villagers ran past him. He sighed and was about to run somewhere safe when he heard a yelping sound like a dog being tortured. He looked inside the clothes shop through the open back door to see a man holding a baby fox by the tail. The little thing was barely half a foot and had black fur and amber-colored eyes that were slitted. The man was quite muscular with a bald head and a bushy mustache. He was wearing a brown leather apron and brown boots with jeans and a white shirt under the apron. I haven't seen anything like you, mused the man. Maybe I can turn you into a nice scarf for some queen, little fella. The little fox, still yelping, looked in the direction of Naruto, who somehow found a voice that said, Please, help me, I'll do anything you want. I smell someone with a fox's scent out there. If you can hear me, I beg of you, help me. Naruto, like anyone seeing a baby fox being tortured, ran and punched the man right in the kiwis. The man buckled over and tried to catch his breath while Naruto and the fox started running like crazy. The man, though, one thing, damn demon protecting his followers. Naruto ran and ran, the black fox running next to him. The streets weren't crowded, so Naruto didn't worry too much that the villagers would see him or not. When they finally reached his apartment, they entered quickly. The lady owning the place knew Naruto for who he was and not the demon filth others thought of him. But they still got in sometimes, breaking some of Naruto's stuff and furniture. He closed the door as fast as he could behind him quickly. He turned around to face the little fox, which was surprisingly bowing before him. It made growling sounds, which, surprisingly, Naruto understood as, Thank you for saving me. I am eternally in your debt. Naruto blinked, then blinked again. Then he shouted, I can understand you. The little fox looked surprised as well. It barked, or yipped, which somehow sounded like, you can. Naruto nodded his head and the fox looked amused. Interesting. I have heard of humans being able to speak to us, but never understand us. My name is Akayo, a shadow fox demon. What is yours? In Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto, responded the scared little blonde boy, still shaken by being able to understand the little thing. Then again, he has been hearing voices saying random things about bacon and meats when he was around dogs. Not only that, the dogs were the only things that respected Naruto for some reason. If you're a demon, why didn't you just kill that manatee that tried to hurt you? He asked. Because like humans, we demons are not simply born with powers. We have to study and train to become more and more stronger to be able to fight back. Us demons and you humans are not completely different, Naruto-sama. We demons can die as well, but we're harder to kill, and we can stay alive for a much longer time than you can. Naruto nodded, still a bit confused, then asked, Why are you calling me Naruto-sama? I'm still just a boy, and I'm not Hokage yet. Hokage? Is that your goal, Naruto-sama? Naruto nodded his head and said, Once I become Hokage, people will have no choice but to stop underestimating me and see me with respect. They'll stop hurting me and I'll be the strongest out of all the Hokages. Believe it. Although Naruto couldn't tell, Akayo was smiling. I believe you, Naruto-sama. In flashback. It was times like this that Iruka wished he had helped Naruto more. Now he found out there was a demon helping Naruto out in his training and sneakiness. It might have explained how he could paint the Hokage monument in broad daylight with nobody noticing. If he can do that in broad daylight, who knows what he's capable of during the night. He could be the greatest spy using shadows. After explaining how he met Akayo, they both realized they now stood before the Hokage office. When they entered, they were met by old man Sarutobi, Koharu and Himura. They didn't seem to notice the black belt he had on his waist. Explain yourself, boy. You have just stolen the forbidden scroll, so tell us what you were thinking besides being punished severely, shouted Himura. Sarutobi raised his hand and smiled at Naruto. He fished a scroll out of his Hokage robes and tossed it towards the surprised blonde. Congratulations in completing your first S-rank mission, Naruto-kun. I'll see to it you get the payment for completing it, and a bit of a bonus for acting as the fool to help us see Mizuki for the traitor he is. I have sent ANBU to pick up the body of Mizuki-san. You didn't kill him, did you? Naruto shook his head and smiled, then said, He's paralyzed, Jiji, so you won't have to worry about a thing. Hiruzen nodded, while the other two old counselors could only gape at the boy. How can he complete an S-rank mission? He's not a ninja and shouldn't even be one ever, demanded Koharu. Sarutobi sent her a look before pointing with his pipe at Naruto's forehead. I see he has a Konoha headband, so I can only assume he is a ninja by the looks of it. Am I right, Iruka-kun? Hi, Hokage-sama. Naruto-kun has passed a test much harder than that of the one taken by the other students and is now a genin of Konohagakure, Iruka stated proudly. He gave a smug grin to the two seething counselors. They were red with anger, and all of it was directed towards Naruto, who seemed oblivious to the hatred shown by the two. While he was jumping up and down, he was thinking, take that, you fleshy old bags. Now then, I want you to go to and get those wounds healed, Uruka-kun. I don't want you to die now at such a young age, Sarutobi said with a smile. Uruka returned the smile and bowed before turning around and walking out of the office to begin his walk to the hospital. Then Hiruzen turned to Naruto and said, you're free to go now, Naruto-kun. Go and rest for tomorrow to meet your team and Jonin-sensei. Dismissed. Naruto nodded and ran out of the office, ignoring the glares the council elders sent him as he ran all the way home. Naruto woke up before his alarm went off and turned it off, excited about the teams that were about to be given out. He suddenly felt something heavy on top of him, and saw that in his arms was a naked girl around his age with straight platinum blonde hair that reached down to her mid-back. She also had 2 fuzzy black fox ears on top of her head with a bump under the covers where her black tail was, tipped in white. She was a cute girl with pale skin, not too white, and a beautiful body with a perky chest and a nice round butt. The girl almost looked angelic in his arms, making him almost swoon. She was gripping Naruto's shirt, making Naruto blush a little before shaking the girl a little. Akayo, wake up, he whispered. Unfortunately, she only crept closer to him until their faces were pressed against each other. Naruto blushed even more and tried to wriggle out of her grasp, but found her tightly holding him. He shook her a little harder until she finally started to stir. She slowly opened her amber-slitted eyes and realized she was nearly on top of him. Of course, she simply smiled with half-open eyelids and said, "Good morning, Naruto-sama." She yawned, showing her pointy teeth. When she closed her mouth, it made a click sound, and she slowly started to shrink until she was a baby fox. "Sorry, Naruto-sama, but I wanted a bit more comfort while sleeping and changed to my human form." "You are quite warm when sleeping," replied the little kitsune. It's okay, Akayo. Just don't appear naked next time. I'm still too young for that," Naruto said, laughing sheepishly and standing up. True. Akayo then turned back into her human form, again naked. She wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered into his ear seductively, "But I'm not, Naruto-sama. You can do anything you want with your Akayo-chan." Naruto's face blushed like crazy, and he could barely move. Akayo giggled and released him of her grasp before lying on the bed, covering herself and closing her eyes. "Just kidding, Naruto-sama. You don't have to if you do not want to. When you are ready, you may do as you wish with any woman." She opened one eye and smiled. "Including me," Naruto sighed. It wasn't the first time Akayo tried to seduce him anyway. He was about to put on his orange jumpsuit before thinking, maybe it's time Konoha learned what the real Uzumaki Naruto can do. He dropped the jumpsuit and ran to his closet. It had one half filled with the orange jumpsuits and the other half had a bunch of normal-looking clothes. But at the bottom, right under the racks, was a small chest that he opened to find the clothes he always wanted to wear. He pulled on a skin-tight dark blue sleeveless shirt with thick orange lines going vertically down his sides. It showed his arms rather well. He next pulled on a pair of black shinobi pants with multiple pockets for kunais and scrolls. Next was the blue shinobi sandals, then a pair of black fingerless gloves with a metal rectangle on the back. Last, but not least, he brought out a long box and opened it. Inside was a beautiful katana with a dark blue handle and a black sheath. He pulled the sword out and admired its beauty. Its handle was a foot long, while the blade was 3 feet. The blade had the kanji for merciless on both sides. He strapped it to his back so the handle was over his right shoulder. "Not bad, Naruto-sama. It fits you perfectly. Though, I don't understand why it is called merciless when you yourself are full of mercy, except to those who anger you," said Akayo, still on his bed. "Thank you, Akayo. I don't know why, but I found it in the forest of death beside a dead man, and took it anyway. I no longer have to hide in the foolish mask I wore for many years now." Akayo nodded, still not opening her eyes. "I am sure the village's female population will swoon at your looks, since I am restraining myself from doing anything inappropriate." She giggled and turned a shade of red in her cheeks. Naruto sighed, and was about to get out through his door, when Akayo said, "Wait for me." Naruto just smiled as she turned back into a fox and climbing up his body before landing on his head. He walked out of the apartment and locked the door behind him before jumping to the academy with Akayo on his head. It was still very early in the day, so he wasn't surprised when he reached the academy to find he was the first one in his class. He walked up to a seat that was 1 seat away from the window and started meditating, Akayo transforming into a belt and following her master's example. After a few hours, the second one in the class showed himself. Looking up to the door, he saw the arrogant and sad King of Amos, Uchiha Sasuk. He took a seat near the window, to the left side of Naruto, and started his daily routine, which consisted of him brooding his ass off. Naruto just shook his head. That team's going to go to a pedophile that asks, "Hello little boy, want some power?" He really should get a life, even if he is the rookie of the year. He continued his meditating when he was interrupted by a chorus of loud squeals that were heard to his right. Naruto looked and saw the whole WLS fan club enter the doorway. That included the president and vice president of the club, Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino. "Great, the Banshee's here. Just what I needed." Naruto just sat there quietly. Then Sakura, the pink-haired Banshee, started screaming at him. "Naruto Baka, get out of my seat next to Sasuk-kun or I'll beat the crap out of you." As always, she forgot all about the situation and didn't even ask why he was there when only genin are supposed to be there. While most of the WLS club started fighting over whose seat it belonged to, about 10% of it swooned over how hot Naruto became. This included Ino. He could tell by all the blushes they were sporting. Some asked themselves why he was here, but they all decided to keep looking at him as new eye candy. After all, he showed more of his muscular body than the Uchiha prodigy did. Haruno-san, please shut up. I can hear you perfectly, and I'm sure all you are doing is trying to not only turn me deaf, but your precious Sasuk-kun as well. Everyone stopped at the sudden change in Naruto. Sakura was taken off guard as well. Naruto always followed her around like a lost puppy, asking her on dates left and right. She was expecting him to call her the usual Sakura-chan. Her surprise turned to anger in a second. Naruto Baka, this is your last chance before I make a crater on your face. Now, get off my seat. All Naruto did was cover his ears because of the volume coming out of her mouth. You seriously need to shut up. I'm growing tired of your screaming habit. Sakura's mouth hung open for a while, before she snarled and brought her left fist back while shouting, Baka. She gave a swift left-handed strike meant for his face. It never touched him. He swiftly swatted it away like if it were an annoying bug, which in a way, it was. Sakura brought her other fist back and gave an uppercut towards his stomach, only to have the belt on his waist spring out and turn into a fox and chomping on her fist. She screamed and Akaio quickly let go of her to get away from the horrible noise. She landed on Naruto's head and started growling at Sakura. Naruto understood it as, get away, bitch, or I will bite your breast. Not that you have any, but it will still hurt like hell. He tried his best not to laugh at Sakura's bewildered look. Where did that F-fox come from? She stuttered, still holding her fist. She didn't even ask why the fox's fur was black, or how it was a belt a second ago. Same slow banshee. That's Akaio, my partner. I wouldn't try to hit me some other time soon, or she will kill you. Naruto said calmly. Sakura just stood there staring at him like he had a second head. Why, it's your partner? She asked, still surprised. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Did you blow your own eardrums already? Yes, my partner. Akaio jumped from Naruto's head and landed on the desk. Some girls thought the little thing was cute, and the fact that Naruto thought of it as a she instead of an it like Sakura just did, made Naruto seem more nicer. Naruto decided he had enough of people bothering him, so he disappeared in a puff of smoke and leaves and hightailed it out of there. He reappeared upside down the classroom ceiling, Akaio returning to her belt form. He was about to go back to meditating when he saw someone who wasn't swooning over the Uchiha prodigy. It was Hinata. He smiled and thought, looks like Haim is doing fine. Perhaps I will need to help her in coming out of her shell of uncertainty. Ah, the Hyuga girl. She seems rather nice. I see why you speak highly of her, Naruto-sama. She is quite beautiful. Though, she seems uncertain of herself, said Akaio. True, but that's another reason why I tried my best to become genin. I want to make sure she becomes as strong as she can be, without the Hyuga clan looking down on her. Naruto said. I see. How will you help her exactly? Silence. Naruto-sama. Kiba is here, he might hear us. Oh. Naruto looked back to Hinata to see the stupid mutt once again start hitting on her. Come in, Hinata. Just on one date, I'll show you the way a real man is. Kiba said with a grin. I'm sorry, Kiba-san. But I believe I will pass. The shy Hyuga heir stuttered. Naruto Baka will never notice you. If you're with me, I'll make you the happiest woman in all of Konoha. And no tea thanks, Kiba-san. She was blushing a lot now, and Naruto had to restrain himself from cutting the Inuzuka's head off with merciless. Must not kill, must not kill, must not kill. That idiot won't pay attention to you. How will he please you anyway? Don't kill, don't kill, don't kill. Common, or else you'll end up a virgin the rest of your life. Kiba leaned in to kiss her. She struggled for a moment, trying to push the Inuzuka away, but Kiba was getting closer and closer. Gonna kill him, gonna kill him, gonna kill him. Hinata was close to tears now. She always wanted Naruto to be her first kiss, but she was losing, and she didn't want to hurt Kiba. What do I do? She asked herself. She closed her eyes, hoping with all her might that this was a dream. Akamaru suddenly started to whimper, trying to tell Kiba the alpha was becoming angry with him. When Kiba ignored him, Akamaru crawled into Hinata's lap and said something like, "Forgive me, Alpha," before curling up into a ball. Finally, Kiba felt something touch his lips, while Hinata felt something on her lips as well. They realized whatever it was very cold. The two of them opened their eyes to find a katana right between them. They followed the blade to its source to find Naruto-kun, Hinata said happily, while blushing at her crush's new attire. Naruto was now standing on the desk, merciless on his right hand, still between the two. Naruto smiled down at Hinata and said, "Good morning, Hinata-chan." His eyes stayed warm like an ocean for a while, making Hinata almost faint over the attention she was getting, before turning to icy orbs glaring at Kiba. If Hinata-chan doesn't wish for your advances, you mustn't pester her and find someone that will. Though I doubt anyone ever will with your attitude. Kiba glared at Naruto and shouted, "Baka. I almost had Hinata give me a kiss, but you ruined it. What the hell are you doing here anyway? You're not a genin, so get lost, dobe." The ruckus was bringing a few eyes in their direction now. Some girls blushed on seeing the orange-loving boy again. "Listen well, mutt," Naruto said in a low growl, "you were going to kiss her. She didn't want you to kiss her, so you technically can't say she was about to kiss you. And one other thing, look at the forehead, Gaki. I became a genin passing a different test from everyone else here. Kiba just glared at him before climbing the desk and getting in a fighting stance. Oh yeah, Tom and Akamaru, let's show this idiot who's the alpha around here. When he didn't hear a reply, Kiba turned and was surprised Akamaru was in Hinata's arms while sending apologies to Naruto. I am sorry, Naruto-sen. But Kiba would not listen. Please don't hurt him too much, I beg of you, whimpered the small white pup. Naruto smiled while sheathing his blade and said, don't worry, Akamaru-sen. Your pet will not be hurt too much, just enough for him to understand what the consequences will be when he tries something like this again. He glared at Kiba and growled out, get ready for a world of pain, Kiba Baka. Kiba was surprised Naruto actually understood and spoke the canine language. Only the Inuzuka should, since they specialized in working along with dogs. He quickly shook his head and said, so what if you can understand the canine language? I can take you down without Akamaru, and I'm not his pet. He charged at Naruto with great speed and sent an uppercut to his face. Naruto sidestepped it and simply pushed Kiba by the head, making the Inuzuka lose his balance and fall to the desks below them. He hit his head hard and was knocked out immediately. Naruto picked up Kiba by his jacket's collar and laid him on the chair next to Sakura, who was next to Sasuk, and seemed okay with having the seat occupied as long as it didn't interfere with her Sasuk pursuing. Naruto returned to the seat where Kiba once sat, right next to Hinata. He didn't hurt you, did he, Haim? He asked, concern in both his eyes and voice. Hinata realized Naruto's voice also became a little deeper, making him even more attractive. Her face red, she shook her head. And no en Naruto-kun. He didn't. Naruto nodded and said, good. I don't want to have to do anything severe just to keep him away from you. Don't ever hesitate to come to me for any help I can give you. He smiled and rubbed her cheek with his hand, making her let out a small leap. Sound from being touched by her crush. That did it. Hinata fainted right on the spot. Geez, Naruto, why do you always make her faint? So troublesome, mumbled Shikamaru Nara, the laziest genin in the whole class. He was smart, but didn't have much motivation. Next to him was Choji Akamichi, his best friend, munching on a bag of chips. Naruto turned to Shikamaru and said, I don't know what you're talking about, Shikamaru. I just want her to know I'll always be there for her should she need me. What a drag, was Shikamaru's response. Naruto smiled and shook his head. Akamaru, still on Hinata's lap, asked, where's Akayo-san? Naruto said, you can come out now, Akayo. They heard a yip from Naruto's belt, and the belt melted into the shape of a little fox. Good morning, Akamaru-san. I see Kiba still has some discipline to undergo for his behavior. Yes, I suppose so. The little dog turned to Naruto. Forgive him, Naruto-san. He believes every second of the day is mating season. Naruto laughed and said, don't worry, Akamaru-san. I accept your apology, but it might help to keep him on a leash. Akamaru barked in agreement and went over to sit on top of Kiba's still unconscious head. Akayo went to Naruto's head and started sleeping for a while. Uruka finally entered the room and started giving out the teams. Naruto was a bit displeased on being put with the Amo and the pink-haired Banshee, but he didn't care. They didn't know how strong he really was. Uruka dismissed the class so they could go to lunch and disappeared. Outside, Naruto was sitting below a tree, his eyes closed as he meditated, Akayo still on his head sleeping. Some girls would pass by and point at him while whispering, blushes on their faces as they continued walking. He didn't pay attention and simply kept meditating for a few more minutes. Just then, Sakura came over, hands on her hips, and said, you know, Naruto, you don't have to act all cool like this. Even though you got a new look, you're still no match to Sasuk-kun. Now stop this cool nonsense and be yourself, and maybe I'll give you one of those dates you're always asking for. Naruto opened one eye and calmly said, I think I'll stay like this and pass the date. I hate to say it, but you were nothing more than part of the mask I made to hide my strength. So basically, I feel nothing for you. You're pretty, but I have my eye on another girl. She's much nicer than you, so you can stay with your Sasuk team. Not to mention that she's a hell of a lot more beautiful than you are. Sakura's mouth hung open. Naruto never liked her. She didn't know if she should feel angry, relieved, or sad. Angry because he only used her to hide his strength, relieved because it meant he would no longer pursue her, and sad because it meant he never liked her in the first place, though she didn't know why she cared. It was all an act. She wanted to say something, but the bell rang, signaling everyone had to return to the academy. Naruto walked away, hands in his pockets. After Uruka wished them good luck on the ninja world, he told them to wait for their Jonin sensei. After he disappeared, the Jonin came in one by one and took their teams for some get-to-know-each-other time. When only Team 7 was left, Sasuk and Sakura saw Naruto stand up and walk up to the door before turning to them and saying, I'll see you guys on the roof. And he disappeared. They just thought he was crazy and stayed put. After 3 more hours, a gray-haired man with the lower half of his face and left eye covered poked his head inside and said, My first impression is that you two are slow, seeing as your third teammate is already on the roof. Before disappearing in a puff of smoke, leaving 2 wide-eyed genin. Naruto and Kakashi were having a little chat. Akayo was still on Naruto's head, listening in on her master's conversation, while Kakashi was leaning on the rail across from a sitting Naruto. So Sasuk is an arrogant prick and the Haruno girl is simply here because she wants the Uchiha prodigy to notice her, huh? Asked Kakashi, earning a nod from Naruto and a yip from Akayo. It's no surprise Sasuk is a prick, since most of the Uchiha believe everything should be handed to them without them doing any work. The only one that didn't seem to be a prick at all was Itachi and my comrade, Obito. I just wish they were here. Naruto nodded and asked, when he was in ANBU, he was the one with the weasel mask, right? Earning a nod, he was a nice guy. It's hard to believe he would slaughter his whole clan just to test his limits. At this point, his eyes narrowed. Why does something stink here? He was a great guy, and he wasn't evil in any way. It doesn't seem right. You know, said Kakashi, you have a point. He was always a nice guy, and wasn't proud in using his Sharingan all the time, only when necessary. His clan also became a bit shifty-eyed a few days before he killed them all. Maybe they were hiding something. When he was around, you would get less hurt by the mobs of villagers. Maybe I shouldn't have retired. I should have stayed to protect you. Sorry, Naruto. Naruto waved his hand dismissively. Don't worry. What matters right now is that I'm alive and I now have you as a sensei. Kakashi's face saddened a little and he said, I hate to say this, Naruto, but the council has ordered me to concentrate mainly on Sasuk. I might not show you and Sakura many things, so you're almost on your own. Kakashi expected Naruto to get angry and yell at him, and he would have accepted it gladly, but Naruto surprised him by saying, it's okay. I know more than I let on. I'll see if I can teach Sakura a few things, but if she lets her fangirl attitude get in the way of making her stronger, I can't guarantee anything. Kakashi gave him an eye smile and said, Thank you, Naruto, I owe you one. I'll see how I can repay you. Naruto nodded, and at that moment, Sakura and Sasuk came in, looking very pissed. They sat down and Kakashi said, Okay then, now that we're all here, let's get to know each other. Tell me your name, your likes, dislikes, hobbies, and your dreams for the future. Sakura raised her hand and said, why don't you go first so we have a better idea on what to do, sensei? Kakashi pointed at himself with a questioning look, as if asking if she was referring to him. When Sakura nodded, he shrugged and said, Well, my name is Hade Kakashi. My likes are none of your concern. He patted his kunai holster where his book was and smiled before continuing, As for my dislikes, I don't feel like telling you. I don't have many hobbies. My goal and my dreams for my future, I've never given it much thought. Sakura and Sasuk's sweat dropped thinking, he only told us his name. While Naruto shook his head and thought, mourning for the rest of your life over your lost comrades. What a future. Kakashi pointed at Sakura and said, You're next, Pinky. Sakura glared at him and sighed while mumbling under her breath, then starting. My name is Haruno Sakura. My likes are. She glances at Sasuk and blushes. My dislikes are. She glares at Naruto, which is Akayo growling, Bring it, bitch. My hobbies are being with. Again, she looks at Sasuk with a giggle, and my dream for the future is. She again looks at the brooding Uchiha while squealing. Naruto and Kakashi sighed and Kakashi pointed at Naruto and said, You're next, Blondie. Naruto nodded and started. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. My likes are ramen, Akayo, and those precious to me. My dislikes are people who can't tell the difference between a sword and its sheath, traitors to their village, and pricks. At this point, Sasuk sneezes. My hobbies are trying out new pranks to pull on the village and training. My dream is to become Hokage and make people respect me and see me for who I really am. Kakashi nodded. Naruto seemed like the normal one so far. Your last, Imo. Sasuk glared at him, then closed his eyes and began. My name is Uchiha Sasuk. I don't like anything in particular, and I dislike a lot of things. I don't have any hobbies either. My ambition is to kill a certain man. Naruto shook his head while crossing his arms and Kakashi sighed. This guy is going to be a pain, they could tell. Okay then, meet me at training ground 7 at 6 o'clock for your real genin test. Naruto nodded and said, I see. The first test was to see who had the potential to become genin, while this one is to see if you deserved it, right? Kakashi nodded while giving him an eye smile. Good guess, Naruto. Guess you really were holding back all along. Sakura and Sasuk glared at Naruto, earning another growl from Akayo. Imo, Pinky, try anything, and both your heads are coming off in an instant. Naruto chuckled when he heard this from his partner. Bring it, fools. I'll chomp on your nuts and breast until you beg for mercy. Naruto tried to hold his laughter in for as long as possible. Thankfully, Kakashi said, One more thing. I wouldn't suggest you eating breakfast, or you'll throw up. With that, he disappeared in a puff of leaves and smoke. Naruto got up while dusting himself and said, Judging by his timing, I'm going to arrive at 10 with a good breakfast and then I'll see where I go from there. See you around, guys. With that, he jumped over the railing and started down to the streets below on his way home, leaving two confused genin. Shino Aburame was throwing kunais at a pole to have better aim. He was about to throw another when he heard a voice say, You got a minute? Yes, was his stoic reply. He turned around and found Naruto with his arms crossed. He sighed and said, Listen, Shino. Although I barely know you, I ask a favor from you. I don't trust your Inuzuka teammate for a second, so I would feel much more comfortable if you could keep Hinata-chan safe from him. Earlier today he tried to force himself onto her, but I interfered and took care of him. If you do this for me, I will be in your debt. Shino looked at the boy straight in the face, though it was hard to tell because of his shades. Do not worry, Naruto-san. I shall see to it Kiba doesn't harm Hinata-san, mentally or physical. Naruto nodded and smiled. Thanks, Shino, I owe you. And Naruto disappeared via Shunshin. Somewhere in the Forest of Death, 2 o'clock in the morning. A shadow jumped down from a tree, landing on a flat-surfaced area. Another much smaller shadow landed next to the first, before taking on the form of a young teenage girl. The shadow slowly started to gain color until it showed a girl with platinum blonde with a pair of dark blue jeans, a black leather jacket over a red shirt, and blue sandals. The clothing she had hugged her body a lot, showing her luscious curves. Next to her was her teammate, Naruto, his eyes glowing for a second before returning to normal. They always trained in the Forest of Death for 2 reasons. 1. Nobody ever came in except during the Chunin exams, and 2. Because if they ever made any damage, others will simply think it was caused by a normal Chunin exam that happened. Back on the ground, Akayo looked at Naruto and said, "Okay, I was looking around the library back at my home world last night and found this." She reached inside her jacket pocket and took out a red and black scroll. It's an old fighting style called Black Fist. It's mainly to bend around your opponent's attacks and counter with gravity, speed, and strength, though it relies more on gravity. The stance is pretty easy as well, so we won't have any problem there. Let's get started, Naruto-sama. With that said, Naruto nodded and took the scroll while opening it. For the next few hours, they kept working on their new stance. Akayo, also studying, brought out her own scroll to practice on jutsu her mother wanted her to learn and started reading it. Akayo was also trying to increase her Yauki to stay a solid inanimate object for a greater period of time. She could still stay as a sword or belt, but only for a limited time, at most for half an hour. She barely had her first tail after the first 50 years of her life, and she was close to reaching her second. Even so, in her solid inanimate state, she could still be killed if hurt in the right place, and if her Yauki supplies were too little. In her katana and ninjutsu state, her weakness would be the amber fang butt of the blade, or if in her belt form, it would be the buckle. Her weakness would mainly be anything with her amber-colored eyes on it. Sometimes the amber would become another shape or object, but it would always lead to her death if destroyed. Her Yauki would deplete the more time she stayed solid. If she were hit during a fight, it wouldn't matter so long as they don't hit her weakness. Soon enough, once she gained her fourth tail, she would stay immortal and wouldn't be able to die, even if they hit the amber for years to come. To put it simply, if there is anything of her inanimate form that is amber-colored, she would be wounded severely if it's hit. She might die, maybe she won't, but it all depends on how much Yauki she has left and the amount of shadows there are around her to recreate. If enough Yauki is left coursing within her, she could regenerate very slowly from the shadows around her. Naruto made a cross-hand sign and 15 shadow clones appeared. He gave 2 of them instructions to work on using Merciless. He was okay with it, but he wished to be as strong as possible. Another 4 would work on his Shuriken and Kunai aim, and the rest would learn the new stance and moves of Black Fist. He looked at Akayo and asked, "Do you think we should take a look at Kyuubi?" Akayo didn't even hesitate. "Heck yeah, let's go." Naruto sighed and sat down on the grass before beginning to meditate, Akayo behind him with her back pressed up against his. In about 2 minutes, they heard a drip. Drip, drip. Naruto snapped his eyes open and saw that he was in a sort of sewer. Naruto looked behind him to see Akayo with her eyes still closed. He leaned next to her and said, "Come on, Akayo, I think we're here." Akayo's eyes were open and she was on her feet in a second. "Cool. Where's Kyuubi-sama? I want to see." Okay. Naruto interrupted her. "Let's go look around. Training ground 7, 6 o'clock. A sleepy Sakura arrived just as Sasuk appeared as well. They looked at each other for half a second before Sasuk turned away from the pink-haired girl, who immediately started asking him for a date. They expected Kakashi to show up and get angry with Naruto that he wasn't here, but the 2 hungry and tired genin looked up to see Naruto walking up to them with Akayo on his head, still sleeping from staying up all night. He had a hand on his stomach and he made a small burp before saying, "Excuse me." The other 2 just glared at him and just continued with whatever they were doing. Naruto walked over to a tree before sitting down at the base and opened a scroll, the same scroll that had the few jutsu Akayo managed to copy down from the forbidden scroll. While he read, Sasuk came over with his usual pricky strides. "Fight me," he demanded. "No," Naruto said, not looking up from the scroll. "What, are you scared?" taunted the Uchiha. "No." "Then fight me." "No, you're nothing but a coward, dobe." "No, I'm not, now leave me alone." Naruto now had a tick mark on his head, and he was ready to punch the Uchiha. Sasuk finally stopped bugging him and went to a tree to start brooding. Again, Naruto just sighed in relief and continued reading. He kept reading the scroll for about an hour, listening to the growls of his teammates' stomachs, until Kakashi finally arrived with a simple, "Yo." And what happened next was obviously inevitable. "A year late." From Sakura. Sasuk, being a prick as always, glared at the man, and Naruto just stretched and said, "Good morning, Kakashi-sensei." While Akayo woke up and yipped a hello to the white-haired scarecrow. Kakashi nodded at the blonde genin before saying, "Okay then, now that I'm here, let's begin your test." He took out 2 bells from his pocket and said, "It's quite simple. Just take these bells from me, and you pass." Sakura, being the one to say the obvious, said, "Kakashi-sensei, there's 3 of us. Why do you only have 2 bells?" Unbeknownst to everyone else, Sasuk was thinking the exact same question. Yep, even the famous Uchiha was nothing but a stupid idiot who was pampered by the council elders. Naruto sighed and Akayo growled, "What a bunch of stupid idiots." Kakashi restrained himself from slapping his head on Sakura, stating the obvious. "Well, there's one for two of you, meaning one of you want pass. While the other two pass, whoever doesn't will be sent back to the academy. If none of you get a bell, you all get sent back." Sakura had a look of disbelief while Sasuk's face just stayed the same. Naruto's eyes narrowed for a second. "I thought genin were assigned teams to work together. This will only make us compete against each other just to get a bell," he thought. Kakashi brought out a clock from Kami knows where while placing it on a tree stump and setting it to 12 o'clock. He also took out 2 boxes from, again, Kami knows where and left them on a stone. He then faced them all and said, "You have until noon to get these bells. The only way to get them is through the intent to kill. Ready, set, go." With that, all 3 genin disappeared and hid where Kakashi couldn't find them. Well, Naruto was successful in doing so. Sasuk was barely visible, but did a fine job nonetheless. And Sakura wasn't having a good time with her bright hair when in a tree. Kakashi then reached into his kunai holster, the genin tensing and seeing him do this, and brought out a book. Kakashi started reading the little orange book and would sometimes giggle pervertedly, making Naruto have a good idea of what the book contained. He gritted his teeth knowing he had a perverted sensei for Kami knows how long. Well, at least I have a form of what his weakness is, he thought, though he decided Kakashi was simply way too weird to try to use that as a weakness. He then made a hand sign and 3 Naruto clones appeared behind him. He nodded, and all 3 of them disappeared in blurs. All 3 clones surrounded Kakashi, who was impressed slightly. Already no shadow clones. Not bad for Sensei's son. I just wish I could teach him something and not get stuck with Sasuk. Why did Obito and Itachi have to leave me with this kid? Kakashi thought. He just barely blocked the kunai that would have cut off the strings on his bells. It was pure instinct that he got a kunai out of his pouch as his kunai knocked the other out. He realized he was being attacked and took up a defensive stance. He looked around and only saw 3 clones. "Only 3. I feel disrespected," Kakashi said with an eye smile. He quickly turned to one of alarmed as he was attacked at the same time by all 3 clones. They met a horizontal slash, making a triangle between them. If Kakashi hadn't jumped upwards, he would have been cut in half. However, the clones were expecting this, so they all jumped upwards, bringing their swords back. Again, in synchronization, they attacked at once, more metal clanging as the blades hit a chunk of wood that appeared in a puff of smoke where Kakashi once stood. "I know I said they needed to get the bells through the intent to kill, but this is just ridiculous," Kakashi thought, fearing for his life. He decided it would be a good idea to retaliate. He shunshined behind one of the Naruto clones and punched him on the back. It quickly puffed out of existence, the other 2 appearing from the smoke and letting out a barrage of stabs that almost got Kakashi. He was scared for his safety now, and he sure didn't want to use his Sharingan on a genin. This kid really did hold back in the academy. One of them kicked him on the stomach while the other punched his face, hitting his jaw hard. Now imagine his surprise when the 2 simply waved goodbye and disappeared with smiles. Kakashi just looked confused for a moment, before looking down to make sure he wasn't injured. His eyes, widened when he realized he only had one of the bells strapped to his belt. What the? When did he get one? He looked around and tried to find Naruto's chakra signature. But he either ran too far away, or he was really good at hiding his chakra signature. Elsewhere, Naruto was jiggling the bell in front of his face, admiring his clones' work. They may not have been as strong as him, but they did the job with numbers and smarts, all adding up to Kakashi fighting the equivalent of just one Naruto alone. And that's with no Akayo. Naruto, under a pair of bushes, put the bell away in his pocket and started looking for the rest. He appeared behind Sakura and whispered, "Hey." Naturally, she jumped and was about to scream, but Naruto acted faster and covered her mouth before she could make any noise and held her close to his chest so she wouldn't struggle. Sakura, it's me," he hissed out. Sakura finally realized it was Naruto and calmed down a little, before realizing who was behind her. She grew angry and hissed, "What the hell are you doing here, Naruto baka? You nearly scared me to death." Naruto just sighed and started explaining on how one genin couldn't take on a jonin, but left out that he just did. His plan was simply to help Sasuk and Sakura to get a bell, then give his to one of them. Sakura, being Sasuk's true-as-ever cheerleader, said, "Sasuk-kun is stronger than a jonin. He can do it." Naruto shook his head and sighed. Akayo rolled her eyes and tried to restrain herself from bitch-slapping Sakura for a dumb comment. Lie. Naruto looked to the side when he heard the sounds of a battle taking place. "Common Sakura, I think Sasuk could use a hand." He ushered to the pink-haired girl. Sakura simply nodded and followed Naruto into a clearing where they found Sasuk's head on the ground. Sasuk blinked twice and looked at them. Naruto knew it was one of Kakashi's techniques. Unfortunately, Sakura didn't. Sasuke-kun's head. He's dead, she screamed. She then proceeded to fall to the ground after fainting. Naruto shook his head and sighed. This was going to be tougher than he thought. He and Akayo started helping Sasuk out of the ground while talking. "Listen, Sasuk, one genin can't take down a jonin on their own. So what do you say I help you and Sakura get a bell so you can pass? Deal? What do you get out of this? You obviously want something," demanded the Uchiha. Naruto shrugged and said, I'll think of something, but right now we need to get that bell. Sasuk nodded and Naruto walked over to Sakura. He picked her up by her shoulders, shook her gently and whispered, Wake up, Sakura. We need your help. The bubblegum-haired girl opened her eyes slowly and saw Sasuk standing behind Naruto. Am I dead? She asked sleepily. Naruto shook his head and said, No, Sasuk's alive as well. He just got caught in one of Kakashi-sensei's traps. Sakura felt a little relieved knowing Sasuk was okay. She nodded and realized Naruto was holding her. She blushed and unconsciously snuggled a little closer. She couldn't stop herself. Naruto was simply so warm and safe. But she was shoved straight into the cruelty of reality when Naruto let her go and pulled her to her feet. That's when they heard the sound of an alarm going off. Crap, Naruto mumbled. That's when Kakashi appeared, his arms crossed, and his bored expression on. Well, it seems that you didn't pass. But I feel generous, mainly because the new Ika Ika volume came out this morning, so I'll give you a second chance. But Sakura doesn't get any food, because she didn't even try. Sasuk, Naruto, I trust you won't free her or feed her. He finished just as he was done tying up Sakura to a log. It seemed that Akaio thought of this as a good time to take a nap in the shade of a tree, a few feet from Naruto. Naruto just took the food and stayed there, looking up at the sky. He now understood why Shikamaru spent hours looking up at the clouds. It truly was peaceful. Sakura, however, was starving. She didn't have any breakfast and would like something to eat at that time. Her stomach was growling, and she knew Naruto heard it because he kept glancing in her direction. I hope I'm not bothering him. I don't want him unhappy and having a weak teammate like me. She suddenly felt something brushing her lips. She looked down and realized there was a piece of rice hovering close to her lips being held by chopsticks. She followed the sticks to a gloved hand, up a bare arm, a dark blue sleeveless shirt, and whisker marks. In Naruto, she whispered, not being able to believe Naruto was actually doing this. He wasn't that hungry, so why have Sakura starving? She looked at him a bit confused. What are you doing, Naruto? Eat up. You won't be of much help if you have an empty stomach. What about what Kakashi-sensei said about not feeding me? She asked, not really wanting to get in trouble. Naruto shook his head and smiled warmly at her. She was pretty sure her heart just melted the instant she saw him smile. My team comes first, rules be damned. I'm not letting you starve just because a one-eyed scarecrow says so. Sakura giggled a little, but opened her mouth anyway. She felt very happy Naruto decided to not let her starve. She looked over at Sasuk, who just looked at her for a second before looking away and returning to eating. As she took her first bite, she thought, maybe I shouldn't be such a bitch to Naruto. Maybe he's better this way. As soon as she swallowed, they heard Kakashi's voice boom out, what are you doing? Sakura was trembling. Sasuk got into a defensive position, and Naruto didn't even react. He just stood up and looked at Kakashi as he appeared in front of them, the sky turning cloudy and thunder booming. He took out a kunai and gave them a glare. Any last words? Yeah, screw your rules, Kakashi. Naruto said, I won't let Sakura starve when I can do something about it. I don't care what you say or what you do to me, my teammates come first. Naruto unsheathed Merciless and Akaio crouched down next to him, both ready to attack. Akaio almost seemed to become more larger in the shadows. In a swift spin of his sword, Naruto cut off the ropes holding Sakura. The girl wearily got up and took a defensive stance next to the blonde boy, a kunai in hand. Sasuk walked over to stand beside them and took out 3 kunai and 3 shuriken, all ready to be thrown. Then my final verdict is, the cloud suddenly disappeared, the thunder stopped, and Kakashi was back to his usual happy self. You all pass, he said, giving them an eye smile. Sasuk and Sakura face planted, and Naruto cocked his head to the side. What do you mean? He asked. Kakashi walked over to the rock that he put the boxes of food on and looked at it. Naruto walked up to stand next to him and saw it had names of many shinobi. I didn't finish what I said earlier. True, those who abandon orders are trash, but those who abandon their teammates are worse than trash. That's something I want all 3 of you to remember. Kakashi then turned to them and said, okay now, come back here tomorrow for our first mission assignment. With that, he made a peace sign and disappeared in a shunshin. Shadow here, I'm in point A. Raven here, point B. Blossom here, I'm in point C. Nice code names, Naruto. Thank you. Guys, don't get distracted. Kakashi, hi. Naruto looked from the shadow his was in. We'll capture it in 3, 2, 1, now. Naruto burst from the shadows, Sasuk from the tree he was perched on, and Sakura came from the bushes. The next 3 minutes were filled with the screams of 3 genin and a fox, scratching noises, and a cat shrieking. Is it Tora? Kakashi asked, flipping a page in his little orange book. Yeah, came Sasuk's voice, though he seemed to be panting. Red ribbon on left ear, brown and white fur. This is Tora all right. Good job team, Kakashi said, putting his book away for reading later on. It had been like this for days. Team 7 would go to the tower and get a D-rank mission, almost half of them being to capture Tora. The little thing simply never stayed with the daimyo's wife. Naruto didn't blame the poor thing. Tora was once again suffocated by the daimyo's wife's bone-crushing hug when they were back in the mission room. Naruto had enough. For what felt like the 73rd times he and his team had captured the cat, and he didn't plan on doing it again. There they were, Tora being petted by Naruto and purring in his arms. The daimyo's wife got up and crushed the cat with one of her hugs. Sasuk smirked, thinking the cat got what it deserved. Sakura thought, poor kitty. Naruto cringed and Akayo was thanking Kami over and over again for being with Naruto. Naruto decided the little thing needed to be better treated. Lady Daimyo, he said to catch the woman's attention. I believe I should tell you something. So he spent about half an hour telling her that she was actually suffocating the cat with her love and taught her how to hold it right. As soon as she adjusted her hold on Tora, the cat soon started purring on no longer having to fight for air. The daimyo's wife thanked Naruto and paid the Hokage double of what she usually paid, before exiting the room with a happy Tora. Once she left, Naruto turned to see that everyone was staring at him with wide eyes. What? As they walked through the streets of Konoha, Team 7 was on their way to get another mission after painting a man's fence. They've been doing D-ranked missions day after day, learning minor things like tree walking. When Kakashi felt a need to be nice, he would show Sakura and Naruto something Sasuk wasn't learning. The team became quite famous when it was found Naruto had gotten rid of the Tora problem, though the few that trained in tracking no longer had any cat to practice on. Some of the teams even came to him and thanked him for finishing the problem and having the guts to do what others couldn't, to correct the daimyo's wife on how to hold Tora. Naruto didn't really see the big deal. Sure, he knew the daimyo's wife could probably have him arrested for correcting her or something, but he only taught her how to hold the cat without killing it. That's it. As they walked to the tower to get a new mission, Naruto was thinking, maybe now would be a good time to get that C rank. Naruto thought. He then looked at his team and said, well, looks like we start a whole new day in finishing even more D-ranked missions. Right guys, this might take days. With the more words he said, the more a different part of his teammates would flinch. Either their elbows, hands, eye, eyebrow, leg, fingers. Anything would flinch, and Kakashi could tell Naruto was up to something. Hakayo was yipping away at anything that moved, and soon started chasing a blue butterfly. Naruto smiled watching her play. Although she was around 50 years old, she still acted like a child when she wanted to. Except when she tried to seduce Naruto, which had decreased slightly. She either decided to give up, or she found something to do that's better. Whichever it was, just thinking about it made a chill go up Naruto's spine. As they entered the office to get another mission, Kakashi made his usual greeting. Team 7 awaiting for the next mission, Hokage-sama. The Hokage looked up and smiled. Good morning, Team 7. Well, today there's painting a fence, walking some dogs, finding a lost rabbit, helping someone garden, helping someone move into a new house, getting some sue. No, screeched Sakura, no. I've had enough of these D-ranked missions. We need something that's not even a mile close to being a simple chore. Or ninja, give us something higher ranked. By the time she was done, her face was red and she took a deep breath from all the screaming she just did without stopping to take a breath. Uruka glared at her and said, Sakura, show some respect to Hokage-sama. He knows when you are ready to take on different missions, so don't complain. Actually, said Sarutobi, they've been ready for about a week. Kakashi said they just needed to ask. The three genin turned to said Scarecrow, whose nose was still in his orange little book. He tried his best to get his head inside the book to hide from the glares from Sakura and Sasuk, Naruto's cocked eyebrow, and Akayo's barks that sounded vaguely like laughter. He finally looked from his book and gave them an eye smile. What? You had to be sure that you believed that you were prepared, or else it wouldn't have been good for any of you. Naruto shrugged while Sasuk and Sakura humped while looking away from him. Sarutobi sighed and said, all right, I'll give you a C rank. After digging through a pile, your job is to escort a bridge builder to Wave and protect him from bandits until he's finished with the bridge. Uruka, will you please go get him? Uruka nodded and stood up to get the client, Tazuna. Now then, Sarutobi said, let me explain how the ranking works. And for the next few minutes, Hiruzen started telling them about the Genin, Chunin, Jonin and Cage missions being divided. When he was done and looked at the team before him, he almost lost it. So, what do you think, Naruto? Asked Sakura, holding two vials with different nail polish in them. Which is better, the red or the green? Naruto thought, placing a hand on his chin and looking closely at the vials. Red, it seems to go good with your dress, and it's not too bright. Ah, thank you, Sakura said happily. Sasuk was meanwhile pestering Kakashi to teach him something lethal, while Kakashi himself was trying to read his book while blocking out Sasuk's voice. Hey, shouted the old Hokage, pay attention to me. All four members of Team 7 turned to him. Kakashi put a hand behind his neck and said, yes, sorry Hokage-sama. Did you say something? Hiruzen's head slammed into the desk, almost ready to go all cage on the team's ass. When the door opened to show Uruka with an old man around 40 drinking some sake. The old man looked at Team 7 and said, this is what I get. A bunch of kids, a black fox and a one-eyed freak. The blonde one looks okay, but the pink-haired one looks like a freak that belongs to a circus. Naruto and Kakashi had to hold back Sakura as she tried to kill the man. Sakura, Naruto said. I'm pretty sure we're supposed to protect him, not kill him. Sakura calmed a little, but still glared at the man. Meet up at the north gates in an hour, ordered Kakashi before puffing out via Shunshin. Naruto did the same, though his was with black smoke and a bit of red in it. The other two had no choice but to walk home, something that an Amo wasn't happy about, and a pink-haired girl had no problem with. In his home, Naruto and Akayo were getting ready. He thought about Kyuubi and wondered what to do. The demoness was kinda nice. Naruto and Akayo, still in her human form, walked through the sewers that was supposed to be Naruto's mind. As they kept walking, they heard the faint sound of whimpering and something else. Sobbing. As they neared the end of the corridor, they could see a room almost big enough to fit the Hokage monument inside of it, and an equally large gate on the other end of the room. That was where the sobbing came from. Naruto looked at Akayo a bit confused, only to find she had the same expression of confusion. He walked a little closer to the gates and listened to the sad crying. Naruto looked inside to find what seemed to be a red shivering ball of fur. He slipped through the bars of the cage, Akayo not far behind, to see a young woman around his age curled up in a ball with her legs hugged against her chest. She had red hair that reached her butt, it curled upwards almost like fire. She also had 2 red fox ears on top of her head, tipped in black, though they were currently pressed against her head like when dogs are sad. Then he noticed the set of 9 tails attached above her butt, all of them curled up and hugging her body. The next thing was quite unexpected. She was naked, and her tails were the only thing keeping her modesty. When Naruto was a few feet from her, he kneeled down and put a hand on her shoulder. As soon as he did, the red-haired girl swung around and clung to him by placing her arms around Naruto's neck. He was startled for a moment, confused on what to do, then began hugging the girl back. She kept crying for a few minutes, murmuring apologies and pressing her face to his chest. "I am so sorry. I never wanted to do this, I swear. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun," whispered the crying girl. Naruto was confused. This was the Kyuubi. The mighty Kyuubi no Yaku was a girl, no big deal there, he could handle that. The Kyuubi was crying on his chest, saying she was sorry and apparently wouldn't be letting go soon. That's not something he was expecting. He looked down at her and asked, "Why are you crying? And why are you apologizing to me?" The girl, who he was sure by now was Kyuubi, looked away, not wanting to look into his eyes. "I made your life horrible. It's my fault you're hated by the whole village. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. If it weren't for me, you might still have had a family and a normal life." She once again broke into tears as she hugged Naruto tighter. She expected anything. A glare, a hit, screaming, cursing. Anything from the boy whose life was miserable because of her. Instead, Naruto placed a hand under her chin and brought her face up so he could look at her. She was very beautiful, that he would agree on. She kept her eyes shut, not wanting to see his face in case he was angry at her. "Please, look at me," Naruto said in a kind and soothing voice. For a moment, she didn't, but she did when Naruto started rubbing her cheek affectionately. She slowly opened her eyes, showing her blood-red eyes with slitted pupils. Her eyes widened when she saw Naruto's kind and warming smile, his eyes blue and deep. She couldn't believe he wasn't even angry. "Why don't you hate me? It's because of me that you're an orphan, Naruto-kun," she said. Naruto shook his head and said, "I don't blame you for that. Besides, you don't look evil to me, and I'm not sure why you attacked Konoha, but I'll let you tell me when you're ready." Kyuubi nodded, happy Naruto understood. That's when she noticed a girl with platinum blonde hair with black fox ears and tail. "Akayo, hi Andy Kyuubi." Naruto's eyes widened. Now not only did the Kyuubi turn out to be a beautiful and nice fox girl, but she was an ant. Holy shit, Naruto thought. And just as fast as he found Kyuubi in his arms, he found her in Akayo's arms, both squealing in happiness. Naruto had to hold back the nosebleed on seeing 2 hot girls hugging and jumping. Not to mention one of them was completely naked, and now that she wasn't crying and curled up in a ball. He could see the curves and large breast, though they weren't huge, and how her tails were wagging like crazy, while the other girl still had super tight clothes. He quickly looked away and tried to think of something different. What do I think about? How about ramen? Bowls of ramen seemed to appear before his eyes. Unfortunately, he heard the squeals again, causing him to look back at them, then quickly look away from staring at Kyuubi's body. Somehow, an image of a naked Kyuubi with ramen broth pouring down her appeared in his head. He could already see the broth fall from a bowl floating over her, pouring the delicious liquid over her face and neck, her erect nipples, down to her luscious womanly. "Stop. Don't think about that, Naruto. It's no good. I'm turning into Kakashi-sensei. What do I do? Naruto-kun, are you alright?" asked Kyuubi, a little worried over her container. Naruto nodded his head quickly and said, "Just a little hungry." Where are we anyway?" Kyuubi shrugged, though she still looked at Naruto with some worry. "I believe it's your mind. It's simply like this because you never changed it." Naruto nodded and closed his eyes while concentrating. Soon he felt a small wind blow through his hair and opened his eyes to find a giant lake in front of him. There were great forests surrounding it with a bunch of red rosebushes near the pond. It was also nighttime and there was a full moon on the sky reflecting off of the surface of the lake, not to mention there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Kyuubi and Akayo gasped at the beauty of the place. Naruto was pretty good with his imagination when he wanted to be. Kyuubi turned to Naruto, obviously amazed. "It's beautiful, Naruto-kun." Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. "Yeah, I guess it is. It's actually the first thing that popped into my head." End flashback. As Naruto walked to the gates, he realized someone was following him. He looked a little to the left, but found nobody behind him. He sniffed the air and smiled. Cinnamon buns. Hinata, he thought. He kept walking for a little longer until he disappeared in a black blur. Hinata looked everywhere, but couldn't see him. "Hi Hinata," someone whispered behind her. She jumped and spun around to find blue eyes staring at her own lavender orbs. She realized she couldn't move her breath, and apparently, so did Naruto. Hinata, breath. Please, unless you want me to. That's when he thought of it. I'll have to perform mouth to mouth. Gasp bunk. Naruto found Hinata's frail and small body in his chest in an instant. He smiled and picked her up bridal style. As soon as he had her in his arms, Hinata snuggled closer to Naruto's chest and smelled his scent. Naruto chuckled and started roof jumping to the grounds where Kurenai's team usually practiced in. As Kiba and Shino finished their spar, Naruto appeared and asked, "Where's Kurenai-sensei?" "Get away from her, Baka," shouted Kiba. He was about to punch Naruto, but Naruto dodged by leaning back and Akayo shooting from his head to bite Kiba on the nose. He screamed, until Akayo placed her paws on his lips and closed them shut. "There is no need for you to start being loud, Kiba-san. You might wake up Hinata-chan, and I don't think Naruto-sama would want you disturbing his future mate," Akayo said. Barked. Kiba just growled and spit Akayo out of his mouth, although she gracefully landed on all fours before beginning to growl at Kiba. "Beat it. This is alpha business, pup," Kiba said in the canine language. "Agreed. Now, get the fuck out of here and go find a better mate, cause Hinata-chan will never be your mate." Akayo all but howled at the boy. Kiba was red with anger and looked at Naruto before saying, "Naruto, get you bitch and get the hell away from my mate." The whole world seemed to become cold and dark in an instant as Naruto's eyes were covered by the shadows of his hair. He leaned in and whispered in Kiba's ear one word, a word that held huge amounts of fear. "Run." Before Kiba could ask what was wrong, he heard the horrible sound of a mad fox. He slowly turned around to find Akayo now almost twice as tall as him. And like Naruto told him, he ran as fast as his hands and feet could take him, as a giant Akayo ran after him. Kami has no wrath like an angry vixen scorned. Naruto murmured to no one in particular. Akamaru trotted up to Naruto and asked, "Will Kiba be okay?" "Hard to tell," Naruto answered. "If he runs fast enough and tires Akayo down, he might just get a few deep wounds. If he doesn't run fast enough, he might have a sex change." Naruto, Akamaru, and surprisingly Shino shuddered at the thought of a castrated Kiba. Naruto just realized Kurenai was in the shade of a tree watching the whole ordeal. He walked over to her and said, "Hello Kurenai-sensei. I came here to give you Hinata-chan." "I kinda said the wrong thing when she wouldn't breath." This got Kurenai narrowing her eyes on Naruto, something he had seen Akayo do every once in a while. He was worried and scared now. "And what exactly did you say, Naruto-san?" asked the red-eyed beauty. Naruto laughed nervously and said, "You see, I kinda startled her a little and she suddenly stopped breathing, so I said I might have to perform mouth-to-mouth and, that's it." Kurenai didn't say anything for a second, then nodded and moved to take Hinata from Naruto. That proved to be quite difficult when Hinata wouldn't let go of Naruto's shirt. After some more pulling, and Hinata whining in her sleep, the pale-eyed girl let go of Naruto's shirt and curled up to sleep in Kurenai's arms. Naruto let out a sigh before whistling for Akayo, who returned after pummeling Kiba into the ground. She ran to Naruto, returning to her mini size on the way, before climbing up Naruto's leg and back up to his head. Naruto walked to the gates of Konohamaru, unaware that a cloaked figure was watching him. Now at the gates, the three genin, Akayo, Kakashi and Tazuna were ready to set out. As the gates to Konoha disappeared over the hill, they were pretty much in silence except for Akayo occasionally chasing something like a squirrel or a bunny. Sasuk was up front, Sakura was to the right of Tazuna, and Naruto was to the left while Kakashi took up the rear. After some more walking, they crossed some puddles. Suddenly, two men jumped out of the ponds, both of them in camouflage with kiri headbands, slashes going through them to show they were Nuke-nin. They wore a strange mask and had a gauntlet, one on the left while the other head is on the right, connected by a chain between them. They both wrapped the chain around Kakashi and pulled, slicing Kakashi to pieces. "Kakashi-sensei," screamed Sakura as the two men looked at the bridge builder. One of them murmured, "One down." Sasuk threw a kunai at the chain, getting it pinned to a tree. As soon as they were unable to move, Sakura took out a pair of kunai and took a defensive position between the two ninja and Tazuna to keep the bridge builder safe. Before the two Nuke-nin could detach the chain, they were hit by a roundhouse kick from Naruto, who appeared out of nowhere in a blur. The first one he hit was knocked unconscious since he was the one to get hit the hardest, while the second one became dazed. As Naruto started tying them up, Kakashi jumped down from a tree and walked silently to them before saying, "Good job, team. You performed greatly when fighting, like a true team. How are you still alive?" screamed Sakura surprised. Kakashi pointed at the shreds where his corpse was, where there were a bunch of pieces of logs left. "Substitution," realized Sakura. Naruto stood up from finishing tying the two brothers up and giving them a glare. "Tell us why you're here, why you tried to attack the drunk over there, and you might live," he said in a cold and serious voice. The only one of the men who was conscious was about to say Naruto was bluffing, but stopped himself when Naruto leaked insane amounts of killing intent and whispered in a scary monotone, "Now, we're here for the bridge builder. We're supposed to kill him so he won't finish the bridge," said the one that was still conscious and scared shitless. He was pretty sure he just pissed himself, and could only hope it was because he just came out from the water. Then again, he really needed to pee when he was a puddle not too long ago, and right now he didn't need to as badly. He suddenly fainted, unable to take any more of Naruto's killer intent. Naruto nodded, happy with the answer, before turning to Kakashi for orders. Kakashi just stared at him, shocked a genin could make a Chunin. No, C-rank nuke nin criminal spill his guts. He shook his head out of his daze before going over to Tazuna and asking, "What are you hiding? This is a normal C-rank mission, yet there are nuke nin after you. Explain." Tazuna sighed and said, all right, have you heard of Gato? Getting a nod from Kakashi. He has been known for normally running some boats and stuff, but in truth he sells drugs and hires men to do his dirty work. Right now he's been leeching the money from Olive Wave, and the only hope we have right now is if I finish this bridge. Then why didn't you take another team? Asked Kakashi. This mission is probably a B, maybe lower rank, and we were meant to finish a C rank. You could have hired someone who is stronger. Isn't it obvious? Everyone turned to Naruto, who had his arms crossed and was looking at the tied-up nuke nin. This Gato man must have sucked Wave dry, leaving them very poor. Tazuna was only able to afford a C-rank mission and got us. But it's okay. It's not your fault. If you go now, I will probably just die, and my little grandson will probably cry for days, while my daughter will forever hate Konohamaru. But still, it's not your fault, said Tazuna. Everyone's sweat dropped. Kakashi sighed. Kami must hate him. Okay, just let me check with my team, he said, turning to the three genin. What do you guys think we should do? Go back, or should we continue? Naruto didn't even hesitate. Yeah, let's go. But Gato's head is mine. Sasuk nodded and said, fine, I agree with the dobe. Sakura was hesitant at first, but then nodded and said, fine, let's kick some butt. Kakashi nodded, satisfied with his students' decisions. He turned back to Tazuna and said, fine, we will go to Wave and protect you. But you will have to pay back Konoha what you owe when this is over. Tazuna nodded and thanked them before they once again started on their journey to Wave. Again, they didn't see the cloaked figure disappear in a puff of black smoke. There's a lot of fog. That's what was running through the minds of Team 7. They were now in a small boat, looking around them for anything out of the ordinary. The man controlling the boat turned off the motor and started using an oar. As they kept going, they saw the bridge Tazuna was supposed to be working on and stared at it in awe. It was very big and impressive, even when it wasn't finished. Once they reached land, they thanked the man and went on their way. Almost a week has passed since they left Konohamaru, and Akaio was bored to death. Nothing had happened since that attach from those demon brothers. If those jackasses were real demons, they would be the biggest disgrace to all true demons. Meanwhile, Team 7 and Tazuna were walking through the misty area. Akaio sniffed the air and frowned. The mist was strange, there was something in it that seemed controlled. She smelled again and barked at Naruto, there's chakra in this mist. Naruto took a sniff as well. Yep, there was chakra all right. Then he heard something, and whatever it was heading towards them. Apparently, so did his sensei. Everyone get down, Kakashi shouted, bringing Sasuk and Tazuna down. Sakura, however, froze when she saw a giant piece of metal spinning towards her. Just as it was about to slice her head off, there was a loud clang as another, much thinner blade appeared in front of her. The second blade twisted, making the larger piece of metal go flying into the trunk of a tree. Sakura blinked and realized that Naruto was beside her, his katana out and right in front of her. He smiled at her and cheerfully said, hi. Sakura could only blush at how Naruto was so close to her, letting his breath reach her face. It sent chills down her spine, and it sure as hell wasn't that she was scared. Everyone looked up to the piece of metal, which turned out to be a giant cleaver. In an instant there was a man standing on the sword's handle. He had blue striped pants, no shirt, and had bandages covering his mouth and forehead. Around his black head of hair was a slanted headband with a slashed Kiri symbol on it. He looked at them and leaked out a lot of kai. The bridge builder and two of the genin were paralyzed by fear, while the third one, along with his partner, leaked out a bit of his own kai which countered that of the man's. Add it, Kakashi, or would you prefer sharing a no Kakashi? I've heard you've copied over 1,000 jutsu using that eye of yours. I'm quite impressed by that blonde one though. The boy can actually withstand my kai and even counter it with his own. What's your name, Gaki? Said the bandaged man while jumping down and taking his sword with him. Uzumaki Naruto, and I believe you are Mamachi Zabuza, the demon of the bloody mist, right? Naruto said, getting into a defensive position. The swordsman nodded and Kakashi took out a kunai. Naruto, protect the Tazuna and leave Zabuza to me. Hi. Naruto disappeared and now stood in front of Tazuna, Akaio by his side after growing as tall as he was. Sasuk was the next to shake out of his shock and take a defensive position next to Tazuna, Sakura not far behind. Zabuza looked at them and said, just look at you. Kids playing ninja. How unfortunate for you to die here and now. When he said this, Sasuk was about to charge, but Naruto said, Sasuk, stay put. He's trying to get you angry, and is succeeding. He mentally added. Zabuza turned his attention to Kakashi and said calmly, listen, how about I make this simpler for you? Give me the bridge builder so I can kill him and you live. Or you can fight me, die, then I kill the bridge builder. Your choice. Naruto was the one to answer with a smile and a simple, thanks, but no thanks. Akaio barking next to him to show her approval, though it sounded huge and scary now that she was a giant. The three genin were impressed when Kakashi and Zabuza started battling. Even if they couldn't see much with the fog, Zabuza summoned up using a jutsu. Kakashi was later forced to use his sharing and he kept under the headband when things went south. This got Sasuk and Sakura shocked, and Naruto thought Kakashi was getting old if he was using the Sharingan now. Only once did Naruto have to intervene, and that was when Zabuza suddenly appeared inside the Genin's defense. When he was about to cleave Tazuna in half, black spikes appeared out of the ground and impaled him in the stomach, chest, legs, and head, all appearing. When Naruto ran through some hand seals and sending his fist into the ground while whispering, "Shadow style, black spike death," the man suddenly burst into water, showing that it was actually a water clone. Akayo suddenly lunged forward and chomped on something, which turned out to be Zabuza's blade. They struggled for a moment, Zabuza trying his best to keep the giant fox at bay as she tried to disarm him from his executioner's blade by pulling and jerking with her teeth and claws. With a great push, Zabuza finally got rid of the fox as it jumped back when he tried to slice her down the middle. He quickly blocked a strike from Kakashi and pushed the one-eyed Jonin into the water. Just when Kakashi was about to get up and keep fighting, he realized he was suddenly trapped inside one of Zabuza's jutsu as he was encased in a sphere of water. The downside was that Zabuza had to keep physical contact with the sphere so Kakashi didn't get out, so Hugh made 3 water clones and sent them to kill the rest. "Run, take Tazuna and get out of here. The water clones can't go far from the original, so they'll eventually disperse when you're far enough," Kakashi ordered. Naruto cocked his head to the side in mock surprise. "Kakashi-sensei, I feel hurt. I think you forgot something you taught us all. Those who abandon orders are trash, but those who abandon their teammates are worse than trash. Therefore, we're not leaving you just like that." And with that, Naruto disappeared, appeared next to a tree and reached his left hand inside the shadows. He used some chakra to mold the shadows and brought his hand out. He was now holding a second katana made of shadows with wind designs on it. It looked the same as Akayo's katana form, only it didn't have a fang at the butt. He then looked at Zabuza and said, "You have 5 seconds to let my sensei go, or I will harm you greatly." The way he said greatly made a chill go up everyone's spine. When Zabuza didn't respond, Naruto got into a stance with Merciless in his right arm, leaning on his neck, and the shadow katana by his right hip. He rushed towards one of the clones and instantly cut it in half. Then when the next one tried to slice him by the waist, he jumped up and Akayo chomped the clone's head off as it burst into water. The last one would have cut off her head, had Naruto not cut his head off when he wasn't looking. Now only the original was left, and he was getting a bit uncomfortable. He couldn't say worried, the brat was just a kid, and Jonin don't get worried by kids. Naruto took out a scroll from his pants leg and unsealed a large Fuma shuriken. He brought it back and started spinning it, before throwing it towards Zabuza's arm. Zabuza had 2 choices, either leave the jutsu and let Kakashi go to fight, or have his hand cut off, Kakashi out, then fight. He let go of the sphere, just in time to dodge the spinning blade that was about to slice his arm off. Now freed, Kakashi resumed his fight with Zabuza with Akayo and Naruto with him. Soon Naruto and Akayo were back with Tazuna and his teammates as Kakashi started mimicking everything Zabuza did in perfect synchronization. Soon Zabuza was so confused Kakashi was finally able to make a hand seal before Zabuza. "Water style, great whirlpool jutsu," shouted Kakashi as a great amount of water went rushing towards Zabuza and slammed onto his chest. The mist swordsman was sent through a dozen trees before finally stopping in one. Then Naruto stabbed his arms and legs before placing the shadow katana on Zabuza's neck. Kakashi appeared next to Naruto and also pulled out a kunai, ready to kill Zabuza. The swordsman knew he was totally screwed. His arms and legs were horribly damaged, his breathing became difficult and painful, and he felt like every bone in his body was broken. He looked up at the 2 shinobi before him and coughed up some blood through his bandages. "Can you see the future?" asked Zabuza to the white-haired shinobi. Kakashi nodded and said, "Yes, I can. And your future, Mamachi Zabuza, is death." Just as Kakashi was about to slice Zabuza's neck, 2 senbon needles pierced Zabuza's neck. The mist nin's eyes widened before they rolled to the back of his head and his body went limp. Another ninja with a strange mask, a green battle kimono, and strange brown pants appeared next to Zabuza's body. Whoever it was hard to tell if it was male or female, since her hair was in a bun and 2 bangs on either side of her face. "Thank you, I have been after Mamachi for weeks now. You have just made my job easier," said the ninja. Naruto nodded and said, "It's a pleasure, but are you sure he's dead?" The masked ninja nodded and slung one of Zabuza's arms over her neck while taking the giant blade on the other. Wouldn't it be easier to just cut the head off and burn the body?" Naruto asked, genuinely confused. Before he could ask anything else, the nin was already gone, so he just shrugged it off. "Well," Kakashi said, his voice slightly slurring, "we'll have to go on now. And I think I'm falling." And true to his word, he fell forward and was about to have his head in the mud, but Naruto caught him and slung him over Akayo after covering his left eye with his headband. He and Akayo walked over to Tazuna, oblivious to the glare he was getting from the Uchiha. "Why does the dead last have to be as powerful as he is now? He doesn't deserve any of this power, it belongs to me, an Uchiha elite. I'll find out how you got this strong sooner or later, just you wait dobe." Meanwhile, Sakura was thinking something along the lines of, "I can't believe Naruto-kun is this strong. Wait, Naruto-kun, why am I thinking like that? I like Sasuk-kun." "Alright, of course we don't. Naruto-kun will protect us till the end. We have to have him soon, before anyone else can." screamed inner Sakura inside the Pinkette's head. She shook her head, trying to shut the voice of her inner self, and asked, Tazuna-san. We might need a place to stay since Kakashi-sensei will need time to recover. Is it okay if we stay at your home? Tazuna nodded. Of course, follow me. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a certain masked nin had some tools sprawled out in front of her. She looked at Zabuza's body and mumbled, well, better take out the senbon now. Just as she was about to take out the needles, Zabuza's hand shot up and caught the nin's wrist while he glared at her. Ugh, fuck Haku. You really like putting me in that death state, don't you? Asked the once dead mist nin. Sorry Zabuza-sama, but it was the only way to take you out of there. Besides, it was either that, or I had to cut off your head. And if you don't realize it, you need your head to live and think. Just hurry up to the base, we need to get ready as soon as possible. And take that damn mask off. It creeps me out. How much time till I get better? About a week, maybe less if I get a few herbs so you can heal faster, said the young girl as she took off the mask, showing a pale and beautiful face. She picked up Zabuza once again and went on her way to their home. After some walking, Team 7 arrived at Tazuna's house with Kakashi still very tired from chakra exhaustion. As they got closer to the door, Tazuna was greeted by his daughter Tsunami. She ran up to him and enveloped him in a tight hug that was almost enough to crush his old bones. Naruto and Sakura smiled while Sasuk just kept brooding. Dad, I'm glad you're home. She then turns to the genin and says, you must be the ones to protect my father. Thank you. She then bows to them and Naruto said, there's no need for you to bow, we're just here to do our job. And we might need a place to put him in. He finished by jerking a thumb at Kakashi, who was still barely able to move, much less stay awake. Tsunami guided him to a room upstairs and told Naruto Kakashi could stay there. Naruto thanked her and placed Kakashi right there in a futon so he could rest. After exiting the room, he went to another where he and his teammates would be staying in. He was thinking on how his days were going. He began to talk to Kaio-chan more. He noticed Sakura stopped calling him Naruto Baka and just called him Naruto, though sometimes it sounded like she wanted to say something else after his name. He was close to creating his own original shadow technique and was ready to perhaps ask Hinata on a date. Not only that, but Sakura had started training seriously after some talking. Sakura was once again stalking Uchiha Sasuk via roof jumping. She was proud of herself for not being caught by one of the members of the Uchiha clan. What she didn't know was that the Uchiha ass was always too busy brooding to even notice a fly buzzing in his hair if it ever happened. As Sasuk entered the Uchiha district, still as legally, Sakura had no choice but to stop her pursuit and go home. On her way to her house, she could have sworn she saw something in the shadows heading towards a training ground. Curiosity getting the best of her, she ran towards said training ground and watched as a shadow literally came out and walked towards the middle of the clearing. Slowly it started gaining color, its hair the last thing to change back, before there stood Naruto and Akaio. Akaio then jumped from Naruto's head and growled something at Naruto, who started on stretching. After doing so, the blonde then made a single cross-shaped hand sign and in an instant, without a single puff of smoke, there appeared an army of blondes in front of the original. Sakura was amazed and wondered what Naruto was about to do. She saw him give out orders, but was still too far away to hear. When Naruto was done talking, all the clones took out the exact same katana from their backs, the kanji for merciless on both sides, and they all took up a fighting stance. Naruto also took out his own and mirrored the clones. Then it was quiet. Nobody made a sound, and the only thing Sakura could hear was her own heartbeat and her breathing. Then, as if a switch was activated, all the Naruto clones charged at Naruto. The real one started hacking and slicing all the clones that came to him from all directions and angles. Sakura was even more surprised. Even from here, she could hear the sound of metal against metal every time Naruto parried and blocked a sword aimed at him. It was a clear sign that these weren't regular clones since normal ones were mere illusions. They had no scent, they made no sound, and they always needed a person to control them. These were attacking the original with independent thought, they made sounds, the weapons they had were real, and they also seemed to be performing some jutsu using the shadows every now and then. In about half an hour, there stood only Naruto, slightly panting and looking over what his clones just gave him. He had a good guard, but there were still a few weaknesses and some openings he had to work on. As he sat down to rest, Akaio went up to him and said, Naruto-sama, the pink-haired girl is watching us. Should I take care of her? No, Naruto spoke back, leave her alone. Maybe I can make her train a little. With that thought, his body seemed to sink into a black and Enkai pool as he slowly melted into the shadows. Sakura was startled, not sure where he went, before she heard breathing behind her, along with what sounded like a dog panting. She slowly turned around and met cerulean blue eyes and a smile from the blonde she had just been observing. He looked at her as if joking around and asked, enjoying the show. Sakura couldn't help the blush that was spreading across her face. Naruto chuckled and asked, so how's your training been, Sakura-san? You getting any better? Sakura opened her mouth to reply, but nothing came out, mainly because there was nothing to say. She suddenly forgot why she ever even became a kunoichi in the first place. She shook her head and looked at the ground in shame. Sorry Naruto, I haven't really been training at all. And besides, all I do is ask Sasuk-kun for a date, but he ignores me completely. Naruto nodded and asked, do you still want to be a kunoichi? Sakura nodded and said, yeah. I came this far, and I'm not backing out. Naruto nodded, seemingly happy with the girl's answer. He took out a small slip of paper and said, "Channel some of your chakra into this, then we can determine your chakra affinity." Doing so, the paper turned soggy and wet in an instant. She smiles, knowing what it meant. "Looks like I have water." "Cool," she exclaimed happily. Naruto nodded. "Come on, let's start your training." Flashback end. Ever since then, Sakura had been working hard to become a strong kunoichi. She wasn't over her crush, but she was no longer obsessed with him either. Outside, the same cloaked figure was perched on a tree looking through a window to see the blonde boy his little sister has been speaking very highly of. A few strands of platinum blonde hair could be seen sticking out of his black hood. He chuckled lightly. "I came here looking for my sister and I find her with a blonde ninja. What have you got here? Perhaps he really is a potential mate like you said." Lee-chan. His amber and slitted eyes flashed for a second before he disappeared into the darkness of the Inkai shadows. After some time, Kakashi walked down, though had some trouble getting downstairs, and sat down on the table. Sasuk was brooding in the living room and Sakura was secretly reading a scroll Naruto gave her on some healing jutsu. Naruto was still in his room, reading over the jutsu from the forbidden scroll. He smirked as he read the next one he was about to learn. Fire Style, Great Dragon Claw. Forms a claw of pure fire around the user's arm, adding a boost to most taijutsu and also makes the user's arm invulnerable to all fire attacks to the arm. Does not hurt the user and will work as a shield to cancel out any fire and wind jutsu. A ranked ninjutsu. Interesting, Naruto thought. He didn't need Duck-ass to hear anything he was saying, so he tried his best to read out loud as little as possible. He suddenly smelled something and put the scroll away in a flash before exiting the room. He then walked downstairs and his nose was soon assaulted by the smell of dinner coming from Tsunami's kitchen reached his nose. He absently licked his lips and started on his way to the table for dinner. Akayo was left outside since she preferred to hunt. A treat every now and then was okay, but she liked rabbits and smaller critters better. She kept running around, looking for anything at all to eat, but they were either very few of them or they were very sneaky. She kept looking around until she felt the strange feeling she was being watched. She heightened her hearing a little, but was too late to dodge the giant form that pounced on her, pinning her to the ground with only one paw. "What the hell?" she barked, trying to look at who or what hit her. She looked up and saw bright amber eyes just like her own with the slitted pupils. She gasped and asked, "Nice-an." The figure let go of her and took a few steps back. There in front of her stood a fox almost as big as a small horse. It had pitch black fur just like her, its canines were sticking out of its jaws and it had 5 tails behind it. "Hey Akayo, haven't seen you in a while nowadays. What happened? I've heard how you've been coming back home to get some scrolls and leaving to train here. And why do most of the vixens in our clan keep talking about fish cakes?" It asked her, tilting its head to the side. "Do you have fish cakes?" "I love fish cakes." It then added as all 5 tails began wagging happily. Akayo sighed. He may be older, but he still acted childish most of the time. "I suppose you could say I found some. One to be exact. His name is Naruto," Akayo said in a calm voice. "Naruto? Sis, I know you're weird and all, but it's not right to name your food." "Shishi, just leave me alone," grumbled Akayo to the now named Shishi. The other black fox became covered in black flames before a shape stood upwards, showing a young man standing with a cloak on him, the hood hiding most of his face. He took it off and showed himself to be a rather attractive young man around 15, with platinum blonde hair that was almost as spiky if not spikier than Naruto's hair. In truth, he was about 1,000 years older than Akayo, but hid it well. He shrugged and said, "I've seen that Uzumaki kid already, and he seems okay. So I guess I won't burn him alive. However, if he does anything to you, he'll have a sex change before completely dying a slow and painful death." "Understood." As soon as he finished talking, Akayo was in her human form jockeying him. "Don't you dare do anything to Naruto-kun. I'll beat you 100 feet into the ground, rip your tails off, and then force feed them down your throat. Do you hear me?" She screamed at him, her eyes flashing to show she was serious. Shishi chuckled. "I thought a moment ago it was Naruto-sama, not Naruto-kun," he said in a teasing tone. Akayo realized her mistake and blushed heavily. I mean Naruto-sama. I meant to say Naruto-sama, damn it." She once again shrieked at her brother, who was laughing like a maniac. "Yeah, wait till I tell him about this. It'll be sweet," he said, the sweet coming out in an Eric Cartman-like voice. Akayo sputtered with her words for a second, before bowing her head and saying, "Fine. Let's just go already." And with that said, the two once again became foxes and began their run back to the house of the bridge builder and his family. All of Team 7 and Tazuna's family were now eating dinner, nobody really talking much. That is, until a young kid came walking in with an unhappy look on his face that almost seemed permanent. He sat and ate his dinner quietly, for about 4 seconds, before slamming his fork on the table and shouting at the leaf shinobi. "Why do you try so hard? You're all going to die anyway, so why bother?" I dunno. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the whole place is being placed under his control and I don't like it one bit. "What other reason do we need?" asked Naruto in a matter-of-fact way. He didn't know why this kid was angry since they were about to help out. Tsunami glared at the boy. "Inari, show some respect. These are the ninja that are going to help us get out of Gato's grasp and save this village. Inari still seemed unhappy and continued to glare at the shinobi. Sakura looked confused. Naruto was frowning in confusion as well. Sasuk was glaring at the kid, and Kakashi didn't seem to notice. You can't beat Gato. He's too strong. You might as well leave and go back to your cozy homes while we take care of our business, said Inari. Naruto was the next one to glare at the young boy. Kid, don't think for a second our lives are cozy. Especially my life. You had a family, someone who loves you, someone who protects you. I had no one. You weren't scolded for being alive. I was. You didn't have the woman in the orphanage try to poison your food and have you killed multiple times. I was. The entire village didn't chase you and try to kill you in your birthdays. My village did. He suddenly stopped, took a shaky breath, then stood up and headed to the door. He looked back and said, I'm off to train. Don't look for me. Kakashi nodded. Fine, but be careful, Naruto. And with that said, he slammed the door closed and walked out, ignoring Akayo, who was about 3 feet to his left. He didn't even notice the bigger fox next to her. So that's your fish cakes, eh? He seems pissed. By the time Shishi was done talking, Akayo was already after her master. Oi, wait for me. And he ran after his sister before she could get out of sight. Back inside, Naruto had left a shocked bundle of people. Tsunami was the first to recover. Kakashi-san, what Naruto-san said, is it true? Kakashi sighed and ran a hand through his hair. Actually, he gave you the sweet version. He left out a few things. The only good thing is that there are few that stay neutral towards him, and even fewer that actually care for him. He said, his voice serious and sad. He had complained being an ANBU captain was troublesome if he had to keep chasing a lousy blonde brat. But as soon as he did, everything went south. Not only did Itachi become a nuke nin, but he no longer could protect Naruto as he would always. As a result, Naruto was almost completely alone most of the time. Then again, Naruto became strong from being alone with the black fox, Akayo. He would have to ask Naruto about that later. After all, no fox was like that Akayo one. Sasuk in the meantime didn't really believe anything the blonde boy said. He probably just made it up to impress everyone here. BFFT, as if someone can endure that much pain. He's hated, but only because he's a nobody. He thought like the arrogant jackass he is. Sakura on the other hand was shocked. Normally, if she were still some fangirl, she would have claimed Naruto was lying. However, she clearly saw the pain in Naruto's eyes. She realized that in her own way, she also inflicted some pain on Naruto. Maybe not to the same degree as the villagers, but she still denied to give him friendship when he asked for it, even when he needed it the most. Her face took one of sadness as she felt horrible. Kakashi saw her down look and was in a way glad Sakura was paying attention to Naruto instead of ignoring him like she used to. He really needed to thank Naruto for that. He looked at Sasuk, whose face hadn't changed. Not something he wanted to see. The rest that were in the table were still shocked to find an entire village would do such things to a mere child. Inari left the table with tears in his eyes, saying he would be in his room. Zabuza was in his bed, under some covers, healing, and listening to a midget yell. I can't believe this, shouted the short man. You're supposed to be the demon of the mist, yet a Jonin and a bunch of brats were able to take you on. Why am I even bothering to pay you? While the midget ranted, Zabuza rolled his eyes and sighed. Once he finally got paid, he could go back to his village and kill the damn Mizuki. Shut your trap already. I'll get them next time I see them, growled Zabuza, though it seemed to annoy Gato. You better, or I won't pay you at all. Gato was about to reach for Zabuza's bandages to teach him a lesson but was stopped when Haku snapped his wrist. The midget screamed in pain and backed away. His 2 bodyguards were about to slice Haku into pieces, but found their own blades pressed against their necks. Get your sorry excuses for hands off of Zabuza-sama, or I will personally castrate you, Haku said in the most menacing voice she could muster. Let's go, we're done here, ordered Gato, leaving with his goons and sending a glare to both Zabuza and Haku. When the midget was gone, Zabuza turned to Haku as best as he could in his bed and said, that was unnecessary, Haku. I could have taken care of him myself. He moved slightly below the covers and showed he had a kunai in hand. I know, Zabuza-sama, but you need to heal or you will only make the wounds worse. Standing up, she changed into a pink kimono and took off all her ninja gear. She said she needed some herbs and left. Naruto was unhappy, mostly with himself for saying those things to the kid. He didn't know why he got angry, but he just really wanted to scream that Konoha wasn't cozy to him. He actually wanted people to know what Konoha did to curse children instead of helping them. Maybe he was actually losing it. Again, another tree fell because of the slash that went right through it. He didn't even notice the fact that he was pushing chakra into the blade, nor that no normal blade should be able to do that. All he knew was that he was angry, and that he was simply cutting to vent out his anger. Left and right, almost every tree he passed was cut down. Akayo and Shishi were watching the blonde from behind a bush. Akayo was very worried for her master. She never knew Naruto had this much anger in him. Finally, after many hours, it was getting close to dawn and Naruto collapsed on the forest floor from minor chakra exhaustion. Akayo slowly walked over to him and curled up into a ball on Naruto's chest before falling asleep. Not long after, a young girl a little older than Naruto wearing a pink kimono came into a clearing. She was going about, bending down occasionally to pick up an herb, when she noticed that there was a boy a few feet to her left resting near a place that had the trees cut right through. He looked exhausted, but recuperating slowly. She walked over to him and saw the black piece of cloth on his stomach shift slightly. Then she realized it was actually a fox with black fur. She remembered seeing a giant fox at the battle that Zabuza fought, but this one could probably be held in both her hands. She knew who this was, the one who stabbed Zabuza and was about to kill him. She probably should have brought some weapons, and there wasn't enough water anywhere to use her ice powers. Crap, maybe I could strangle him. No, the fox will most likely wake up when he starts struggling. Why did I leave my weapons? I could have at least brought a senbon or two. She mentally whined. She got closer and took a closer look at his face. Last time she saw him, she was sure he had blue eyes. She kept staring at his whisker marks and his blonde spiky hair. Before she could even realize it, she was already about an inch away from his face. She blinked twice before slowly sitting straight again, a blush on her face noticeable. She looked over at the fox again to find it was awake, making her panic. It looked at her from on top of the blonde's stomach. She looked back at the little critter. It cocked its head to the side, so did she, but to the other side. Then the fox turned into a weird black substance and turned into a naked platinum-haired girl straddling the blonde boy's waist, in a fox hybrid form with a black tail and fox ears. Haku looked at her for about 4 seconds before she fainted. Akayo giggled when she saw the girl on her back with a trail of blood coming out of her nose. After a few more minutes, the ice user woke up. Just in time too, Naruto was waking up as well. The young blonde got up and looked around him for a moment before noticing the young girl who was turned away from him. She seemed to be wiping something off her face furiously while making sure he didn't see her. He quirked an eyebrow and looked down at his lap to see Akayo, who was currently in her fox form. She looked at him with those puppy dog eyes that said, "I did something that will make you angry, so I'll just be cute and adorable." Again, he looked at the girl with black hair and the pink kimono. She was quite beautiful, he'd give her that, and had chocolate brown eyes that almost looked like his own. The girl was thinking along the same lines as him in the eye department. They seemed to belong to someone like her, someone filled with sadness and loneliness. Naruto smiled at her, making her blush a little. "Hi there, what are you doing here?" Haku quickly looked around and said, "I'm picking herbs for someone special to me." She bent down to pick up an herb from the ground. "Lady, that plant you're holding is poisonous." Naruto deadpanned. She looked at the plant and realized he was right. She blushed in embarrassment and let the plant drop, Naruto looking at her like she did something stupid. Well, she almost did something stupid. She cleared her throat and turned her attention back to Naruto. "So you're a ninja. It must be hard a life. You shouldn't be sleeping here, you could catch a cold." "Yeah, not like it's the first time I've slept outdoors. And besides, I haven't caught a cold in all my life," Naruto said smoothly, remembering many times he had to sleep in the streets. Akayo wrapped herself around his neck like a scarf and looked at Haku with some curiosity. The little demoness was sure she'd seen the young girl before, but couldn't remember. "What is your name?" asked the girl. "My name is Haku. I'm Naruto." "So, who are the herbs for?" "Someone precious to me." "Were you training here?" "It looks like it because of the damage," she asked curiously. Naruto looked over to where she was looking and realized how much damage he caused. His eyes widened and he feels a slight pain on his back. He looks over and finds Merciless's guard poking his back. He pulls the blade out, careful not to cut himself with the blade. He replaced it in its scabbard and stood up, stretching his arms to the sky. Haku had to hold back her blush as she could see his abs and arms perfectly. She frowned when she noticed he looked slightly malnourished for some reason. Naruto turned to her and asked, "Do you need any help with the herbs, Haku-san?" She nodded and they spent most of the morning picking plants and talking about their precious people. After that, they were saying their goodbyes as Naruto waved at her, smiling widely. As Haku walked away, her face took on a look of sorrow. "Naruto-kun, I can only hope I don't have to fight you at the bridge. And if I do, I hope I can take you out quickly. I'm so sorry," she thought sadly, as she walked back and disappearing via water shunshin. Naruto sighed and mumbled, "Better get back before they get worried." He started walking normally, but stopped after taking 20 steps when he realized something. If Akayo was around his neck, why were there footsteps of a large fox following him? And that wasn't Akayo's scent now that he thought about it. He turned his head slowly and was face to mouth, which is drooling, and saying, "Hi fishcakes." Naruto jumped back and got into a fighting stance with Merciless in his hands. Before he could attack, the fox got on its hind legs and brought its front legs in a placating manner. "Whoa, heel, fishcakes, heel. Down boy, don't want to hurt your mate's brother do you?" It said in a cheerful tone, and Naruto realized this one had 5 tails. He suddenly turned into black flames before forming a human-like shape and turning into a cloaked boy a little older than Naruto with a few platinum blonde bangs sticking out from his hood. He also had a giant grin as he said, "So how you've been fishcakes? You treating my sister good? Or do I have to kill you if you aren't?" Naruto could tell this guy was serious. After all, who would have their fist have spikes all over it the size of his arm? They were at the tip of his knuckles, and the ones around his wrists were on like a bracelet then curved to point in the same direction as his knuckles. And to add to the coolness, the spikes started spinning, the ones on the knuckles spinning clockwise and the ones on the wrist were going counterclockwise. It made no sound, but it still looked intimidating. Naruto cocked his head to the side and asked, "Sister?" The boy pointed at Naruto's neck, where Akayo was smiling with her puppy dog eyes. Naruto-sama. Meet my older brother, Shishi. Shishi raised an eyebrow at what he just heard, while Akayo looked sad and hugged Naruto now that she was in her human form. To make her feel a little better, Naruto started stroking her tail, earning purrs from the vixen sitting on his lap. Shishi was surprised humans were like that. He never knew humans would do such things to another human, a younger one at that. And Naruto was a fucking kid the first time they attacked him as a 2-year-old, running a sword through a lung. A lung got him it. He was starting to desire the destruction of Konohamaru, but Naruto said he was being hated less and less at a slow pace. Shishi looked up at the sky for a moment, thinking of how to put it, then deciding to be blunt about it, and returned his attention to Naruto and asked, "Is it okay if I stay with you guys? It's getting bored in the demon world. And if you show that you can be trusted, I'll give you a little present, fish cakes." Naruto quirked an eyebrow at this. He was a bit excited that a demon would give him a present, but he was still a bit cautious about the young demon before him. According to Shishi, the demons could look as old as they wanted to, so long as they were able to keep moving. No use having a demon who looked like an old man and couldn't walk, right? Naruto put a hand on his chin and thought for a moment. Akayo seemed to be whimpering, and she was using her puppy eyes to make him say yes. He looked at her for 3 seconds before turning to Shishi and quickly saying, "Yes." Shishi sighed. "You can't resist it either, can you?" Naruto shook his head sadly while Shishi placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "If you find a way resist it, you are more worthy than me, my friend." With that, he turned into a fox with just one tail and walked next to Naruto, who had Akayo in her fox form around his neck like a scarf. As Naruto got close to Tazuna's house, he wondered what happened to the Haku girl. He knew there was something familiar about her, mainly her voice. He was sure he heard it somewhere, but couldn't place a finger on it. He shrugged and entered the house to find that Sakura and Tsunami were the only ones there. Sakura was reading her healing scroll peacefully while Tsunami was cleaning up the kitchen. "Where's Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto asked the pink-haired girl. She looked up from her scroll and said, "They went to the bridge to protect Tazuna while I stayed here learning this new jutsu. I already have 3 of the 7 you gave me done, so there's not much left." Naruto nodded, happy that she was progressing in her training. He found an old healing jutsu scroll one night and rewrote everything onto a new blank scroll before giving it to Sakura for her to learn. Sakura suddenly saw movement to Naruto's left and looked next to his leg to find a large fox standing there, its tail wagging. It was pitch black, just like Akayo, and surprisingly also had Akayo's amber-yellow eyes. Tough, it was big enough to reach Naruto's waist. She didn't know why, but she had a strange feeling that the fox's eyes were checking her out. It sent a chill up her spine, but it wasn't really of disgust. Before she could say anything else, Naruto noticed she was staring at his new companion. "Oh, and this is Shishi. He's Akayo's older brother, so don't worry about him hurting you. He's actually a lot more playful than Akayo, and I think he likes you," said Naruto. He was right, Shishi liked Sakura. She looked cute, she seemed strong, and she smelled nice as well, like berries and forest. He smiled and barked at her, making her blush. She didn't know why, she just did. She looked back at Naruto and said, "Kakashi-sensei and Sasuk should be returning soon, so don't worry." "But I wasn't," Naruto mumbled under his breath. Seriously, he could care less about the Uchiha. But as long as the idiot didn't bother him, he's okay with him being out of the house for as long as possible. And Kakashi, well, he was slightly worried about him, but not so much. After all, the man was a Jonin, so he could take care of himself. Then again, it only took time before he himself snapped because of the annoying Uchiha. And when that happened, Naruto hoped he would be there to have a piece in beating the crap of that brat. He shook his head and said, "Anyway, keep up the good work, Sakura. Hope you'll be strong enough for what's coming up. I don't want to have to keep saving you, no matter how much fun it is." He smiled at her, making a smile of her own appear. She was always happy when Naruto was around. Being an only child, she didn't know what it was like to have any younger or older brothers, sisters. Naruto was the closest she ever got to a brother, and she was glad she was lucky enough to have him on her team. She almost had the urge to call him nice and every now and then, and if you still don't like Sakura, well, too fucking bad for you. Most of you didn't want her to be in Naruto's harem, so she'll be his surrogate little sister. Enough said. Naruto sighed and began walking to the kitchen to see if he could help out in anything. On his way, he saw Inari at the dock next to his house through a window, looking at the sea quietly. Naruto felt bad for snapping at the little guy, so he walked outside and sat next to him. "Hey Inari, how have you been?" he asked, trying to be polite. The boy didn't say anything for a minute, then mumbled, "I'm sorry, Naruto-san. I shouldn't have said those things, and I'm sorry if I made you remember something you'd rather not have." Naruto smiled and ruffled Inari's head through his hat. "Don't worry about it, Inari. I guess losing a father and lacking one are different, but are also equally painful. So tell me, what happened exactly?" Inari looked at him for a moment, not sure if he should tell the blonde or not, but then decided Naruto deserved to know. He told him everything, from how his father taught him many things, how they would sometimes fish, and how his father wanted to protect the small town with his own bare hands. He did, but at a horrible cost. When Gato found out, Kaiza was killed in front of the whole town for his actions. At this point, Inari started crying and Naruto placed an arm around the young boy as he sobbed into Naruto's side. Akio and Shishi were watching from the house, both happy to have Naruto as a friend. Once Inari recomposed himself, he finished that he no longer believed in heroes after his father's death. Naruto made a silent vow to kill Gato, and soon after that, Naruto began telling him about his own life, seeing as Inari opened up to him. He tried to keep it all to a minimum, since he didn't want to tell Inari too much of the horrible things. Still, Inari remembered from the previous day what the village tried doing to Naruto. After a while, they started to just talk about the things they did. The pranks Naruto did, the times Inari and his mom would have fun every now and then. Pretty soon, they were laughing and the sun was up, meaning it was around noon. Time for dinner. Tsunami called out to the two boys. In unison, two voices shouted, "Hi." Before the two boys were in the kitchen in a blur, Inari wearing a smile for once at the table. Naruto's smile faltered slightly when he saw the Uchiha glaring at the wall. Seriously, he glares at everything now. Akio and Shishi began hunting when they heard it was dinner time, so they left the house in a hurry to hopefully find a small critter or something. Each day, the genin and the one jonin would take turns guarding Tazuna. Naruto and Sakura would guard him one day and Sasuk and Kakashi would watch him the next. It was about 6 days since the encounter with Zabuza, and they were ready to fight. That night, dinner was relatively peaceful, with Kakashi getting either raised eyebrows or glares for reading his little orange book. The raised eyebrows from Tazuna and Naruto, while the glares came from Tsunami and Sakura. After a while, there was a knock at the door. I wonder who would it be, thought Tsunami as she got up to get it. Just as it opened slightly, Naruto heard the sound of a sword exiting its scabbard. With a single hand sign, he instantly made a substitution with himself and Tsunami, just as a sword went right through the door and into the blonde's stomach. Kakashi, at first surprised when Naruto was replaced by Tsunami, got into action when he heard the familiar sound of a blade cutting into flesh. Naruto hit the ground, clutching his stomach as blood pooled out of the wound, and the man behind the door grinned as he pulled the sword out of the door and cleaned it before putting it back in its sheath. He was in panic when he found a man with white hair and almost all his face hidden by his headband and mask behind the door, next to the blonde one he just stabbed. Kakashi's eye widened in anger as he took out a kunai to attack. The man, scared when he realized he was looking at the legendary Kakashi no Sharingan, turned around and ran into the night. Kakashi tightened his grip on his kunai and pursued the attacker. Sakura ran to Naruto's side and began to heal him with what little she knew of medical jutsu. Akio was next to him as well, opposite of Sakura, and placed her paws next to Naruto's wound, sending her Yauki into Naruto without hurting him. Sakura was surprised when Naruto's wound was healing, though it was very slow and he was still in pain and barely alive. His eyes were shut tight in pain and he was gritting his teeth. Sakura expected a scream or something, but she was impressed Naruto made no noise, just breathed more ragged. She remembered what he said the village did to him, about how he was beaten a lot as a child. She had a sad look on her face as she tried her best to heal the blonde boy. Meanwhile, Sasuk went to follow Kakashi, and Shishi was a blur as he was already out the door, following the bandit who attacked someone he instantly considered a friend. The bandit was scared shitless. He knew he didn't stand a chance against the legendary Kakashi no Sharingan. As said Scarecrow ran after the bandit, who was almost within his grasp, a black fox the size of a horse jumped over his head and pounced on the man. Sasuk appeared next to him, just in time to see the man be bitten and clawed by the giant fox on him. What was the most frightening part of all was that the fox had 5 tails, all having their hair standing on end, looking very feral. The man didn't even scream as he was killed in a matter of seconds by the fox once his throat was sliced. Sasuk hadn't seen anything as bloody and merciless since the day his clan was slaughtered, and it brought unwanted memories back. Now, one of Naruto's pets was destroying a man without even stopping. To make it worse, the giant fox began to eat the corpse of the dead man. Shishi, on the other hand, was happy. He was slightly worried about Naruto, but knew with 2 demons, one in his gut and another near him all the time, he would be okay. After all, Akio's healing skills were on par with the Kyubai's, so no worries for now. And he got a meal, what better luck. He returned to eating his meal, but realized he was being watched. He turned his head slightly to the left and saw the Uchiha boy with a sick look on his face and the Scarecrow looking quite shocked. He grinned as the Uchiha fainted and the Scarecrow just kept looking at him with his widened eye, until he talked, scaring the crap out of Kakashi. You know, it's not nice to stare at someone when they're eating, ninja. Now let me eat in peace, said Shishi to Kakashi in a demonic tone. Kakashi did just that and fainted next to Sasuk. Shishi shook his head and finished up his food and walked to the 2 bodies on the ground. He picked both with one of his tails and began his walk back to the bridge builder's house. Both Sakura and Akio let out a sigh of relief when Naruto was all patched up with bandages on his torso. He was okay, but even with healing slowly would need to rest up a bit. He was barely able to stay awake, and the last thing he saw before blacking out was Shishi in a giant form, Kakashi and Sasuk being carried by his tails. As Naruto lost consciousness, Sakura almost screamed when she saw Naruto's second fox squeeze in through the door. Her mouth hung open, as did everyone else in the room. Shishi placed both Kakashi and the brat on separate couches and barked at them before returning to his regular size. They were still shocked, but were taken out of their freezing state when Naruto groaned. They turned back to the blonde to see him still there, though he was still in pain. Walking over, Shishi used his tail and carefully wrapped it around Naruto before picking him up and slowly lifting him up and placing him on his back. Now secure in Shishi's back, Naruto was taken up the stairs to where he would be staying for the night. Once settled in, Shishi left and went back downstairs. He walked over to Akayo and asked, "Will he be okay, Nisan?" Akayo sighed and said, "Yes, but it'll take some time for his wound to completely heal. Even Kyuubi-sama's chakra isn't fast enough, and if it weren't for the fact that me, Kyuubi-sama and the Haruno girl were there to help him, he could have died." Shishi let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. If Naruto died, he and Akayo would be forced to return to the demon world and not have any fun. No adventure, no fighting, no eating like crazy. Nothing. And if he had to, he'd go straight up to the Shinigami, thrust his fist into said god's stomach, and take out Naruto and Kyuubi's soul just to have someone to befriend. The creature was about to chomp down on another one of his souls before it suddenly sneezed, getting snot all over the soul of the scared assassin who killed many families. Damn mortals complaining about death, it grumbled, before continuing on with his lunch. After a few minutes, Kakashi returned to the real world. When he woke up, he found two large amber eyes looking at him with mirth, before his whole face was licked by a large wet tongue. He quickly pushed the giant fox of his face and backed away from it like a little girl who saw a monster. Kakashi noticed he was the only one in the living room, since Shishi took Sasuk up to the room they would be sharing with his team, leaving Kakashi all alone. Kinda. When Kakashi looked scared, Shishi chuckled and whispered, "Don't worry, Ninjin, I won't kill you. However, it will be better to talk about this in a much more private place." Shishi wrapped a tail around Kakashi before they both disappeared in a blaze of black flames. Akayo looked on from where she was resting and sighed. "Brother, I can only hope you won't break the poor man. I don't wish to tell Naruto-sama why his sensei has lost his mind," she thought, before silently returning to sleep. Kakashi and Shishi appeared outside the house. Kakashi was still on his butt looking at Shishi in fear. Then Shishi exploded in black fire that almost made Kakashi faint again. Suddenly there was smoke where Shishi the fox once stood, and a large figure of a man was there, stalking towards him. It reared its head back, as if about to attack. "Oh, hhhh. The creature sneezed. In Shishi's place was a boy around 17 with platinum blonde hair like Ino's, and he was wearing a large black cloak. Those were the minor features. What really caught Kakashi's attention were the eyes that stayed the same, the ears on his head and the 5 tails poking out from the bottom of his cloak. He made a peace sign with his middle and index fingers, smiled and said, "Yo." As they sat across from each other on the ground in front of the house, Kakashi nodded, still digesting everything the demon just told him. It made sense now. Naruto's control over the shadows, the way he was actually able to outrun every single ANBU in the village and barely even be out of breath. And when he was listening to how Akayo met Naruto, he thought it amusing Naruto could talk to foxes and dogs. Only the Inuzuka were known to do that, and he was sure he had seen something like it somewhere. When he was still a teenager, he shook his head, filing that thought for a later time. He turned to the funny demon, who began cleaning his canines with his claw on his index finger and asked, "So you're not going to kill us, nor try to free the Kyuubi, correct?" Shishi nodded, then said, "Yes, but if the Uchiha finds out about this and asks to have our power, he will suffer. I don't care if you're his brother, his uncle, his brother's roommate, his sister's husband, his father's cousin's boyfriend, or even if you're just his friend. He'll be in for a world of massive pain. It's just that I hate the Uchiha clan and their motherfucking eye. I hate that eye with every fiber of my being." Kakashi once again shook his head and asked, "How do I know you're no making all this up?" Shishi looked at him slightly annoyed and said, "Don't worry, the only reason I would kill you is if you did something horrible to Naruto and Akayo. Now, don't tell the Uchiha about this, and you won't bleed. Not only that, you can tell your Hokage this and that's it. And also, I'm telling you this so that you can watch the bratty pussy boy you labeled an apprentice. If he sees my sister in the wrong way, he'll die. Even Akayo gets antsy if she's in her fox form for too long, and she might cuddle with Naruto a lot in her human form, making the Uchiha most likely get the hots for her. Now keep that Uchiha away from Naruto, and maybe he won't demand for power from the blonde idiot." Shishi was glaring daggers at the poor Cyclops, who was cowering in the fetal position, sitting in front of him with a cloud over his head. Kakashi nodded quickly, afraid for his life. "Tommy, all demons are as scary as a rampaging Kunoichi, and I should know thanks to Rin," Kakashi thought, as Shishi pulled what seemed to be a piece of paper out of his cloak. He slapped it on Kakashi's forehead, and almost immediately it disappeared and Kakashi no longer felt tired. He felt a lot more awake than ever, and even his eye widened more than its usual lazy self. He was pretty sure this was how the hyper Naruto once was. "This might help, since we were talking most of the night and it's almost dawn," Shishi said, as he looked up at the sky. True enough, the sky was a deep purple with the few streaks of sunshine peeking over the horizon. At the end of this day, be sure to make up for the sleep you skipped. This will only work until you go to sleep, and you'll be sleeping for a lot more than usual. Now remember Haddock, one word of this to the Uchiha and you both suffer more than you can imagine. Be happy Kyuubi-sama isn't able to hurt you, or she'd most likely leave you crippled. Kakashi nodded quickly, then what Shishi just said sunk in. Shishi-san, did you just say she? As in, the Kyuubi is a G-girl? Asked the confused Jonin. Shishi blinked a few times before sighing. Damn sexist humans. We'll talk about that later, now we have something better to talk about. Shishi got a grin similar to Naruto's and asked, what do you know about that Sakura girl? It was almost noon when Naruto woke up in his futon in the corner of the room. He blinked at the sun coming in through the window and hitting his face. He groaned, ready to turn away from the light and continue sleeping, when the sound of a door crashing and a woman's scream reached him. This also awoke Akayo, who was sleeping right next to his head, as they had been attacked many times and were awake in a second. He quickly looked to his side and found Merciless there and grabbed it before sprinting downstairs. Just as he got downstairs, he found Tsunami tied by her wrists being dragged out of the house by two thugs. Inari was across the room and shouted, "Let go of my mom." Before charging at them, one of the thugs looked annoyed and was about to slice Inari's head off, when a blade was placed right under his neck. He looked to see a blonde teenager holding a katana up to his neck and adding pressure, some blood coming down from the small cut under his head. "I suggest you leave her alone, unless you wish to die," came a cold voice you wouldn't expect from a boy his age. The thug didn't buy it and was about to slice Naruto instead, but two thugs made them look down at the blades that were once on their swords. All they were holding were the hilts, and Naruto's blade seemed to be glowing a light blue. The one holding onto Tsunami grabbed for a knife he in his pocket, but soon found that he had a black spike going through his lower left ribs and coming out of his right shoulder in a diagonal way. When the spike retreated from the thug, his body slumped and the spike returned to being Akayo. The thug in front of Naruto thought this to be a good time to leave, but was stopped as he turned around and was met with Inari's bow and arrow. He suddenly felt a sharp pain on the back of his neck, then everything went black. Naruto looked down at the thug and began to tie him with some ninja wire, then looked at Inari with a form of pride. "Not bad, squirt. You rushed in to save your mother, even willing to give your own life. That's what a true hero would do. Though next time, make sure you're armed and not fight with just your fists. Which reminds me." Naruto rummaged through his pockets for a while, then took out a scroll and unrolled it. In a puff of smoke, he had a knife that was around 1.5 feet long. The handle was a black leather with the blade being around 1 foot. It had red markings that vaguely resembled fox scratches all along the blade, and the butt of it was a fox's head. Its sheath was next to it, a brown leather with a yellow sash around it. He tied it around Inari and said, "Only if necessary, use this to protect those you care for. It's a lot stronger when the sun is hidden, so use it wisely, got it?" Inari nodded, happy with the gift, and strapped it to his waist so it hung by his left hip. Naruto nodded, then returned upstairs to get the rest of his things. When back downstairs, he quickly went over to Tsunami and asked, "Where are the rest?" She turned to him and said, "They went with my father to the bridge." Naruto nodded and ran outside, where he noticed that Shishi was growling at a few more mercenaries coming out of the woods, his 5 tails exposed. The black fox sensed Naruto's presence and barked out, "Go. I'll take care of Tazuna's family." Naruto and Akayo nodded and they were off in a swirl of black smoke. Kakashi was surprised and thrilled with the power surging through him. He felt like a little boy on sugar high, almost every movement of his was a blur. Zabuza was equally surprised, since he had to make sure he wasn't stabbed by the strangely hyper Kakashi. Sakura was in front of Tazuna with a kunai in each hand in reverse grip, and had her chakra ready for a water jutsu if necessary. Sasuk in the meantime was fighting against the ice user, and was faring well. Barely. Okay, he was getting his ass handed. He had needles coming out of most of his body, making him look like a giant standing porcupine. He gritted his teeth and glared at the mirror in front of him, which was reflecting the Hunter Nin's reflection instead of his own. Even with his sharing and awake, he still couldn't track and attack the ice person through the dome of ice. Haku sighed, quite unsure what to do now. She didn't want to hurt the guy, but knew he was the type of pricky one. She sighed, slightly relieved. At least Naruto wasn't there. And as if to mock her, just as she was about to throw another barrage of senbon, a wall of shadows appeared to cover up the Uchiha. She looked from one of her mirrors to her left to see Naruto there, his hand inside a shadow that extended to the one in front of the Uchiha. Her eyes widened slightly. "Naruto-kun." Naruto sighed and said, "As much as I hate the Uchiha brat, I can't let you kill him." "Shut up, Dobe," said Uchiha brat. "I don't need you here. I can take care of myself. And if you really were going to help me, why didn't you just attack while he didn't notice you?" He scolded Naruto. Naruto looked at Haku and shrugged before entering the dome lazily and mumbled, "'Cause I have a better defense than you, and might be able to pull something off. Now, get ready to use that eye of yours for something useful and keep your mouth shut." Sasuk begrudgingly did so, but not before mumbling, "Dobe." At the blonde boy, Naruto just sighed and began to spike his chakra, ready for anything. Akayo was still outside the dome, looking for anything that might help Naruto. So far, Naruto had one advantage: the senbon couldn't penetrate his shadow shields, meaning he was pretty darn safe from the senbon. Now Sasuk, although he disliked him, he was one of the few that understood how lonely it is to have no one. He sighed and returned his attention back to the ice user, who immediately threw a barrage of senbon at the two, hoping to at least place them in a death-like state for a little while. Again, with Naruto placing shields of shadows up, the clang of the shield that was harder than metal. Unfortunately, Naruto was getting tired. The shield may be strong, but he was tiring, and Sasuk was already down on his knees. Suddenly, another barrage to Senbon were heading their way, this time too fast. Naruto was barely able to place up a shadow wall before one Senbon was able to lodge into Sasuk's neck. Naruto's eyes widened as Sasuk's body fell headfirst. Or at least, that's what it looked like before in a puff of smoke, Sasuk disappeared and in his place was Akayo. As Shishi slashed the head off of another bandit, he suddenly felt weird. It was like someone just sent a cube of ice crawl up his spine then stay in his stomach. Akayo, he thought, wondering why he felt this way. He shook it off and tried to get back to sensing if there were any more enemies. Naruto watched in horror as Sasuk suddenly appeared where Akayo once was, right outside the ice dome. Haku herself couldn't believe what this Konoha ninja just did. She remembered the small pup on Naruto's chest and made more Senbon ready to kill Sasuk for what he just did to save his own hide. But before she could even throw them, a huge mass of Kai was felt throughout the whole bridge. It was enough for both Zabuza and Kakashi to witness their own deaths, and it wasn't even aimed at them. Naruto's body exploded in red chakra, all of it showing a furious fox face above him. His eyes became red and with a slitted pupil, his fangs and nails grew to become canines and claws, and his whiskers became darker and more defined. In a blink of an eye he socked Sasuk right across the face, breaking the Uchiha's jaw and sending him a good 20 feet. He then turned to Akayo to see that she was barely breathing with the Senbon being so close to her heart. Naruto's attention was turned to Haku in an instant. His anger wasn't gone, and so far Haku was the only one close for attacking. Haku wasn't prepared for the hit that came towards her, and barely made it out of the mirror as it was shattered by Naruto's punch. She entered another mirror and threw more ice Senbon at the blonde in hopes of at least immobilizing him, only to have the foul red chakra blast them away and melt them. She quickly exited the mirror and aimed to enter another one, but her left ankle was caught by Naruto's hand, who flung her face first into the ground. His hand still around her ankle, he pulled her until she was right below him and turned her around. He lifted his fist, ready to pound the ice nin's face into the ground, but stopped when he saw the last of the cracked mask fall off of her face. He gasped as he looked at her somewhat dead eyes, just staring back at him. He calmed down somewhat and the red chakra receded. It's you, Haku-chan, Naruto whispered. I come from a place where they hate all bloodlines, Naruto-kun. I am now the only one with the Hinata bloodline. My mother was one of the very few that survived the bloodline cleansing in my old village. My parents were happy for a long time, and I came along soon after and enjoyed the same happiness with them for a while longer. But then I did something I still regret today. I didn't know it was a bad thing, but I made an orb of water float in my hand using my bloodline abilities. My mother scolded me and told me to never do it again and to never tell anyone. But my father was there and witnessed my manipulation of the water. The next day, he and a large group of villagers came to our house and tied us up. They killed my mother right in front of me, and I was next, but I used my bloodline to save myself. I killed them. All of them. Ever since then, I never wanted to kill again. And just when I thought I had no purpose, no reason to be alive, I met Zabuza-sama. He wanted me to be his weapon for when he was ready for his revenge. And ever since then, I had a purpose. The purpose to serve him. As she told her story, Naruto was cradling Akayo's still form in his arms. She had changed into her human form, which half surprised Haku. However, she barely had any yauki or shadows to help her make clothes, so all she had was a large black cloth wrapped around her small figure. She was breathing heavily, but whether she would live or not was hard to tell. Naruto didn't dare touch the Senbon needle sticking out from her heart, in fear that he might accidentally kill her. He just stared at the ground in front of him, looking like he was the one who just died. Suddenly, his head jerked up and turned to the left where the fight between Zabuza and Kakashi was being held. Haku turned as well and they heard the chirping of many birds. Both of their eyes widened. Naruto's because he recognized the sound immediately, and Haku's because she felt a great surge of chakra being condensed. Before Naruto could even say, shit, Haku entered one of the mirrors and murmured, sorry Naruto-kun, but I must save my only family. When she was gone, that's when Nar cursed. Fuck. He gently placed Akayo on the ground and disappeared in a flash of red light, intending on saving Haku. This was it. Zabuza was no being pinned down by Kakashi's nin dogs and his Zambato was on the ground a few feet from him. Kakashi's Raikiri was slowly charging, more and more chakra being pushed into his palm. This is my only original jutsu, the Raikiri. Goodbye, Mamachi Zabuza. It was an honor knowing you. The one-eyed Jonin rushes towards the swordsman, his goal being Zabuza's heart. Then an ice mirror appears in front of Zabuza and Haku appears, ready to take the hit for her mentor. Next thing anyone knows, Naruto appears out of nowhere in a flash of red before taking the hit full on. Blood spreads across the Jonin's face and arm as his jutsu goes right through his student's left lung. Naruto screamed out in pain once, but it didn't last long as he clenched his mouth shut and growled in pain. Zabuza was looking at Naruto like he was the strangest thing in the whole world. So that's why Haku had been acting strange most of the morning. She must have met him in the woods. I guess he can be trusted, and I won't have to kill him for saving the closest thing I have to a daughter. He thought to himself. Guess the blonde one was living. Unfortunately, that's when they heard the voice of someone everyone in the bridge wanted to strangle. Pathetic. Zabuza, defeated by a single Jonin and a group of kids, was the crap that came out of Gato's mouth. Said midget was at the end of the bridge, where Naruto had left Akayo's slowly dying form. Next to her, Gato had his cane about an inch from her face. He looked down at the petite girl and grinned, something that angered Naruto greatly. Too bad this girl is dying, would have liked to have her as a whore of mine, mumbled the midget. As he said that, Naruto's features returned to being that of an enraged animal. Oh well, I might find a good one for me in the village. Naruto's hands clenched and unclenched, as his lips became darker and he grinned almost evilly. Kill them all, shouted Gato to the men. He would have added, but keep the women for entertainment. Except that someone answered to his order, and the voice was enough to make almost a third of the thugs crap themselves. And it didn't help that it came from our lovable blonde hero. With pleasure, were the two words that came out of Naruto's mouth, before some red lines appeared around him, floating and swaying from side to side. He stepped on one side of Zabuza's Zambato, making it spin and fly up to his hand, and held it like it was lighter than a feather. In a blur he appeared in front of a bandit, who tried to stab but sliced nothing but air as Naruto once again disappeared in a red flash, the red lines trailing behind him like streamers. Over and over again, he would appear in front or beside a bandit, sometimes even appearing in midair or out of the bridge, then disappear and go further until he finally reached a quivering Gato. Some of the bandits noticed that the large blade in Naruto's hands was bloody with fresh blood and were momentarily confused. That is, until a dozen or so of the 100 bandits suddenly came apart and fell to the floor. Naruto walked slowly to the shitless businessman, who was backing away farther and farther. Probably should have let Tazuna finish the bridge. Naruto growled out when there was nowhere else for the midget to go. Please, let me live, and I'll give you anything you want. Land, money, women. Anything you ever desired will be yours. The small mouse tried desperately to stay alive. I don't want any of the things you give me. All I want is for you to die, Naruto said, before decapitating the midget in a single swipe of the large Zambato. Now done, he walked through the large number of thugs as if they were no threat. Had anyone paid attention, they would have noticed that every shadow in the bridge was almost reaching out to grab Naruto. He slowly walked to Akayo's body, the large blade being dragged behind him and making very scary grinding noises against the bridge. He slumped next to the heavily breathing girl, her eyes half opened. I am sorry, Naruto-sama. I failed you, she whispered softly. Naruto shook his head and said, No, you didn't. You took care of me most of the time, so you'll never fail me. Please, Akayo, stay with me. Don't leave me, he whispered back, a single tear escaping his shadow-covered eyes. Akayo smiled at him and closed her eyes, already resigning to her fate. Naruto didn't even notice when he suddenly appeared in his mindscape, with Kyubai's arms around both of them. Around him, the forest representing his mind seemed to be dying somewhat. The leaves were now crumbling and were falling, all except a giant tree about as big as the Hokage monument. It had red glowing leaves, and on the side, carved onto the wood, was the kanji for seal. Naruto-kun, I think I have a way of saving her, but I'm not sure what will happen to you, Kyubai whispered into the blonde's ear. The trees around him suddenly stopped wilting, but stayed half dead. How? He asked, not looking up. In his arms, Akayo's body was slowly vanishing. Her left leg was gone, and her right one was becoming transparent. Well, maybe if I push some chakra through you and into her body, it'll save her. However, you're going to need to bite onto her neck for me to do this. Not only that, but since this is going to be happening through you, I'm not sure if it'll do anything bad. There's a possibility that. Just do it, Naruto said, already making his mind up. Please. Kyubai nodded and said, Oh okay. Here goes nothing. She placed her hands on Naruto's back while said blonde leaned in and bit into Akayo's smooth flesh. In the real world, Naruto's body also bit into Akayo and all the thugs were confused before someone shouted, Let's get him while he's still down. Some of them moved, probably to finish Naruto off, but were stopped when an arrow that came from the sky suddenly appeared in front of them. On the side of the bridge, closest to the Konoha nin and the two nuke nin, was the entire village, all armed with shovels, pickaxes, and a bunch of other things. Now scared since there were very few of them, the thugs decided to make a run for it and left, making the villagers cheer. However, the cheers soon turned to gasps of worry when they saw the red and gray chakra swirling around Naruto. It was soon becoming more plentiful, and it seemed to go in and out of Naruto's body, then some of it going into, well, something black that he was biting into. The shape in his arms kept changing, sometimes a fox, or something between a fox and a girl. Suddenly, Naruto began to glow red around him, but his chest seemed to become very dark, like a darkness was trying to come out of his chest. Finally, the light died out and showed Naruto holding a black fox that was almost as long as he was tall, and had 4 tails attached to its lower region. Naruto's appearance changed slightly. His hair had black highlights. He seemed to become a bit taller, about 2 or 3 inches. His nails seemed a bit pointy, not as much as in Inuzuka's claws but still rather sharp. Those were the only differences noticeable at the moment. Slowly, the fox in his arms woke up, her eyes fluttering open and her head lifting up slightly. Funny, I think I'm in limbo, 'cause there's a lot of mist. I don't think I'm in heaven. And I'm pretty sure I'd be suffering greatly if it were hell ... were the first things crossing the new Akayo's mind. She then realized something was holding her and looked to her left to find Naruto-sama. She noticed that Naruto looked a bit different, but knew it was still Naruto. However, there was something about him that he still seemed human. He seemed to have something around him. It was hard to see, and wouldn't be able to be seen by human eyes, but Akayo's demon eyes saw it just barely. Around him was the outline of a black fox. Carefully, she managed to get Naruto on her back. She looked over at the Uchiha's unconscious form a few feet away, then walked over to him and spit on his face for good measure, before trotting over to a bunch of awestruck, confused, and scared humans. She looked at Kakashi with a look that said, "I'll explain everything later," before heading for Tazuna's house with a passed-out Naruto on his back, and an equally passed-out prick being dragged by the leg via foxtail. Funny thing was happening in the woods near Tazuna's house. All around, black and white chains were sprouting from thin air, and in the center of them was a chained-up Shishi as he looked confused at his little sister, who seemed a bit older somehow. It was hard to explain, but he could feel that she was a lot stronger now. After making sure Naruto was safely resting in his futon, the Shadow Vixen had a bit of revenge on the emo bastard for using her in the substitution when still in the house. Akayo gently placed Naruto in his futon, making sure to not disturb him, and kissed him lightly on the cheek while whispering, "Thank you," into his ear. She walked out of the room, making sure to step on the body she accidentally left outside the door. Sasuk still hadn't woken up, which was a good thing. Akayo dragged the emo into another room, completely bare of all furniture, before closing the door behind her. She then threw the boy into the center of the room with a loud thud and reached into her shadow, concentrating and forming something in her hand. Pretty soon she's holding a black mallet, almost 4 feet in length. She made sure that the mallet was similar to wood so she wouldn't kill the Uchiha. She had a feeling he would be suffering a lot after this mission. Raising the mallet with an evil smirk, she swung it down over and over again, hitting Sasuk where the sun never shines a dozen or so times. Had anyone been in the house, they would have heard the sounds of a mallet hitting some kid repeatedly. Shishi gave a confused look at what his sister was saying. Naruto, protecting the Uchiha. He was going to kick Naruto in the shins the next time he saw him again. Then came the part where Sasuk used substitution to replace himself with Akayo. The result was to be expected. Naruto woke up to a killer headache, wondering where the hell he was. The last thing he remembered was biting into Akayo's neck before blacking out from all the pain. Suddenly realizing Akayo wasn't around, he began to panic until a soothing voice said, "Don't worry, Naruto-kun, she's just fine. The marking was successful and you are now her mate." That was something the blonde wasn't expecting. "Kayu-chan, how is it that I can now hear you?" he asked Kyubei out loud. They weren't ever able to do that in the past, and were still working on it. "Well, the marking process somehow slightly weakened the seal, letting me make a mental link between the seal here and your thoughts. Now it's not necessary for you to come and talk to me in your mindscape. One more thing, you should talk in your thoughts instead of out loud. Don't want people thinking you're crazy, right?" Kayu-chan explained. "Wait, so you're telling me I no longer have to go inside my head to talk to you? Man, I loved visiting you." Naruto whined in his head, wanting to always talk to her. This comment made Kayu-chan blush, as she didn't know Naruto loved seeing her so much. Maybe he and I could. No, why would he want to be with me? I'm the reason he's hated so much, she thought sadly. One more thing, Kayu-chan. You said marking. By that you mean what? I'm not sure how you will take this, but in demon terms. Well, you and Akayo are, married." Naruto's jaw hit the floor. He was married. To Akayo. Before either of them could say anything else, they heard what sounded like an enraged beast roaring loudly. Naruto quickly got all his things before dashing out of the door and down the stairs. At the entrance of the house he found what was left of his team, the Momochi family plus Tazuna's family looking in the direction of the forest, which is where they heard the roar. He said a hasty, "Gotta go, bye," and ran into the woods. Any idea what that was? He asked Kayu-chan as they got closer to the sounds of the roar and the clanging of chains. It kinda sounded like Shishi. I bet Akayo told him what happened at the bridge. Naruto reached the sounds of anger to see Akayo staring at something black that kept changing shape. Sometimes it was a fox, sometimes a guy, and sometimes even a girl. The only two things that stayed the same were the yellow eyes and the tails lashing out from its behind. Even its voice changed from male to female, but stayed demonic. "Let me go, damn it. The damn fucker has to die. I'll show him what happens when you mess with my family. I'll burn his eyes in his sockets, then rip them out before force-feeding them down his throat." Similar curses were announced, one that made Naruto want to pass out from how gory it would be. He looked a bit closer and nearly hurled when he saw one of the tails rip in two. The figure seemed to get stronger as some of the chains started to break. Akayo cursed and made more chains wrap around her a few more minutes. Shishi finally stopped thrashing around and managed to get into his usual self. He was still panting, and his eyes were going around as if hoping to find the Uchiha, but he seemed to be slightly in control. "Okay, now, are you just gonna let the Uchiha get away with this? 'Cause no matter what you say, I'm gonna kill him anyway. You just wait till I get out of here." Shishi panted out, hoping to beat the hell out of the damn human. "Hate to say it, Shishi, but if either of you hurt the Uchiha, he'll most likely go whining to the council like the damn bitch he is. However, I'm gonna make sure he gets more pain than anyone can endure." Naruto growled out, obviously wanting to kill said emo. Oh, don't worry boys. I gave him a special treatment, Akayo said with an evil smirk. Said smirk sent a chill up both Naruto and Shishi's spines. After a moment of silence, Shishi finally said, "Say, that's a good look for you fish cakes. You look like one of us now. Sweet." He then turned to his younger sister and asked, "You said you left the prick unconscious, right Akayo? Maybe I can still maim the Uchiha before he wakes up." The other two nodded and began walking to Tazuna's house, Naruto telling them what happened after Akayo was almost killed. They were deeply impressed Naruto killed so many people quickly and were curious on how Naruto was able to move so fast. So how did it feel to kill so many assholes? Nothing like the thrill of slicing people to shreds, fish cakes, Shishi said with an almost evil grin. Naruto sighed. Truth be told, a small part of him did enjoy swinging the large sword. However, the whole killing dozens of men didn't sit so well with his mind. While I admit that the slicing was thrilling, the fact that I killed so many men doesn't make me really happy, Shishi-san. Naruto said, the thought making him slightly sick. Shishi threw an arm around the boy's neck and said, "First of all, it's now Shishi-nai-san from now on. You, my friend, are now part of the Shadow Fox family. All of us are behind you, ready to fight for you." No we're not, Akayo pointed out. "Yeah, I know. Just wanted to say that you're always welcome to the Demon Society should you ever need us. Now, second of all, you'll get used to the killing in time, my dear friend. Besides, if you didn't kill those filthy scum, who knows what would have happened." When they almost reached the bridge builder's house, Naruto finished with breaking Sasuk's jaw after using Akayo as a substitute. Shishi whistled and said, "At least you did something to the Uchiha. And if you actually concentrated some Yauki into your punch, maybe it would have hurt more. Yauki is like a pain magnifier when pushed into you humans. It sometimes lets us heal you, but we mainly use it to kill you because most of you simply don't like us. It won't kill you unless pushed into you quickly, but it's like your insides are melting like rubber. You, however, are a bit more resistant to it. Since you had a small bit of it running through you since your birth, your body turns it into power instead of making it hurt like a bitch." He finally finished. Before entering the house, Akayo and Shishi turned into their fox forms, both making sure to keep only one tail exposed. Inside the living room, they found Sakura sitting on the couch. Well, she was on the couch, but almost as soon as she saw Naruto she was across the room hugging him until it looked like his spine would snap. "Oh Naruto, I was so worried, and I thought something bad happened when you were covered in red and gray chakra-like stuff. Then Akayo carried you here and dragged Sasuk by his leg and, whoa, Sakura, calm down. Well, first I gotta tell you a few things," Naruto said, calming the girl slightly. After retelling what happened at the bridge, "That damn bastard," shouted Sakura while hugging Akayo tightly to her chest. "How could he do something like that to something as innocent and adorable as you?" "Yup, he's horrible for hurting me," Akayo was thinking, an imaginary halo on her head. Naruto and Shishi sweat dropped, both thinking, innocent my ass. After that, Shishi went upstairs to begin gnawing on the Uchiha and everything was quiet. Until someone else just entered the room. The group looked over to the front door to see Zabuza walk in, both his arms bandaged up heavily. The tall man saw Naruto narrowing his eyes at him, then sighed and mumbled, "Don't worry kid, I'm no longer your enemy. But just so you know, I'll find a way to beat the crap out of Kakashi someday. Thanks to him and his damn dogs, I can't even hold my blade anymore. Best I can carry is a normal katana." Suddenly, a katana went flying towards him and almost hit him. It was pure instinct he was able to catch it and not get hit on the head. He looked at it and quirked a non-existent eyebrow to the blonde who had unstrapped and tossed it to him. "You can keep that one. My figure title a bit better, Demon of the Mist," Naruto said with a grin. Zabuza looked at the katana before taking it out of its sheath. His eyes widened as he saw what it had on the side. "This is a katana I found about 3 years ago when I was exploring a few woods near Konoha. You keep this if I get to keep your blade. Only fair since that katana is rather special. Just don't tell Sasuke," Naruto said. Zabuza looked at him, a grin on his face as he nodded. "The fact that you're still alive is enough for me to say yes. Since all blades of the 7 swordsmen of the mist are half sentient, it would have tried to hurt you the moment you touched it. Guess that means you're stronger than me, Gaki," the swordsman said, surprising most of the people there. Kakashi peeked his head out from the door leading to the kitchen and curiously asked, "What do you mean, Zabuza-san?" Zabuza smirked and began his explanation, just as Haku came down the stairs leading to the rooms Team 7 was staying in. "Each blade is almost alive, making sure to stay with one master at a time. The only reason it hasn't killed you is because it chose you as its new master. If you meditate with it, it'll become a part of you, changing to fit your soul and style, though still maintaining a Zenbado form. No matter what happens, it'll always be a Zenbado. Heck, even if you melt it into a smaller blade, it'll just suck on your chakra till it goes back to being a Zenbado. I don't recommend that, since it left me with chakra exhaustion for 3 days. Just try to make it seem more like you, or something you care about." Naruto looked at the blade that was leaning against the wall to his right. He had a minor idea on what to make it look like. It would most likely make the villagers go running from him, and probably fear him. A feral grin spread across his face, making the people there a bit nervous. This is gonna be sweet. But for now, I can't let the Uchiha know anything." In a quick move, he took out a scroll and opened it to show a storage seal. pointing the seal towards the blade, it disappeared in a puff of smoke. He then got up and stretched before looking at everyone else and saying, "Gonna go for a walk. I need some time to think." When he was almost out the door, he noticed a smiling Sakura stopped reading the scroll he gave her and was instead running her hands through Shishi's fur. Said demon was currently wagging his tails and purring loudly. "I like this girl already," he mumbled out, a wide grin on his jaw. Naruto chuckled and shook his head, closing the door behind him. Outside, Naruto was having a small conversation with his tenant. "So, can you tell me what happened to me besides my hair?" "Well, only that you've been given greater strength. Your sight, hearing, smelling is a bit more advanced from those of a normal human ninja, and your body will become almost equal to shadows when you're in them. Basically, you'll look very blurry in the dark. It's your chakra that amuses me. Well, the extra yauki your body is producing to be more exact. Usually I would suspect I've seen all yauki or chakra in the world, but yours seems hard to remember. It's quite rare, but I can't remember what it is." What do you mean by that?" "I'm saying that you're making your own yauki inside your body. Normally this would only count for half demons, but you're more of a quarter demon. Imagine there's your normal chakra coils. Now imagine that there's another chakra core inside your normal chakra core. If you imagine some strange black yauki wrapped around your coils, you'll get something like what I'm saying. So, I'm like a Dao Fox demon. Well, not completely. Shadow Fox have gray yauki, not black. I need more time to see through my memories. Okay, so I have my normal chakra, your yauki, and a super rare yauki inside me. Sweet. Kyuubi didn't expect Naruto to be excited, so confusion was evident. "What do you mean?" "With this, the villagers will believe it's proof that you really are me, more than ever." Let the fools believe what they want. So what if I'm considered a demon? Neither demons nor humans seem to have too much indifference, so I'll gladly be called one. Like humans, some are good and some are bad, right? And besides, there's no way I'll let anything happen to any of you for the beliefs of others. What do you mean, any of you? What? I also care about you, Kayu-chan. You know about everything I've been through, so you know more about me than anyone else. Heck, you probably even know me more than I do. These words, though few, brought tears of love and happiness to Kyuubi's eyes. It had been a very long time since she loved by someone. Most of the demons feared her because of her title, but Naruto seemed to not really care what she was. He cares only about the person and not the title they carry. It's one of the reasons that I love him. That small thought made her blush slightly. Just then, Naruto took in where he was. He found himself in the middle of the forest, the same place where he had gone all out after saying stuff about his village. That made him slightly confused. He loved his village, but for some reason he was beginning to question his love for it. As if reading his mind, which she probably did, Kyuubi said, "It might have something to do with Akayo. When we demons mate another demon or a human, both of them gain characteristics similar to the other. Not much, but enough to understand each other. I have a feeling Akayo is a bit furious with Konoha for what they've done to you over the years. I know, as I have also been forced to simply watch as you were mercilessly beaten. Why didn't you just let Akayo help or something? If I did, the villagers would have stopped at nothing to kill me. And if they knew about Akayo-chan, who knows what they would have done to her. I didn't want to take the risk. And one last thing, something I almost forgot. I love Konoha because those that care about me are still there. And so long as they are there and still care for me, I'll always protect Konohagakure and those within with everything I've got. Words of a true leader, Naruto-kun. I know you'll become Hokage soon." Naruto blushed a little under the praise, a wide grin spreading across his face. He sighed and took his new Zanbato from the ceiling scroll in a plume of smoke. "Now, let's get to work," he said to himself, before closing his eyes and meditating. It felt funny. He could feel that there was something going on. It felt like his chakra was being sucked into the sword. Then there was the feeling something else was being pulled into the sword. Naruto-kun, I don't want to worry you, but it seems the blade is also absorbing some of my yauki. I'm not sure what's happening, but it's not dangerous as far as I'm concerned. That, and it's absorbing your new chakra as well," Kyuubi said, slightly amused. Although she couldn't see the sword, she could tell it was changing into what Naruto's mind wanted it to be like. Finally, it all stopped. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and looked down at the new blade on his lap. A wide smirk appeared on his face as one word left his lips. Wicked. As Onyx's eyes opened, one thought came to his motherfucking mind. Where am I? Slowly, Sasuk Uchiha sat up from his futon and looked round. He was back at the bridge builder's house. He slowly got up, surprised a bit that Sakura wasn't all over him. Thank Kami for that. He stood up, his body sore from the needles that were once embedded in his body. He found he was only wearing his white shorts and had bandages all around his abdomen. Walking downstairs, he found Sakura and Inari on the couch, each petting one of Naruto's foxes. "Where's the dobe?" he asked, though it sounded more like a demand to those in the living room. He nearly crapped himself when he heard a familiar voice answer him. He went out on a stroll. "Now what does a kid like you want with him?" Sasuk turned around to come face to face with Zabuza, who was holding his new katana in his left hand while his right rested on the handle. Sasuk was about to attack when he heard Kakashi's warning voice say, "Sasuk, he's no longer our enemy. If he were, he would have killed you while still having the element of surprise." What? Was the Uchiha's oh-so-smart remark. Before he could ask anything else, Naruto walked in with a blade over his right shoulder that got everyone's attention. Attached to his back via chakra was a large blade that was probably bigger than he was. It had a red, 1.5-foot, leather handle and a butt that showed a skull with horns and a ruby in its mouth. The blade was black, minus the edge, and on the flat side was the kanji for fox in red. What was the most intimidating were the 6-inch spikes running down the opposite side of the sharp edge, 9 in total. Each spike was red and had a black edge. All in all, it looked like it could slice through just about anything. Ladies, gentlemen, foxes, and pricks, he said, the last part looking at Sasuk. I present to you my new blade, Kitsune, Naruto declared, hefting the large blade on his shoulder. Everyone just looked at him with eyes of holy crap. After what felt like an eternity, Naruto got uncomfortable and asked, so, how about the ANBU? A slight smile spread across Inari's face. He looked from his mother to Zabuza, who were having a small conversation in the kitchen. Even if Zabuza once tried to kill his grandfather, the young boy was taking a liking to the swordsman. He hadn't seen his mother smile that way since his father was around, and Inari could see small traces of him in Zabuza. Yup, all was good as he started walking outside to follow Naruto. Give it to me, said a demanding voice. No, mumbled another voice that clearly said, I don't care. You will give it to me, Dobe. No, if you don't, I'll rip it from you. Go ahead and try, it'll hopefully kill you. This went on for some time. Naruto was simply outside, showing Inari how to use his knife in combat, when the Uchiha asshole started rambling about wanting Naruto's sword. Sasuk obliged and reached for Kitsune, but when his hand was almost an inch from the handle, black spikes came through the leather and were pointing at Sasuk. Naruto smirked when he saw the spikes. You added that, didn't you? He asked in his head. Huibai just smirked and crossed her arms. Even being a prick, Sasuk was smart enough not to touch the spikes. Finally, he turned around and headed inside the house after mumbling, Dobe, to Naruto, who didn't give a rat's ass. After showing more moves to Inari, who learned rather quickly, they both went with Tazuna, who had stayed at the bridge to finish it. They were surprised to see most of the village there, helping the old man in any way they could. Naruto smirked and said, guess we should help as well, eh Inari? Yes, Naruto Nai-san, said the boy, his voice full of enthusiasm. Naruto smiled at him and they both spent the day helping Tazuna build the bridge. A man with black hair was standing near a tree, a crow perched on his index finger with a letter in its beak. The bird nodded at the man before flying off to deliver its message. The man jumped down from the tree branch he was on and landed on the ground with grace. He then turned and headed to ask a favor of his leader, a favor that almost everyone would think was insane. Naruto sighed and flopped down on the couch next to Shishi, who was curled up in a ball apparently asleep. Next to the fox sat Haku with Akayo on her lap, the ice user petting Akayo on the head and smiling. Naruto found himself staring at her face, her hair, her eyes. It was quite beautiful how she smiled and giggled when Akayo began licking her fingers. When he finally realized what he was doing, Zabuza was next to him. You like her, don't Nagaki? Asked the swordsman, low enough for only Naruto to hear. He was quiet for a moment, not sure what to say. She's a lot like me. And I have gone through the same pain of being hated for something we have no control over. So I guess I do, he said, his eyes having a glint of sadness and slight anger. Zabuza nodded, having made up his mind when the bridge fight ended. Before anything else could be said, Naruto saw something on a tree and sighed before excusing himself. He went outside and found yet another problem in a crow's beak. It was a letter addressed to him. Dear Naruto, I don't want to sound like some impatient jackass, but I really wish to return home. Please tell me how he is doing. Write me back whenever possible. Sincerely, Crow. P.S. Make sure to say hi to Akayo for me, please. She's a nice girl. After reading it, he made a dozen or so one-handed signs and whispered, Fire Style, Great Dragon Claw. Red glowing markings appeared around his arm and connected to his fingers, ending in sharp 3-inch claws. A spike ran past his elbow, about a foot long. He touched the tip of one nail to the paper and it was turned to ash in the blink of an eye. He nodded to the crow, which nodded back and flew away to its master. He then walked out onto the pond, sending chakra to his feet in instinct, and saw Sakura doing some head signs before shouting, Water Style, Water Bullet. The pink-haired girl drew her head back while taking a deep breath. Suddenly, she threw her head forward and opened her mouth wide, letting out a ball of water that grew as it went farther into the water. Soon it was as big as a basketball and had disappeared into the horizon. Naruto whistled, making Sakura turn around to look at him in surprise. Oh, hey Naruto, she greeted. Hey Sakura, so how are you doing so far? He asked, giving her one of his usual smirks. She nodded and said, Great. I got Water Bullet and Shark Missile down. What's next? Naruto smirked, then made a shadow clone and sent him to get someone. Moments later, Zabuza came out with the clone and stood in front of Sakura and Naruto. Shishi and Akayo had followed them and were standing on either side of Naruto while the clone dispelled itself. What do you need, Gaki? Asked the tall swordsman. I need you to train Sakura in her water manipulation. She's good right now, but I'm sure she can improve a bit more, said the blonde, sounding pretty professional. Zabuza and Sakura both thought it was kinda weird how he sounded kinda older, like he's been through a lot more than he let on. Zabuza nodded and turned to Sakura. Okay Pinky, let's start with this. He reached down with his left arm and placed the tip of each finger in the water. When he took it out, there were small marble-sized orbs of water floating under each finger. Make the water float under your finger. The closer the water is to your finger, the easier it is to manipulate it. Practice it until the droplet suddenly dropped and then stopped a centimeter from the water's surface. Until you can keep it afloat this far. Sakura nodded and started the exercise, the first time dropping before it was a foot off the ground. Naruto nodded and decided to have a word with Shishi. They both walked deep into the forest, and that's when Naruto noticed something new. He seemed to like shaded places a lot more than being in the sun. He shrugged and said, Shishi, Kayu-chan said I have a rare Yoki of some sort and she can't remember. Mind finding out anything about black Yoki? Shishi looked at him and said, I'm not the type of guy you'd find in a demon library, but I'll see what I can do. After that he turned into his human form, this time with no ears or tails, and turned to Naruto. Now to teach you how to properly use that blade of yours, shall we? For the next few hours, the woods were filled with clanking metal, shouts, and a few insults every few seconds. Finally, it was the day that the Konoha ninja would go home. Naruto woke and found his blade still beside his futon, right where he left it. He was about to get up, when he felt a bit more weight on his arms than usual. He looked down and found Akayo and Haku, both of them in his arms. 3 words left his mouth at the moment. What the hell? Well, that's what would have come out, had Shishi not been there to cover his mouth with his paw. Hush up, Uzumaki. You want to wake up everyone else? Asked the black fox. Naruto glared at him and asked, why do I have Haku-chan and Akayo-chan on either side of me, and both of them wearing nothing but their underwear? Shishi just rolled his eyes while mumbling about grumpy humans. Look, Haku and Akayo were up all night talking. Akayo actually told her everything about her and you, minus Kyubai-sama. After all, she already saw Akayo in her human form. Now just calm down, lie back, and enjoy the 2 girls clutching your sides. I know I would be happy to be in your place, along with many other men besides the Uchiha. Grumbled the fox while curling up into a large ball, apparently still sleepy. Naruto just sighed and did what he was told. After a few minutes of just looking up at the ceiling, Haku finally stirred and looked at Naruto with barely opened eyes. She then gave him a smile and huskily whispered, Good morning, Naruto-kun. Naruto blushed and said, Good morning, Haku-chan. I guess you now know about Akayo-chan, right? Oh yes, she's a rather nice girl, murmured the ice user while laying her head back down on his chest. Then Akayo seemed to wake up and looked at Naruto with the same eyes of lust she got since he became her mate. Oh, good morning, my mate, she whispered into Naruto's ear. That's the same greeting he'd gotten each day, and he really didn't know what to do. Good morning, Akayo-chan. Can I get up now? He was getting a bit aroused from the girl so close to him, and he wasn't sure who, but he could feel someone rubbing on his crotch. Now little Naruto was standing tall and ready. Luckily, Akayo just got off and became her fox form. Just remember, I get to snuggle with you every night from now on. And if Hinata-chan decides to join, we'll let her. Okay. She tilted her head to the side and I smiled at him with all the innocence she could muster. That didn't help her in any way. Now, you didn't hurt her, did you? Akayo mocked hurt. Naruto-kun, how can you believe I'd ever do such a thing? Her answer was raised eyebrow and the you're kidding right. Look, she laughed a little and walked out of the room, passing through the door as if it weren't even there. Naruto just sighed and slowly slipped away from the still sleeping Haku. He got dressed and placed his sword on his back before walking downstairs. Lately, he'd seen Zabuza hanging out with Tsunami more frequently than anything else. He smirked at that and went outside, something else he noticed. He seemed to like being outdoors more than anywhere else. Suddenly, Shishi appeared next to him in a black and green portal and began speaking. I think I found out a bit on that black Yoki of yours. It has something to do with all the elements, but in a much stronger scale. Best I can get is that the Yoki was thought extinct a long time ago, and that it rivals the Kyubai's power. Naruto whistled out loud. He wasn't expecting that of his Yoki. So, I'm probably as strong as Kayu-chan. Maybe. Not exactly sure, but I have one more thing to check before giving you that answer. And with that said, Shishi went into the forest to hunt. Naruto sighed and sat down in a clearing. He then began working more on his katas for the kitsune. He summoned a few dozen shadow clones and ordered them to attack him. They all grabbed their kitsune and got ready to attack. All of the Naruto stood there, waiting for the original to do something. As if a something had gone off, the real one ran forward and made a barrage of swings that very few of the clones dodged or blocked. Chu attacked him at once, aiming to hit his back. Suddenly, he brought his sword over his shoulder and laid it flat on his back, blocking both attacks. In a quick spin, 3 clones were dealt with by either the butt or blade of his sword. Another 2 attacked at once, probably aiming to cut his head off. He ducked and stabbed one in the stomach before twisting and punching the other on the back of the head. He then jumped back and found there were at least 14 left. All of them then began forming hand signs at once. The original's eyes widened as 14 clones shouted, "Wind style, great breakthrough." 14 bullets of wind went straight towards Naruto, ready to blow him to bits. Naruto felt a tightening in his gut and he instinctively willed himself out of harm's way. In a flash of red, he was gone and reappeared above the confused clones. Smirking, he came down and made a series of teleporting and within seconds, all the clones were gone. He smirked and thought, I'm getting better at this already. Better get back before they start they worry too much. Team 7 and the Momochi family were now at the bridge, Zabuza and Haku having a private conversation while the Konoha were saying their goodbyes to the village. Naruto smiled at Inari and said, "It's okay, Inari. You can cry when you're happy." Inari tried to keep from crying, but was failing miserably. I don't want to cry." "Why you cry too?" And Naruto "Nyasam," said the little boy. Naruto just shook his head while smiling. "Okay then, new orders." Inari looked up at him in confusion. "I want you to take care of this place until the next time I come to visit." "Got it." "Why yeah, I won't let you down." Inari nodded, his smile probably coming close to splitting his face. Both boys gave each other big smiles, then Haku walked over to Naruto with a sad look. "Well, see you later, Naruto-kun," she said, her head hanging a bit. Naruto suddenly took an interest to the floor, unsure what to say. "So, where are you and Zabuza going?" he asked, scratching the back of his head. "Well, he said that blade you gave him was very powerful. It was supposed to be one of the swords from Mist, but it was stolen some time ago. That's why there's 7 for Mist and 1 missing. Basically, the one you gave him. We're heading back to Mist to finish off the Mizuki. Big deal. Anyway, hope I get to see you soon, Haku," he said, extending his hand to shake hers. She looked at it for a second, before quickly leaning in and kissing him lightly on the cheek, making him blush a bit. She walked back to Zabuza, who had begun a conversation with Tsunami. She seemed troubled and worried, but nodded nonetheless. As the Konoha and the Nuke parted from the bridge, Tsunami turned to her father and asked, "So what will we call the bridge, Tusan?" The old man thought for a moment, then Inari answered, "The Great Naruto Bridge." The villagers all voiced their agreement as the nin all went their ways. It was much faster reaching Konoha now that they began tree hopping, as they reached their home in a third of the time it took to get to Hai no Kuni. Once they reached there, they passed the guards and gave them the info, and walked towards the Hokage Tower. As they walked towards there, Shishi clearly saw the looks of hatred directed at Naruto. To put the blonde in less trouble, Akayo returned to being small and on Naruto's head while Shishi turned into a belt. It was a good thing Sakura and Sasuk bought the story of Shishi going back to the wilderness. As they drew closer to the tower, Shishi suddenly zipped to the shadows of an alley and changed into his human form. He waved to Naruto before disappearing into the crowd of civilians. "Nai-san better not do anything rash, or they will beat him an inch from his life," mumbled Akayo. Naruto just shrugged and entered the lobby. After getting a minor glare from the secretary, they entered the Hokage's office. "Team 7 here, mission accomplished," said Kakashi in his usual bored tone. After some papers were cleared, Team 7 was about to leave when Naruto said, "I need to talk to you, Jiji." There was something in Naruto's voice that told the aged Hokage that he would soon have a headache. "So let me get this straight. You became Akayo's, who is a demon, mate, and saved her after she was impaled in the heart by an attack meant by Sasuk. And not only that, but the Kyuubi is a female that you have grown attached to, and now there's another demon by the name of Shishi running around the village doing Kami knows what. And to top this all off, you mind repeating that last part? Well, according to Kaio-chan, I began as a 10th of a demon about a week ago, but I'm slowly turning more and more demon-like with each passing day. Soon I'll be a Hanyu and be nearly unstoppable." Deadpan the only boy there. "I'm getting too old for this shit," mumbled Sarutobi, massaging his temples. Naruto just shrugged and continued. "One more thing, Jiji. Something happened at the bridge, and I'm not sure what. From what Kakashi and Sakura told me, I kept on appearing in flashes of red. This got the old Hokage's attention. It couldn't be. Minato said it might not work, yet it seems it did." The old Hokage stood up and walked to the picture of the Yondaime Hokage. He moved it to the side to show a seal underneath the picture. He activated the seal and a box appeared after a puff of smoke. He passed the box to Naruto before rounding his desk and rummaging through the drawers. Finally, he took out a key and also gave it to Naruto. "The key is to open the estate your father left behind for you, and in that box are letters from your mother and father." Almost instantly, Naruto opened the box and looked inside. There were 3 scrolls, a picture, and what seemed like a clear orb. He took out the picture and it showed a man that looked like him, minus the whisker marks, holding a beautiful red-haired woman. She had green eyes and a kind smile, her skin was slightly pale, but beautiful nonetheless. What he noticed the most was that the woman had a slight bulge on her stomach. "Mother, father," he whispered, his eyes slowly began to moist as he saw both of them smile. In a strange way, it seemed that they weren't just smiling at the camera, but at him specifically. He also smiled before bowing to the Hokage. "Thanks, Oji-san. I owe you." He turned around and walked out of the office. The old man shook his head, a smile on his lips. Then, when he was sure nobody was around, he took out a little orange book that he kept in a secret pocket, hidden within the Hokage robes. Naruto Roof jumped as quickly as he could, Akayo having a hard time trying to stay on his head. He was barely halfway to his new home when he suddenly felt a small chakra signature nearby. He knew who it was and smiled. He landed a bit close to the signature and found a square box with rock patterns on it. It was only now that he was closer that he realized 2 more signatures were with the familiar one. "SSHH, he's here," he heard a small voice whisper. Naruto looked at the box questionably and kicked it, revealing a trio of little kids around 9. The one in the middle had dark brown hair, black eyes, a yellow t-shirt with the leaf symbol on his stomach, and gray shorts. The only girl there had gravity-defying orange hair and 2 pigtails, black eyes, a red and pink shirt, and dark brown shorts. The last one had brown hair, black eyes, and wore a gray sweater with tan pants. The thing they all had in common were the goggles on their forehead. That, and the middle one stopped using that helmet thing from before. Naruto and the Team 7 were currently in front of the Hokage, having captured Tora for the 3rd time that week. And it was Monday. Just as Sarutobi was about to give them their pay, the door swung open and a kid around 9 charged in with a shuriken in his right hand. "Old man, I shall defeat you and take the title of Hokage," shouted the little kid. Unfortunately, he fell face first into the floor. Naruto looked to see that he tripped on. "Wait, there's nothing there." The kid got up suddenly and looked around. It just so turned out that Naruto was the closest to him as he pointed accusingly at Naruto. "You there, you tripped me, didn't you?" "No, you tripped on the air," Naruto said, amusement evident on his voice. Before the kid could say anything else, Naruto quickly grabbed his pay and sprinted for the door. Just then, some guy with a bandana around his head and spectacles opened the door and ducked when Naruto jumped over him. Before he got back up straight, the little kid ran between his legs and chased the blonde boy. Naruto stopped near hot springs and chuckled some more, leaning on the wall while Akayo was next to him letting her own laughs out. That's when he felt someone tug on his pants, then looked down and saw the little kid. "Are you afraid of me? 'Cause that'll explain why you ran away." Naruto looked at the little kid for a moment, then chuckled a little, before laughing, and then guffawing like a maniac. This only ticked the little kid off. "Hey, do you know who I am? I'm Konohamaru Sarutobi, the old man's grandson." Suddenly, he was slapped on the back of the head by Naruto, who continued chuckling. "Kid, I wouldn't care if you were your grandmother. Point is, you and I are almost surrogate brothers since the old man thinks of me as his grandsons. Anyway, the name's Uzumaki Naruto. This little one here is Akayo." Akayo seemed indignant being called little but yipped at Konohamaru anyway. It was only now that Konohamaru noticed the little fox next to Naruto. The kid then looked at Naruto again, probably about to ask him something, when the guy from earlier appeared and stepped in front of Konohamaru. "Honorable grandson, please, you must come back with me and not socialize with him. Come, the shortcut to becoming Hokage can be triumphed if you follow me." Before he could say anything else, Naruto was behind him and had knocked him out. He seemed a bit unhappy that the Jonin was here, especially spewing some crap on the shortcut to Hokage. "Shortcut my ass. This idiot doesn't know what he's talking about." Naruto placed his hands on his pockets and turned around to leave, but he found Konohamaru blocking his way. He looked at where the kid once was and back. "Wow, this kid's fast when he wants to be," he thought. "Can you train me?" he asked. Naruto looked at him for a while, trying to decide it. On one hand, he didn't really seem like the type of kid to want everything in a silver platter like another pompous fucker. On the other, he wasn't sure he wanted an apprentice right now. Shrugging, he said, "I don't see why I can't show you a few things. Just don't go around thinking you're a big shot just 'cause I'm making you stronger. Hey, it's not my fault that the village treats me like a prince. Everyone only knows me as the honorable grandson and doesn't even know anything about me," ranted the little kid. Naruto looked at him then smirked. "Guess I'll take you under my wing. After all, I'm gonna be Hokage one day. What type of Hokage would I be if I didn't pay attention to kids? Hey, I'm gonna be Hokage, so there's no way you will. Okay then, how about a rivalry? We'll see who becomes Hokage, Gaki." Before Konohamaru could insult him back, Naruto had already disappeared via Shadow Shunshin. In flashback. And here he was, his little rival with his 2 friends. "So what are you guys up to? You need something?" Just then, the kids made an introduction, all saying their names and having poses as they formed the Konohamaru Corps. They didn't expect Naruto to deadpan, cute. It sounded like he was trying his hardest not to make fun of them, so he just said that. After the other 2 introduced themselves as Mogi and Udon, Konohamaru decided to ask Naruto what he wanted to ask him since he came back from the village. "Hey boss, will you play ninja with us now?" he promised, remember. Naruto looked down at the box in his hand. He really wanted to head to his estate and go through these things, but he always had a weakness against children. He sighed before taking out a scroll and sealing the box inside, then smirking at the 3 kids. Then he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Playing ninja? Don't you think you're too old for that, Naruto?" All of them turned to find none other than Sakura walking towards him, her remark being more playful than mean. Naruto just shrugged. "What can I say? I like kids." He returned his attention to the Konohamaru Corps before saying, "You have a 10-second head start." As soon as he said that, the 3 kids were off and Naruto began counting. As he reached 5 seconds, Sakura stepped next to him with a smirk on her face and her body tensing. As Naruto reached 10, he shouted, "Now." And they both began running after the 3 kids. Konohamaru and the other 2 heard them coming when they began laughing. "Hey Ko, they're gaining on us. What do we do?" asked Mogi. Konohamaru was about to answer when he turned a corner and bumped into some guy wearing a cat suit, with something on his back covered in bandages. He turned around and showed he was wearing makeup. "Watch it, twerp," shouted the man and caught Konohamaru by the collar before lifting him up. "That hurt. Who do you think you are, bumping into people, especially the Kasuke's son?" "Kankuro, put the boy down. We don't want any trouble right now," said a girl next to him. She wore a light purple battle skirt and shirt with mesh underneath. Her dirty blonde hair was tied in 4 spiky pigtails. Calm down, Temari. Besides, she's not here, so might as well enjoy this time, eh? Put him down, shouted Mogi, though she was incredibly scared at the now proclaimed Kankuro, who looked like he could beat the crap out of all 3 of them. And what if I don't, girlie? Then you die. Everyone was surprised to hear a voice so cold and deadly. Kankuro and Temari didn't recognize the voice, but it was just as scary as her voice. Behind Kankuro appeared Naruto, his sword drawn and the red spikes pointing towards his neck. Besides, you wouldn't want a war to break out just because you were foolish enough to attack the Hokage's grandson. Not to mention my pupil. Kankuro gently placed Konohamaru down, who ran and hid behind Sakura with the rest of the corps. Now, tell me you're here for the Chunin exams, or I kill you both. Naruto kept a steady gaze against the 2 Sunanin in front of him. You might be wondering how he knew they were from Suna. Well, if you were there and still didn't know it, you might need glasses to see the headbands with the mark on them. Before they could say anything, Naruto said, I know you're there, come down from the tree. There was a rustle before Sasuk Uchiha came off of the branch he was sitting on. How did you know it was me, Dobe? No, not you, Uchiha. Go back up the tree or something. Naruto waved his hand and mumbled, enraging the Uchiha. I meant the Tanuki. Come on out. Ikabai. Temari and Kankuro's eyes widened as right beside Naruto appeared a red-haired girl via San Shunshin. She had blue eyes with no pupil, black lines around the eyes, and the kanji for love on the left side of her forehead. She wore black shorts that reached mid-thigh, a black shirt with mesh underneath, and had a white cloth around her waist while a brown sash kept the gourd on her back. Her hair reached her mid-back and she had 2 bangs on either side of her head. Kankuro, you are disgraced to Suna for your actions. You will stop right now, especially if you want to live, said the girl, her voice low and strange. It was like she was in pain. Be but Gaia. No buts. She turned her attention to Naruto, who returned his sword to his back. Forgive my siblings. We are here for the Chunin exams held here. I am Sabaku no Gaia. These are Temari and Kankuro. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. The kids behind me are the Konohamaru Corps, and the girl is Sakura Haruno. The guy with the duck ass on his head is Sasuk. Nice to meet you. You called me Ikabai. Who are you? Naruto simply brought both hands up and stuck out 9 of his fingers. Gaia's eyes widened a bit, but she nodded and murmured, I see. It was nice meeting you, Uzumaki-san. I shall see you soon. Kankuro, Temari. We're leaving. With that, the Sand Trio left, but not before Naruto mumbled, see you soon. Gaia. Naruto turned to the kids and Sakura, who were slowly coming out of their shock. Well, are we gonna continue the game or not? As soon as he said that, the 3 kids started running with grins on their faces. Sakura looked at the direction the Sunanin before another smile graced her lips and she went after the kids alongside Naruto. Sasuk just glared at Naruto's retreating form before stomping his way to his house. None of them noticed Akayo stay behind and begin to sniff the air. That better not be the place I think it is, she said worriedly as she began running towards a certain place in Konoha. As she was halfway there, 3 nin dogs suddenly appeared and ran alongside her. Ah, Akayo-sen, how is Alpha doing? One of them asked. They noticed that she seemed larger and stronger. Akayo smirked, something that confused the 3 dogs. And Burmaru, Ashamaru, Cindermaru. I have good news for all of you. Naruto-kun no longer needs his status as Alpha Unknown. You can talk your hearts out about the new Uzumaki Naruto. He became much stronger, so he can take on the competition now, she said, sounding very proud. Are you sure? I thought you said Naruto-san wasn't ready. One of them said. Naruto is strong, but how strong could someone become with just one mission? Yup, he can take on even my own brother in a close draw, which is an accomplishment in itself. We Shadow Fox aren't made for fighting, so we use our powers for distractions. Shishi is the only one to be an expert in battle rather than only using deception in the history of Shadow Fox, she explained. Finally, she reached where she was heading to find a store and kids going to buy candy. Across the street was none other than Shishi, his eyes shining a dull yellow and his teeth shone with his smirk. He looked like a little kid about to steal something. And knowing Shishi, that's exactly what he was gonna do. Before the demon could take a step forward, he heard a familiar bark say, restrain him. Then he was hit by 3 furry figures. It was a good thing he was in an alley, or the other villagers would have wondered what the 3 nin dogs were doing tackling a blonde teen. He looked down to see 3 dogs, 2 restraining his arms while the other his legs, and Akayo sitting on his chest. Oh, hi Ni-chan. Suo, nice day right? He asked, trying to sound professional. Or at the very least, a bit innocent. Save the crap, Shishi. I know you wanted that stuff, and there's no way I'm letting you get any, said the fox on top of his chest. He just laughed nervously before melting into a pool of darkness. You'll never take me alive. They heard his voice. He sounded like he was in a cave because of the echo. Akayo just sighed and thanked the 3 nin dogs before repeating the same action of her brother. The 3 dogs simply shrugged and began spreading the news to every dog on the street. The true alpha was taking his rightful title. Naruto chuckled as he heard 2 of the Inuzuka dogs speaking. Did you hear? Naruto-sama is taking the alpha title. Awesome. Yeah, the kid was strong enough to begin with, but now he's almost 3 times stronger. I wonder if any of the Inuzuka ladies will want to be part of his pack. Having heard enough, Naruto disappeared via Shunshin and appeared in front of his family compound. Naruto slumped on the bed of the master bedroom. The covers were red with multiple orange swirls adorning it. He smiled and closed his eyes, feeling happier than ever. He took out a scroll from his pocket and looked at it, before sitting up and opening it to release its contents. He first took the scroll that had a yellow lightning bolt on it, and he knew immediately it was from his father. He always had a hunch that he was his father, but being told that his suspicions were true was still a surprise. He tried opening it, but found that it wouldn't. He turned it over and found a blood seal on it, keeping it closed. He slapped his forehead, calling himself an idiot. Of course his father would have placed a blood seal, he was a seal master. He bit his thumb and ran the blood across the seal. It sucked in the blood before the scroll loosened, making the scroll open before his very eyes. He read it and found it was a letter addressed to him. Dear Naruto, my boy, my son, I'm so sorry I have to do this, but as I write this letter the Kyuubi is rampaging towards Konoha. I'm so sorry, but I have no choice but to seal the demon inside of you. I understand if you hate me forever, but hopefully the village will see you as the hero you truly are. And not only that, but I will place a seal on your back that will absorb the Kyuubi's chakra until you are around 13. This seal was to be given to you either way, so here's the good thing. I am giving you the Harem. However, you won't need a seal for this one, though it helps if your enemy isn't in sight. Send chakra to the small of your back and will your body forward. That'll teleport you to the location you wish. This is the first and last gift I will be able to give, and for that I am sorry. If you're anything like me and your mother, I hope you become one of the greatest shinobi of all time. My only regret is that I can never see you grow up to see the most awesome man on earth. Love you, Minato Namikaze, Konoha's Yellow Flash, and your father. Naruto smiled at the letter, his eyes watering. I'll never hate you, Dad. You gave me someone who loves me, and I love her back. He was slightly glad that Kyuubi's light breathing was heard, meaning she was asleep. He sighed and opened the other scroll that had a red swirl on it. He opened it and read it. Dear Naruto-kun, how are you, my little baby? I hope you're all right. Minato-kun said you look a lot like him. I can already feel my strength leaving me. It sure was one heck of a struggle getting you out. Doctors say that I won't live through the night because of the blood loss and fatigue. Even now I'm trying to stay awake. I'm so sorry I won't be there for you. Your father and I have been looking forward to raising you and training you. Minato-kun took you and told me everything would be all right, but I saw the sadness in his eyes. I know I won't make it. Please make us proud, and know that we will always love you. We loved you before you were even born. In the seal below I'm giving you the one thing that always helped me, not only in battles but also with your father. Use it wisely, and take care, my baby. Yours truly, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, Red Reaper, and your mommy. Naruto looked at the bottom of the note and saw that there was a blood seal, as well as small smudges indicating his mother was crying when she wrote this. His own tears streaked down his cheeks as he reread both notes, memorizing them to heart. He bit his thumb and placed it on the seal, making it glow a slight red. In a puff of smoke, something appeared on Naruto's hand. He looked up and his eyes widened. In his hand was a large sword of about 5 feet with a red side, silver designs on the red, and a handle that seemed to belong to a bicycle of some sorts. He revved it up a bit, impressed by the power he felt. He smirked as he placed it over his left shoulder and walked out, intending on getting some training done. That is, until Shishi in his human form came busting into the door and seemed to be quite content on whatever he did. Not long after, a panting Akayo, also in her human form, stumbled inside and glared at her brother. No way, am I gonna let you get any of that prep, she said between gasps. What was he trying to get? Asked Naruto. Akayo whispered into Naruto's ear and his eyes widened. Whoa, that does sound dangerous. Akayo simply nodded and looked at the bed to see that Shishi had turned himself into a 5-year-old and was sleeping, also sucking his thumb. It's strange how he's disgusting 1 minute, then cute the next. Naruto simply nodded and walked out, leaving Akayo to wait with her brother. Some hotel. Sitting on a chair next to the window, Gaia stared out to the village, her thoughts on someone. She always wanted blood, nothing more. Yet here she was, thinking about this one blonde boy and not wanting to kill him. It confused her. She never was interested in boys. In fact, she was never interested in anybody. So why couldn't she stop thinking about him? Was it because he contained the Kyuubi? Did she fear him? She sat on a chair, her gourd leaning against her leg. Mother was still craving for Naruto's blood, but seemed to be slightly quieter. Temari came into the room and noticed how Gaia seemed distracted. She probably would have asked what was wrong, but years of living with Gaia told her to not ask unless she wants you to know. Temari, came the redhead's voice. Temari was slightly surprised she even wanted to talk. What does it mean, when you think of someone, yet you don't wish to kill him? Temari opened her mouth, then closed it again. She looked like a fish out of water. Gaia didn't seem affected, just waited patiently. Well, normally it means that you probably don't like them. That, or you care about them in a way, Temari said, not really sure what to say to her little sister. Since Gaia was born, she was naturally beautiful. Even the black around the eyes made her look sexy and dangerous. Gaia was thinking about this while Temari just tried to think of some other reason Gaia might be thinking non-hostile things about that blonde. Besides being a hot guy, I don't see why she'd like him. I mean, he holds the Kyuubi, so yeah, it's scary. But still, Gaia is smart enough not to fight someone that powerful. Right, Temari thought to herself. The reports on the Jinchuriki never said anything about him being able to control his Biju. but he seemed different from the reports just by appearance and presence. No one ever said anything about his hair being half black, not to mention she could have sworn a fox appeared around him when he placed his blade at Kinkuro's neck. It was pitch black, much darker than the fox that was next to him. It was there for barely a half second, but she could tell it was a fox by the bushy tail, long canines, and the pointed ears. "So you suggest that I am attracted to him," murmured Gaia, breaking Temari from her thoughts. "Oh, yeah, that's the gist of it, I guess. Then what do I do?" Now Temari wasn't sure. Gaia wasn't like the other girls. She was slightly psychotic and didn't seem to care about others besides herself. Yet here she was, asking Temari about boys. A smile crept along her face, making Gaia more confused. "Come one Gaia. Shopping time. Namikaze compound." Akayo was standing next to the bed, keeping an eye on Shishi. Anybody who had known Shishi for a long time would tell you to keep an eye on him, even when he was asleep. She sighed and continued to look at Shishi. Then she blinked, and blinked again, and she cursed loudly as she ran out the door while calling her brother's name. How the hell did he escape? I just blinked. She continued running and soon heard what sounded like an animal tearing something apart. She entered the kitchen to find Shishi raiding the fridge. He was about to eat another dumpling when he heard a girl clear her throat. He turned around and saw Akayo there, her arms crossed and left foot tapping the floor. He smiled and slowly moved the dumpling away from his mouth. He then held the dumpling out to her. Dumpling, Ni-chan." A few minutes later, Akayo sighed as she and Shishi were now in the Ikaraku ramen shop. Akayo was eating a single bowl at a moderate pace. Shishi, however, Ayame and Tuchai stared in awe as Shishi kept eating more and more bowls. Next to him was a pile of approximately 12 empty bowls. Are you sure you're not related to Naruto?" asked Ayame, only for Akayo to shake her head. "We know him, but Shishi here is not even close to being related to him. However, don't let this fool you. He's a bottomless pit for food, period. It doesn't matter what he's eating as long as it's edible and he likes the taste. If you got that, he'll eat it," explained Akayo to the two shop owners. They just nodded and made one last bowl. After that, Shishi left the money on the counter and turned to leave. Outside, he bumped into none other than Sakura Haruno. He smiled at her and said, "Sorry, I should have watched where I was going." Sakura blushed a little and nodded. "Not every day a cute guy talks to you. It's okay. I was just looking for someone." "And who, may I ask, might that be?" he asked, genuinely curious. "Oh, his name is Naruto Uzumaki. I hope to find him because he's teaching me some ninjutsu." A smile appeared on Shishi's face. "I know Naruto. The kid's a good friend of mine. If you want, I can teach you a few jutsu." Just then, Naruto appeared with his new blade over his shoulder. "Oh, hey guys, good to see you," Naruto greeted, his trademark foxy grin on his face. "What's up, fishcakes?" greeted Shishi. Sakura giggled a little at the nickname. "I was just asking this girl here if she would like some jutsu training." He turned to Sakura and said, "Sorry, but I didn't ask for your name." "Sakura," she said, smiling. "I'm Shishi. So what do you say about those ninjutsu?" asked Shishi. Sakura turned to Naruto, who nodded. "Just don't offer to buy him something at a restaurant. He's as bottomless to food as Naruto is to ramen," came a female's voice from inside the shop. Out came Akayo in all her glory. "Take care of my brother and keep an eye on him. He may be teaching you, but it's your job to make sure he doesn't get into trouble. Also," she went up to Sakura and whispered something into her ear. Said Pinky's eyes widened before she nodded and murmured, "Understood." Shishi's head hung as he mumbled, "Curse you, Akayo." After shopping for clothing, though Temari was the one who picked out the most, they were now in their hotel. Gaia decided not to wear what she and Temari bought, as she saw no need to. Now that she finished talking to Temari, who didn't seem to be paying attention to her confusion, she decided that she would try something else. So here she was, walking down the street of Konoha. If she asked about the blonde boy, the elders would either scoff at her or say something insulting about him. That was expected. If she asked any of the younger generation, they'd either belittle him or shrug. There were a few who said he had slain the demon cat, but that was the closest she found to a praise. She knew she would have normally killed those who dared say things like that about her, but for some reason it seemed that nobody feared him. Doesn't he get respect? I kill when others dare to look at me wrong, but he sounds like he doesn't care, she thought. Just then, she heard a small explosion coming from a few kilometers to a training ground. She reached out with her chakra and could clearly sense the other Jinchuriki's chakra signature. She was confused as to why she even bothered to remember his signature, but shrugged it off for later. She made her way towards where she felt the chakra emitting from, and found it to be a large forest with a wired fence going around it. She summoned some of her sand and rode deep into the forest. Not long after she entered that another explosion occurred. This time she could feel some wind blowing because of the explosion. Soon she landed on a tree branch and watched as Naruto used a different blade from when she met him. He twisted the handle of the blade, making a revving sound, before charging at a tree and slicing cleanly through it. He sighed and mumbled, "Good. It didn't blow this time." He replaced the red blade over the other one on his back before calling, "Come on out, Gaia-san." Gaia appeared, her arms crossed over her decent-sized breast. "How did you know it was me?" she demanded. "Your gourd reeks of blood, so it's no surprise if I smell it first. You might want to do something about that." Deadpan Naruto. Gaia wasn't sure how to take that, since it never occurred to her in the past. "Now, may I ask what you need of me?" and in 1 second, Gaia's mind was going faster than light. She didn't even know why she was there. Thinking quickly, she murmured, "I heard the explosion and came here. I wanted to know if it would be someone to offer blood to mother." Naruto just shrugged. Not his business if Gaia's mother was blood hungry and if she wanted his blood specifically. He was sure he could kill her. Then again, Gaia was a little scary. Not the way she looked, she was actually very hot. It was the way she seemed to have a weird appetite for him. It was like he was ramen and Gaia was the fake masked Naruto when he wore all the orange. He then jumped to a tree branch and looked back at Gaia, his foxy grin appearing again. "Hope to see you soon, Gaia-san." And with that, Naruto disappeared in black and red smoke. Gaia stood there for a moment, the foxy grin still fresh on her mind. She felt her face become warm. She frowned and made her way to her team's apartment, needing answers from Temari. Team 7 appeared, 2 of them looking different. Naruto was still thinking about Gaia, wondering what she was up to. Sakura looked slightly troubled with a frown on her face, as if concentrating. Sasuk was brooding, "Nuff said." The 3 genin just stood there, all 3 in their own thoughts. Then, almost 2 hours later, Kakashi appeared with his regular yo and peace sign, and not a single one of them told him how late he was. He sweat dropped before saying, yo, nothing, hello, zit, waz up, nada, Tenki, Blondie, mo. Only Sasuk glared at him. However, he also noticed the other 2 were in deep thought. Dobe, Haruno, like his sensei, nothing. He walked over and was about to slap Naruto upside the head, but was hit squarely on the face by Naruto, who blinked twice and looked at his fist, wondering why it was extended. He looked at where it was pointing to see the Uchiha on the ground, groaning and rubbing his face. "Oh, hi Sasuk. Good to see that everyone's here," mumbled Sakura, realizing that Naruto had just punched Sasuk. Though she saw that said Uchiha was about to hit Naruto, for some reason, she felt that he deserved it. Naruto looked over at Sakura and asked, "Is something wrong?" "It's Shishi." Naruto's eyes widened. "He told me what he is. And now, I don't know. Normally I'd be afraid, but I feel confused." Thankfully, Sasuk was still nursing his face and wasn't paying attention. Naruto made 2 shadow clones before grabbing her and disappearing in a flash of red. One of the clones then transformed himself into Sakura and they turned to Kakashi, one of his eyebrows raised. Just in time for the Uchiha to place his attention on the clone. "What the hell was that for, Dobe?" he demanded at the clone. The clone just shrugged, not really caring what the Uchiha said. Sasuk was fuming, but returned his attention to their sensei. Said sensei figured that whatever they were talking about concerning Shishi was important. Naruto and Sakura appeared in the middle of a forest, where it was unknown by Sakura. "So what exactly did he tell you?" Sakura explained that Shishi wanted to make Sakura his apprentice, much like how Akayo was Naruto's master. Of course, Naruto already mastered his shadow manipulation, so now it was Sakura's turn. Naruto just smiled and said, "Don't worry. Shishi's a nice guy, so you can trust him. Besides, not all demons are evil. Not only that, but you don't seem so scared." "There a reason." Sakura blushed. "He's the only guy to actually like me. I don't care that he's a demon, he makes me feel like I'm loved." "Well, you might want to keep this a secret from your mom. I don't think she wants her daughter associated with a demon," Naruto suggested, earning a nod from Sakura. Then one of the clones dispersed, making a grin on Naruto's face as he received the clone's memories. "Come on, we need to get going." He once again placed a hand on her shoulder before they disappeared in a flash of red. Back with Kakashi and Sasuk. Kakashi had just given Naruto his flyer for the Chunin exams before the clone gave the flyer to Sakura and puffed out of existence. Meanwhile, Sakura disappeared in a flash of red, making Sasuk's eyes the size of dinner plates. Sakura can do it as well. How the hell are 2 weaklings able to do that and I can't? They will teach me that, whether they like it or not, thought the Avenger, then noticed that Kakashi was gone. He walked away, grumbling about weak teammates. After speaking with Sakura, Naruto and Akayo were off, leaving Sakura to have her own paper signed after Naruto explained that the Chunin exams would begin. On his way home, Naruto looked to his left to find yet another crow perched on a tree. He grabbed the letter on its beak and read it, slightly surprised by the contents. "Dear Naruto, I know this is sudden, and for that I apologize. But it seems that one of my colleagues has found out about our letters. I have no choice but to bring him with me, as that is the only way he'll shut the hell up. Sincerely, Crow." Naruto sighed and quickly disposed of the letter. He didn't want anyone knowing about him just yet. Naruto sighed as he looked up at the ceiling, waking up to yet another day. Tomorrow, the Chunin exams would begin, and he still didn't know what type his Yauki was. He could manipulate the shadows much faster, but that seemed to be the only thing so far. Shishi had yet to find out what type of Yauki he possessed, only that it was very ancient and powerful. Getting up, he got dressed, walked downstairs, and once again found his good friends there. After some time, Sakura began to visit the compound more frequently to learn more jutsu from Shishi. They quickly found out she was a natural at shadow wielding. She promised to not tell anyone about Naruto's heritage until he wanted to. Not only that, Shishi and Naruto made a small seal next to her ear that would translate the canine language. Meanwhile, he made 2 seals on all his gloves to seal his swords. He walked outside, where he found Shishi in his fox form swimming in a small pond. "Morning fish cakes. How you doing?" asked the large fox, crawling out of the pond and shaking the water off. Morning Shishi. So are we continuing on the Kenjutsu lessons? Asked Naruto. Shishi nodded and transformed into his human form. Naruto noticed that he no longer wore the large cloak that covered all his body. Instead, he was now wearing black pants with a metal guard on the right thigh, a black long-sleeved hooded coat with the white leaf symbol on the back, black metal-toed boots, bandages covering his elbows down, chains making an X on the front of his chest, and was holding a large blade in his hands. Think of Cloud's blade from Advent Children. Why, 'cause it's freaking awesome. He got into a stance, Naruto summoning Red Queen and mimicking him. Tell me why we're not practicing on a fighting style again. Naruto complained. Because, you idiot, I don't know a specific style. It's been thousands of years since last us shadow demons and you humans have met. Last we helped were those Nara people, and they were too damn lazy to learn much besides how to control the actions of their enemies. Of course, they got creative enough to do more, but not much, mumbled Shishi. Wait. You're telling me you're a few thousand years old and you haven't ever used a style. I don't need one. All styles focus on one thing while I get creative with the basics and stay original. So all I'm showing you is the basic katas and then it's all you. You want a style? Sucks to be you then. With that, Shishi once again began to beat Naruto into the ground. Well, to be fair, it seemed pretty even. Most of the day continued on, before they decided to end it for now and Sakura and Naruto went to the team meeting. On their way there, Sakura noticed how much people seemed to hate Naruto. They were glaring, sneering at him, but they also had a look that almost said, it's true. She shook it off and continued, not wanting to bring it up to Naruto. She knew Naruto was aware of them. As they neared the training ground, Sasuk was already there brooding his ass off. He noticed Sakura and Naruto walking up to him, Akayo on Naruto's head while Shishi was walking next to Sakura. He tried to keep stoic, but was still interested in those two foxes. Shishi apparently noticed, because he growled at the Uchiha, forcing him to back away. For now, after another hour or so, Kakashi appeared with the same entrance and greeting as always. He noticed Sakura was laying on the ground with one leg over the other, her hands folded on her stomach and her head on Shishi, using him as a pillow. Not that he minded, of course, since he liked how she smelled. Sasuk was leaning against a tree, his arms crossed. Naruto was on a tree branch, Akayo around his neck, and had his left leg on the branch, near his body. All in all, it made them look cool. They gave Kakashi their signed flyers before Naruto raised his hand. Well, just the elbow and down were raised. Sorry Kakashi-sensei, but I have to teach Sakura some more stuff. You can stick with Sasuk for now. He didn't even wait for Kakashi to say anything, just appeared next to Sakura and grabbed her arm before the four of them disappeared in a flash. Sasuk scoffed but turned to Kakashi. Why did they leave me alone? Kakashi demanded in his head. In his head, a chibi Kakashi was crying and in the fetal position. Naruto and Sakura appeared back at the Namikaze estate, both still in the position from when they left. So what now? She asked, not getting up. Like Naruto, she learned to be calm and collected, though she was still loud sometimes. She also learned to stop hitting Naruto, and the fact that he'd sometimes whack her on the head helped the progress of stopping. Things were looking up for the shadow wielders. Sakura was in the middle of making a knife out of shadows when Naruto's doorbell rang. He walked over and opened the door to see Hinata there, poking her fingers together and looking at the floor. Hello Naruto K-kun. I wanted TT to ask you if you would participate in the Chunin exams. Naruto took a step close and smiled, his slightly longer canines showing. Hinata finally looked up to find that Naruto looked slightly different. His hair was longer and had a few black highlights, canines were longer, so were his nails, and he was taller. Not to mention that his malnourished body was more fit now. Hinata kept ogling him, unable to look away nor stop the fantasies flooding her mind. Naruto leaned in, his lips close to her left ear. I will. I hope to see you there as well, Hinata-chan. He whispered, making the girl shiver as his breath brushed against her ear. Will, na Naruto-kun. She whispered back. Naruto leaned back, his usual smile making her blush. That's when Sakura appeared, a black thing in her hands. It looked a lot like a knife, but its blade was too curved, making it useless. Oh, hello Hinata-chan. Come in, I'm sure Naruto won't mind. Greeted the girl, already pulling the girl inside. And don't worry, there's nothing going on between me and Naruto. He's the closest thing I have to a brother despite the things my mother usually says, added Sakura. Hinata wanted to know what she meant by her mother, but decided to ask later. Naruto simply let them inside while he went to eat some ramen. It had been some time since he had any, and he felt like he was dying. In the house, she found two foxes. One was rather large while the other was almost the same size as Akamaru. The small one greeted her with a yip, the other was too busy eating a large chunk of meat. I think you already met Akayo, Sakura said, gesturing to the small fox. The other one is Shishi, Akayo's older sibling. He's nice, but... She whispered in Hinata's ear the same thing Akayo told her. Hinata's eyes widened while Shishi groaned. It would be a long time before he could go berserk. Naruto was in bed, looked down at his arms. Akayo was clinging to his waist with a purr coming from her, and she didn't seem to want to wake up anytime soon. He sighed and mumbled something about foxy sleepy heads. He got out of bed, making sure not to wake Akayo up, and got dressed, sealed his weapons before heading out to the academy. As he got there, he noticed that Shishi was next to Sakura in his fox form. What seemed he noticed about his pink-haired teammate was the large cylinder object behind her back. It looked a lot like one of those things you put coffee in, where you just twist off the cap and use said cap as a cup to pour your coffee in. Only difference was that the cap was made to open with a single movement of a finger, and it was 4 feet long and 1.5 feet wide. He could only guess it was full of water for her water jutsu. Shishi meantime was looking at a nearby shop, trying to restrain himself from stealing something specific. He knew how dangerous he could become, but he frankly didn't care. He loved being in a state of utter destruction. "Shall we go in?" Naruto said, earning nods from his teammates. They entered and were walking up the stairs to the second floor. Suddenly, Hakayo appeared and leaped on Naruto's head, glaring at him. "You could have awakened me, Naruto-kun," she whined, waking her tail against his face. He just chuckled and petted her head. "Sorry, Hakayo-chan, but you looked so cute and angelic that it seemed like a sin to wake you up just for some exams," Naruto said, telling the truth. Hakayo just humped and stayed quiet the rest of the stairs. Once at the top, they noticed a kid with a bowl cut, giant eyebrows, and a green spandex jumpsuit was being thrown around in front of the room for the test. Naruto frowned and realized it was a genjutsu. Sakura noticed this as well and kept quiet, hoping against hope that, "Drop the genjutsu. We know it's the second floor, and the test will be on the third," said the oh-so-arrogant asshole with them, a smirk on his face as he thought he was so cool. "Duck-ass won't say anything." Naruto slapped his forehead and Sakura groaned. "You fool," shouted Naruto to said duck-ass. "That was supposed to weed out the weaker ones. Now we have more competition because of you." Sakura shook her head and walked ahead, Shishi not far behind her. Naruto just sighed and said, "See you around, Kotsu, Izumo." He waved goodbye to the two guarding the door, who waved back and walked off to return to their posts. Sasuk just had his nose in the air, obviously too arrogant to care. Once they were in a different room, they all heard someone call, "Stop. You there, the one with black hair? Are you Sasuk Uchiha?" They turned to see the same guy from before, the one with the giant eyebrows. Naruto and Sakura kept walking, then Sakura said, "I give him 5 minutes." Naruto smirked. "I give him 3. Naruto and Sakura both jumped onto the balcony above the small arena, both taking a seat as 2 thrones appeared behind them. Shishi's tail split into 2 before he sent it into the 2 Genin's shadows, making them expand. Naruto's throne seemed to be made of black bones, had silver wind patterns with flames near the bottom, and had a red leather seat. Sakura's was made of black vines with a few orbs above it, made of what seemed like black water, and her seat was a blue-green color. Naruto placed his right elbow on one of the arms while leaning his cheek against the fist he made. Sakura crossed her legs and leaned back, looking relaxed. They both looked like a prince and a princess about to enjoy a show, their 2 foxes on either side of them. "Okay, let's see what you two can do, shall we?" Naruto announced, his hand raised up at the ready. Sasuk and Green Jumpsuit Boy both got into fighting stances. "Hey, it might be nice to introduce yourself, Jumpsuit-san." "Of course, my name is Rock Lee, Konoha's Green Beast," said the boy, his voice excited. Naruto smirked, his hand still in the air. "Begin," he shouted, letting his arm drop. 5 minutes later, Naruto, Sakura, and a beat-up Sasuk walked up to the entrance to the first exam, while the 3 shivered at what they just saw. Nothing more horrible than watching 2 lookalikes hugging with a sunset on the background. In front of the door they found Kakashi reading his book, until it burst into black flames after Naruto snapped his fingers. Kakashi cried for a minute or so before recomposing himself and looking at his team. "Good, you all came. Did you have fun?" Naruto asked, quirking an eyebrow at the Avenger. Sasuk just scoffed and ignored him, Naruto not really caring. Shishi turned to Sakura, who could tell he had something similar to a smirk. "Yo, I found these on 2 guys I saw earlier." From his back came what appeared to be 2 huge claw-like gauntlets. Sakura's eyes widened when she realized they belonged to none other than the Demon Brothers. She nodded and made a hand gesture that meant put them away. Shishi nodded and made the gauntlets disappear into his body. He's like a living bag. His body is like smoke for whatever he wishes to store inside. It just floats there, no matter the size. Sasuk didn't notice, but Naruto and Hakayo did. "It's a good thing the 3 of you came, or else none of you would have been able to enter," revealed Kakashi. None of them seemed fazed. "Well, all I can say is that I wish you luck." He disappeared in a puff of smoke, showing it was a shadow clone. Somewhere else, Kakashi just received the clone's memories. He suddenly looked at his book and whispered, "Don't worry, honey." The evil blonde Gayui began petting lightly, as if it were his pet, or a special jewel. The 3 entered the room, and Sasuk was almost instantly tackled on by Ino. "Oh, hello Sasuk-kun. Miss me?" she squealed. It was quiet for a moment, before she realized that the usual screaming wasn't heard. She looked over next to Naruto to see a calm Sakura with a black fox next to her. Everyone was surprised she wasn't screaming at Ino, just looking around the room and sizing up the competition. Much like how Naruto was doing. As if noticing Ino for the first time, Sakura smiled at her and said, "Hello Ino. Good to see you. Also, I was wondering if we could talk about something when you have the time." Ino could do little more than nod at her rival, her confusion rising. Shikamaru and Choji appeared behind her, both wondering what happened to the once loud Banshee. Ino let go of Sasuk, much to his pleasure. Just then, everyone else appeared. The Rookie 9 were officially reunited. Hinata seemed to want to stay hidden, staying at the very back. Had she been paying attention, she would have noticed Naruto vanish. She also would have noticed that her shadow began to move before it stood up and placed its arms around her, startling her. The shadow changed shape before it gained color, showing Naruto Uzumaki with his arms around her. "Hello, Hinata-chan. Glad to see you. I was hoping you'd come," he whispered in her ear. "Get away from her," shouted Kiba, already charging. Naruto's right leg shot out and Kiba smacked right into it, effectively deteriorating him. Next, Naruto kicked Kiba's legs from under him, making the dog boy fall on his stomach, before quickly sitting on said dog boy's back. "Hey, get off me, dobe." "No, now shut up or I'll muzzle you, pup," Naruto threatened, leaking his kai at the boy he was sitting on. Kiba might not have been the smartest of all the Inuzuka, but his senses screamed to him a red alert. An alert that he wished he had the title to. Alpha. Just then, a white-haired boy probably older than the rest came up to them, pushing his spectacles a bit more up his nose. "You know, you kids should quiet down a bit. These here shinobi are a bit on edge, and I'm sure you don't want them taking their frustration out on you guys," said the boy, a somewhat creepy grin on his face. "I'm used to mobs beating the crap out of me, some of them including shinobi. Nothing new there, so bring him," Naruto mumbled, standing up and lightly kicking Kiba's head for good measures. Only a few knew what he meant, while the others wondered what he was talking about. "Yes, well, since I'm feeling generous, how about I give you little guys some help?" offered the white-haired boy. Name. It wasn't a question, it was demand. And it came from none other than Naruto, who was unsure what to think of the guy in front of them. "Ah yes, forgive me for not introducing myself. My name is Kakashi Kabuto. I guess you could say I'm somewhat of a veteran when it comes to these exams." He takes out a stack of cards from his back pocket. "These are my ninfo cards. I have information on nearly every ninja here." "Do you have info on individuals?" Sasuk said, slightly intrigued. "Yes. You know who you want to know about. Sabaku no Gaia, Rock Lee, and Uzumaki Naruto." Everyone gave him a weird look, wondering why he'd see Naruto as a threat. "So you know their names. That makes them easier to find." He then took out 3 cards and started. Rock Lee, he has completed 20 D rank and 11 B rank missions. His taijutsu is off the charts, but his ninjutsu and genjutsu is non-existent. Sabaku no Gaia, she has completed 14 degrees Celsius rank and 1 B rank. Her abilities are unknown, but it is said that she has returned from every mission without a scratch. Lastly, Naruto Uzumaki, he has completed 24 D rank, 1 A rank mission and 1 S rank mission. Sakura cocked her head to the side. "Wait, our team only completed 1 A rank mission. How can Naruto have accomplished an S rank? Didn't you know?" Naruto-san stopped a Chunin by the name of Mizuki when he tried to take the forbidden scroll. Almost instantly, there was a snap and the card Kabuto was holding began to burn in black flames. He quickly dropped it and noticed his fingers were slightly burned. However, when he tried healing them, it was almost a tenth of how fast it should have been. "What the hell?" he thought, looking at Naruto. Said boy was glaring at him. He seemed to know a lot of information, especially things that only the Hokage is supposed to know. "Kabuto," murmured the boy, his eyes narrowing. "He reeks of snakes. What, does he literally have snake neighbors or something?" he thought. He sniffed again and noticed someone else had a snake scent. "Akusa Kanoichi, I don't like this." Sakura seemed to notice his frown. "Something wrong, Naruto? I think we're being invaded by snakes now. Already there are 2 people who reek of that reptile," he murmured. Sakura frowned, but knew Naruto had his reasons. Meanwhile, Kabuto said something about the Oto Nin being weak. 3 blurs ran forward, ready to attack Kabuto. One was a female while the other 2 were males. The one that looked like a hobo had black hair that looked a lot like Kakashi's. His headband looked to be on a helmet of sorts. The other had bandages all over his face and head, only showing his left eye. He was hunched back, and wore a large robe-like shirt that went past his hands, nearly touching the ground. The girl had a grayish-green vest with shoulder guards. The 3 of them were all wearing gray camo pants, same cloth around their necks, and black sandals covered with bandages near the ankles. Everyone could tell Kabuto prepared to dodge, but at the last second Naruto appeared behind him while shouting, "Good luck, Kabuto," and slapping him on the back. That slap was enough to send Kabuto straight into the attack, making him take the full force on the side of the face and fall to the floor. Kabuto got to his hands and knees, but soon threw up his lunch all over the floor. When he raised his head, everyone saw that his spectacles were broken. Everyone turned to Naruto to find another surprised. "Wow, 1 punch and he upchucked," Naruto mumbled. His face was barely a foot from the device on the genin with bandages. "I gotta get one of these." He began pocketing the metal gauntlet lightly, looking at it with some fascination in his eyes. Just then, a man in a trench coat, a bandana for his headband, and many scars on his face appeared in the front of the class, instantly leaking some kai. "All right, maggots, I'm Morino Ibiki. You Otonin should know that there is no fighting or you'll be disqualified immediately." "Shut up, I'm looking at something here," Naruto shouted back, his voice mock annoyance. Ibiki turned his attention to Naruto before a smirk appeared on both their faces. Few knew it, but Naruto was pretty good at torturing people. "Good to see you again, Gaki. You have more tips for us," said the man, some praise laced in his voice. "Only if I get to call you Scarface from now on." Naruto said, still looking at the bracer. He was starting to creep the bandage guy out. Ibuki's eye twitched, but he sighed and mumbled, we'll talk later. Now, everyone will get a number from this hat and take a seat. Once everyone was seated, he began telling the rules. Naruto, being in Uzumaki, didn't pay much attention. All he knew was that it was a written exam, there were 10 questions, the last one would be given at the end, and that if he was caught cheating 5 times, he was out. Simple enough. He was lucky to sit right next to Hinata, who looked equally happy. When the exam started, both Akaio and Shishi were going around, getting the answers. Since they were shadows, they couldn't be seen by the normal eyes, nor the trained ninja eye. Sakura could do it with her mind alone, but she wanted to make sure. Naruto saw that everyone was cheating. Sasuk was using his Sharingan to copy the movements of the person in front of him. Hinata and another Hyuga were using their Byakugan. A girl with panda buns was using mirrors to help her and her teammate. Gaia's brother was using a puppet, and Gaia herself was using something that seemed like an eye. When he looked a bit more back, he chuckled when he saw Shikamaru sleeping over his test, and Ino was also sleeping. That, or she possessed someone. Kiba was getting the answers from Akamaru, and Shino was communicating with some bugs. Unfortunately, the downside of finishing early was, I'm bored, Shishi. He began whining the instant Naruto and Sakura finished. He even went so far as to start sniffing people's butts. Kami, humans are so disgusting. Yep, he was really annoying. Shishi, Naruto called. If you shut the hell up, I'll let you eat all the beef jerky when we return home. Now stay quiet. Instantly, Shishi stopped sniffing the butt of some other nin. He then walked up to Sakura and curled into a ball beneath her chair. Beef jerky, just wait till this is over. As time passed, people began to be disqualified from being found cheating during their 5 turns. Shishi finally woke up when the final question was about to be announced. All he got in was that if you failed it, you never become a Chunin. Big deal. Those thoughts were going through Naruto's head as well. If he were to be kept in genin rank, then it will be just as helpful. I'll be underestimated, which isn't hard since I have been when I still wore that mask. Guess I'll just have to be the genin who killed hundreds. He thought nonchalantly. The rank didn't matter too much for him, though the only downside would be that he isn't allowed to have anything above a C rank. Sakura in the meantime was using her head. How can they keep us from becoming Chunin? Only the Hokage has the right to make someone a Chunin or not. Why's this guy? Suddenly, it clicked in her mind. Oh, he's seeing if we're confident enough. She had to admit that was smart. Back with Naruto, he noticed Hinata's left hand twitching before slowly raising. Oh, he thought, thinking quickly. He placed a smirk on his face before beginning to chuckle. Within a few seconds, it became a laugh that had everyone looking at him, wondering what was so funny. Man, that's a good one. But seriously, you think you can fool me? I can always go to another village and become Chunin there when the exams begin again. Even if I can't become Chunin, then at least I'll be the strongest genin in this whole world. Naruto declared, a smirk on his face. Ibuki glared at him, though inside he was impressed. Kid has more guts than I thought. Should have known though, especially with what he's gone through. Thought the scarred man. Then in that case, you all pass. And so came the what, and how, and other remarks from many people who were surprised by this. Shishi had his paws over his ears. Damn humans wanting to be the loudest things on earth. I guess it isn't as bad as when I was being attacked by those banshees. Man, those things were screamers. In more ways than one, murmured Shishi, a perverted giggle near the end. Sakura simply sighed and scolded Shishi for saying those things. We don't want people knowing about you just yet. Wait till the last part, she whispered, earning a bark from the fox. Just then, a ball of fabric crashed through the window before 2 kunai on the opposite ends were thrown, showing a banner and a woman in front of it. The banner read the sexy and single Madarashi Anko, while the woman gave a peace sign to all of them. She had purplish hair tied in a spiky ponytail, and her eyes were something between tan and gray. She wore a tan jacket with matching skirt, a full-body mesh suit, and the jacket was open to partially show her luscious body. Okay maggots, time for the second part of the exam. The name's Anko, and you're all gonna follow me. Silence. You're early, Anko. Again, Ibuki said, his head poking out of the side of the banner. She finally noticed that there were still a bunch of kids left. Damn, I think you're getting soft, Ibuki. At least I'll cut the numbers in half, she muttered. No, we just have a few that seem to be good for once. That, and Uzumaki is here. Immediately, Anko snapped her head back to the kids in front of her. It took her a millisecond to find Naruto, a smirk on his face. Sup, Anko? How you been doing? Greeted the boy, waving at her. She smiled. No, seriously, it was a genuine smile. Hey Uzumaki, I've been wondering where you were. By the way, nice hair. Naruto chuckled and leaned back on his chair. Anko meanwhile shouted, okay, meet me in Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. She then shined to said training ground, Naruto also doing the same. Sakura made a few hand signs and melted into the shadows, Shishi not far behind her. Sasuk and the rest then ran to get to the training ground. Anko appeared at the entrance of the Forest of Death. She walked over to a small table where she left her dango. She was barely 10 feet away before she found that there were no dango where she left them. For a second she stood there, before her face twisted in rage and she shouted, "Okay? Who ate my dango?" She heard someone chuckling and turned around to find Naruto behind her, a dango stick used to clean between his teeth. "Something wrong, Anko?" he asked innocently. Anko glared at him. So far, it looked there was only one little ball left, ready to be eaten. Naruto stuck his hand out, the little ball near Anko's lips. "You want?" he asked. "Damn right. It was mine," she said, clearly pissed. Naruto chuckled more, the dango still close to her lips. She was about to bite it when Naruto snatched it away and ate it instead. Well, almost. He still had it between his teeth, a smirk still there. Anko probably would have killed him, but he disappeared in a puff of smoke. She blinked twice. Shadow clones, she thought. Finally, Naruto came from behind the gates of the forest. "Here you go, Anko," he said, handing her the real dango. She snatched it away before slapping him upside the head. "Jerk," she mumbled, already starting on her dango. Naruto just smiled as a pool of shadows appeared next to him. A hand reached out and grabbed the earth before it pulled out a shoulder, then hair, and after a few seconds the rest of the body. It was black for a second before gaining color, showing Sakura there with her eyes closed. Shishi appeared next, already feeling like he missed something. "Hey Uzumaki, what we miss?" "Not much," he said shrugging. After a few seconds, the rest of the genin appeared. Naruto was kinda creeped out the way that Kusakanoichi was looking at him. It reminded him of a snake looking at a bunny. Hungrily, he shivered and looked towards Anko, who began explaining the exam. Naruto didn't pay much attention, but got the gist of it. "Get a scroll, find team with other scroll, take it, go to tower, have only 5 days, don't let teammates die, don't open scrolls, etc." Then they signed the waiver stating that Konoha was not responsible for deaths that would happen. No problem. That is, until Shishi went back to sniffing people's butts. Akaio quickly ran over to him and began dragging him back to Team 7, with cries of, "Curse you, Nichan," and "You'll never take me alive," or "Inoo." So close, when he was close to finding something he wanted. "Aniki, control yourself. Last time you went on that state, you wounded Aunt Kyuubi pretty badly," Akaio told her brother. Yup, Shishi the shadow demon was crazy enough to fight the Kyuubi. Shishi laughed sheepishly while Naruto was sure he heard a shiver on the back of his mind. Currently, Team 7 was waiting for the gates in front of them to open. "Okay, and begin." They heard Anko's voice before the gates swung open. All the teams rushed into the forest, and the second exam began. Anko sighed as she finished her dango. Her mind wandered to the first time she saw Uzumaki Naruto. She still owed him somewhat for that night. It was late, the sun already setting and the sky an eerie purple. Anko sluggishly began to stumble home, her eyes clouded and her breath smelling like alcohol. She began to grumble about the council and cursing them. Once again, they sent her on a mission to hopefully have her killed. Just thinking about it made her hand go to her left hip, which was slightly covered in bandages. She was barely halfway home when a bottle was thrown at her and hit her on the left side of her head, making her stumble into an alley and fall on her side. She cried in pain as her wound was landed on, partially reopening it. A pair of men walked over to her, both of them having a sadistic grin on their faces. "Well, what do we have here? If it isn't Orochimaru's little bitch," said one of them, his hand going to his waist. Anko could barely see it, but she knew he had a knife. "Yeah, we got lucky and caught us a little snaky. Wonder if we can skin it and make a belt or something," the other said, reaching down and grabbing the edge of the bottle that wasn't completely destroyed. She groaned in pain and tried to reach for a kunai, but one of them kicked her arm away from her equipment before throwing it away into a garbage can. The one with the bottle then grabbed her by the neck and slammed her against the wall with enough force to knock her breath out. "Stay still. It won't take long, so you might as well enjoy it, whore," growled the one with his hand around her neck. She growled back and spit on his face. He just smirked and slapped her, making her yelp as her face became red with a handprint. "Don't," she managed to croak out. "Don't what? Don't stop." "Okay," the other said, using his knife to cut off her jacket. Once it was off, the one holding her hit her again, harder. She began to cry as she was sober enough to know she was going to be raped. Just as the one with the knife was about to cut off her mesh, he became rigid and all color left his face. "What's wrong with you?" the other asked. The man barely made a sound before a black spike appeared through his chest. The spike then pulled him into the shadows, where more spikes appeared and began to slice him to small pieces. The other man could barely utter a sound before another spike appeared, this one next to Anko's head and stabbing him through the mouth. The man was pushed into the remains of his partner before going through the same fate of being stabbed and sliced. Anko could only watch in horror as the men that were about to rape her were turned to scrap meat right in front of her. She was more shocked when the shadows seemed to eat the pieces, though it looked more like acid eating something away. When all was gone, a hand then melted out of the shadows, grabbing the edge of the shadows to pull itself out. Then a head of spiky blonde hair came out. Finally, the rest of the body came out. The man's face was covered by the shadows, but she could clearly see the cerulean blue eyes looking at her. They showed concern and anger. "Are you okay?" came a voice, most likely from the one in front of her. It was then she realized that it wasn't a man, but a teen. She squinted into the darkness and realized it was that kid that she saw be beaten. She usually stopped it, but when there were too many she would grab him and run away, usually by transforming into a random civilian. Why yeah, I'm fine, she murmured, before she fell unconscious from slight blood loss. Before she hit the ground, Naruto appeared next to her and caught her. He picked her up bridal style before heading towards Anko's home. He was slightly glad that the window was open, but made sure to close it once he was inside. He made sure no one was inside her home before setting her on her bed. Just as she was in the bed, her arms wrapped around his neck and caused him to fall onto bed next to her. Please stay with me. I don't want to be alone, she whispered into his ear. Naruto could tell she was genuinely scared of being left alone. He smiled warmly at her, placing a hand on her cheek. Okay, I'll stay with you for tonight. Anko nodded and brought him closer while pressing her body against his. He blushed a little, but managed to wrap his arms around her form. Good night, Anko, he whispered into her ear. Slowly, both pariahs fell into a deep sleep. Team 7 was tree jumping from branch to branch, their senses sharp. Naruto was at the front, Sasuk and Sakura behind him to form a triangle formation. Shishi and Akayo were zipping from shadow to shadow, collecting some of it in case they needed it. Suddenly, Naruto stopped and held his hand up. What is it? Asked Sakura, opening her canteen. Is it an enemy? Asked Sasuk, taking out a pair of kunai and activating his Sharingan. Naruto looked back at them with a slightly embarrassed smile. Gotta take a pee, he murmured. Sakura and Sasuk face faulted while Shishi snickered. Akayo rolled her eyes, but stayed silent. After some time, Akayo and Shishi's heads jerked in the direction of where Naruto went. I smell another scent. I think he's with Naruto, Shishi said, sounding slightly worried. Naruto came out, grumbling about peeping toms. He was dragging some ninja by the ankle, the ninja having the left side of his face bleeding slightly. If you're wondering, no, I didn't kill him. The idiot tried to jump me when I was pissing and tripped on a rock, fell face first into the ground. I gotta say, it was weird how all I did was turn around and accidentally pissed on him, explained the blonde. The rest looked at the man, and sure enough he had a wet spot below the armpit. Naruto sighed and kicked the man. Did you even bother to check him? Demanded Sasuk, hopping to at least prove that Naruto was an idiot. Yes, I did Uchiha. And if you're wondering, the idiot had no scroll. Obviously, since he was the scouter, he wouldn't have it in case he got caught. The only thing I found that is of any importance is the fact that he has a few kunai and shuriken. That's all so far, Naruto growled, his eyes burning into the Uchiha's skull. He still didn't want to talk to him for almost killing Akayo. Sasuk was either stupid or didn't care, cause he just ignored his glare. Anyway, it's better if we have a code of some sorts to know whether one of us is an imposter or not. We'll call it. At this part, Naruto noticed a few birds going above them. One of them looked like, hey look, it's Sasuk, said Naruto, pointing up at the bird. Both teammates looked up and found the bird that looked like Sasuk's hair. Sakura giggled and Sasuk glared at the grinning teen. And there's another one. This time he pointed at Sasuk's hair. Did you even pay attention to what I said? Demanded the prick. Naruto looked left and right, as if checking to see if anyone eavesdropped. When he was sure that the one listening was gone, he turned to Sasuk. How about I just say, fuck you, Uchiha? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. Sasuk just glared at him, but knew only Naruto would say that. They continued some more, not having any more problems for some time, until a large gust of wind hit them, forcing Sasuk, Akayo, and Sakura to the ground. Naruto and Shishi, being at the front, were hit head-on and blown away. Akayo, Sasuk, and Sakura looked up to see that Kunoichi from before, the one with the weird tongue. Hello, Sasuk-kun, said the Kunoichi, her tongue lashing out very creepily. With Shishi and Naruto, they landed on a large branch. Naruto's fall softened by landing on something soft. He looked down to find himself sitting on Shishi. Hey, get off, it hurts like hell, shouted Shishi, trying to get out. Naruto stood up and sighed. Great, now we're far away from the other two. Let's just hope Sakura and Akayo are alright, mumbled Naruto, a bit worried. You forgot the team. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. Did I? Shishi chuckled, but sniffed the air. I smell snake instantly. They both jumped off the branch they were on just as a giant snake chomped down on said branch. This thing isn't normal. It's a summon, said Shishi, his voice disappointed. You sound upset. Because someone's underestimating me. What? A giant snake skin belt is gonna stop me. Huh. Watch this, ninja. Naruto watched as Shishi rocketed towards the snake. He didn't expect for the snake to open its mouth wide. Nor did he expect Shishi to jump right into it on purpose. When nothing happened and the snake was ready to attack the Jinchuriki, Naruto sighed and unsealed Red Queen. Better take the idiot out then, he grumbled, revving up his blade. Just then, a large black spike appeared through the back of the snake. Instantly, spikes were all the way from the tip of its tail to the forehead, making them look like weird scales. The spikes retracted, and the snake became limp. From one of the holes jumped out Shishi, looking rather slimy. So what do you think, fishcake? Asked the fox. You're covered in drool. Deadpan Naruto, resealing his sword. Yeah, I can tell. Back with the rest. The Kai the Kunoichi was releasing was enough to make the remainder of Team 7 to see their own deaths. Although Sakura was trembling uncontrollably, Sasuk was trembling and paralyzed, and Akayo seemed tense. My, it seems that the pink head is faring better than you, Sasuk-kun, said the Kunoichi. Sakura tensed as well and gritted her teeth. Focus, focus, damn it, she thought angrily. She opened her canteen with a shaky hand, her hands ready to make hand signs. Just then, the Chunin threw some kunai at them, aiming to kill. Sakura snapped out of it and quickly grabbed Sasuk by the back of his shirt. "Akayo, run!" shouted Sakura. Akayo complied and followed her, barely missing the kunai. Impressive. It seems that girl might be more than just deadweight, thought the nin, running after her prey. Sakura continued to run, not daring to look back. After almost an hour of running, she finally collapsed to her knees, trying to regain her breath. "What the hell was that?" she demanded between pants. I couldn't stop shaking. And I nearly fainted." Sasuk was silent, but was still shaking. Now though, he was furious and glaring at Sakura. Even when he couldn't move, it was the pink bitch that saved his skin in the end. Just then, they heard an amused cackle, one that froze them on the spot. "Kyukyukyukyuku, my, you sure know how to run, little girl. But no matter, Sasuk-kun will be mine soon," said the weird woman. Just then a pair of golden eyes appeared behind her, then the head of a fox. She turned around and jumped, just in time to dodge a chomp to the spot where she was. "What's up, people?" shouted someone familiar. On top of the fox's head was Naruto, kitsune drawn and ready to fight. "Who the hell are you?" demanded Naruto, pointing his sword at the kunoichi. "I don't think it's important right now. I simply came here to toy around," replied the woman, her tongue slithering out again. "Damn, I don't want to know what you do with that," mumbled Naruto, looking at the tongue strangely. Suddenly the woman began to, literally, slither towards Naruto, her hands shooting out and snakes coming out of her sleeves. Naruto decapitated all of them and barely managed to duck a swipe to his head from the kunai the kunoichi had drawn. He tried stabbing her, but she dodged and backed up a bit. Shishi hurried over to Sakura before leaping at her, changing in midair. Sakura stuck her hand out and caught Shishi as he turned into a large blade that seemed unusual and slightly bigger than her. She got into a fighting stance and charged in as well, trying to slice the nin in half. Again, the nin dodged and tried to swipe at Sakura's neck, but another blade detached itself from the one Sakura was holding and she used it to block the attack. Now with two swords, Sakura's attacks became slightly weaker, but twice as fast. The Chunin was intrigued by these foxes. One just turned into a huge fox of about 8 feet in height and nearly ate her whole. Then it turned into a blade that the girl was holding like it was made of a feather. "Not bad. I must say, these foxes you two bosses are interesting." "Are they summons?" asked the kunoichi. "No, they're more like partners," Naruto said, Akayo turning into her katana form and landing on his right hand. "And they're very special." The kunoichi nodded before digging through her weapons pouch. The two genin tensed while Sasuk watched in envy and anger. In his mind, he believed the two foxes should belong to him, and he would see to it that they would. Sakura and Naruto got ready to attack, then saw the kunoichi took out an earth scroll. "Is this what you need?" she asked. Naruto cursed. The one they had was a heaven scroll, so they indeed needed an earth. The Chunin grinned before the scroll was then shoved down her throat. Naruto's tongue was out and he was making gagging noises. Sakura looked just as sickened. "You know, I don't think that's something you should show off, lady," Naruto said, his stomach lurching. But there was something else. He had a bad feeling in the pit of his stomach that something was gonna happen. "Be careful, Naruto-kun. I don't know what the hell she is, but I doubt she's human," warned Kyuubi, her fear for her host rising. Although she was confident Naruto would live through this, she'd have felt a bad feeling inside her. "How about you give me your scroll and you may live?" asked the woman as she bit her finger and spread the blood on her arm. In a puff of smoke, a giant snake like the one Naruto and Shishi found appeared below the woman, said woman standing on top of the snake's head. Naruto's attention was still on the woman. "How about you just leave us alone?" "Heck, where are your teammates?" "I don't need teammates. They will only slow me down," declared the woman, before upchucking a snake, which puked out a sword. Well, that's what Naruto would say if they made it out alive. "Now, I believe you are standing between me and Sasuk-kun. Okay, this is my first time at a real fight." That being said, the kunoichi charged Naruto and attempted to stab him in the stomach. Naruto sidestepped it and made an uppercut with Akayo. The kunoichi jumped back, but didn't expect Akayo to extend and cut a bit of her arm. They traded blows, the sound of swords lashing filling the area. Akayo turned into her fox form before expanding, becoming 7 feet tall. She growled as her tail swung towards the creepy nin, denting the tree where she hit it. Meanwhile, Sakura used Shishi and tried to take down the snake. It nearly ate her, but she managed to slice off a fang and dodge out of the way, landing a few feet from Sasuk. She ran through hand signs and water erupted from her canteen before a small but somewhat long dragon head shot towards the snake. "Water style, dragon head jutsu," shouted Sakura, the dragon slamming into the snake's face. It didn't seem to faze the snake, but it didn't have to. The snake tried again to lunge at Sakura, but she jumped towards it while making more hand signs. She landed on the reptile's head, slammed her hands onto the still wet water. "Water style, burning sauna jutsu," she announced, before jumping off the snake. Instantly, the snake was shaking and writhing in pain as the water on its face began to boil. Since some of it got into its eyes, it was even more painful. Deciding it probably didn't have much of a chance with its face boiling, it dispelled itself. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She had to admit, that was a lot quicker than she expected. Naruto meanwhile kept trying to kill the creepy snake woman. No, wait, Anko already had the title the creepy snake lady. creepy snake weirdo. Yup, that'll do. However, every time he sliced a hand or something, she would peel her skin and regenerate. Well, she kinda just came out of her own mouth, but Naruto still gagged the first time it happened. He made 3 spears out of shadows and threw them at the woman, all of them dodged as she jumped into the air. That's what he wanted though. He made quick hand signs before taking a deep breath. Demonic arts, blazing roar. Naruto shouted, his eyes red and his features feral as he used Kyubai's Yauki. He then blew out a large amount of black fire that headed towards the woman. Still in midair, she was unable to dodge and was burned alive, her screams heard throughout almost half of the forest. She was smashed straight through a tree and exiting the other side to stop on another. Quickly, Shishi turned into his fox form and used his tails to wrap her around the tree, keeping the enemy there as her head hung to cover her face. Now, tell us why you want the prick. Though if you want to rape him then I'll let you, Naruto demanded, making sure the last part wasn't heard by Sasuk. Suddenly, the person began to cackle. Though this time, it sounded more like a male's cackle. Hyukuku, you simply don't cease to surprise me. Though right now, it's all in vain. Suddenly, the woman became brown and melted into mud. Fuck, cursed Naruto, but was too late as he was kicked from behind right on the head. Sakura turned to attack, but was punched in the stomach before kneed in the face, back to being next to Sasuk. Shishi quickly became supersized and stood above Sakura and Sasuk, growling at the nin. Akayo lashed with her tail, but it was dodged and she was hit on the side of the face. When that was done, the nin ran towards Naruto and wrapped his tongue around the blonde. He then lifted Naruto's shirt and murmured, I guess I will have to get rid of the damn fox. Oh well. He went through hand signs and grabbed his right wrist. The fingers glowed with a purple flame before he slammed the fingers onto the seal on Naruto's abdomen. 5-pronged seal. Naruto screamed in pain, then fell limp as the man threw him down, hoping to have the boy fall to his death. Alas, it wasn't meant to be as Akayo tackled the Jinchuriki in midair and began to see if he was severely injured. At this, the nin melted into the ground and disappeared. Just a second later, Sasuk screamed in pain as the same nin appeared behind him, biting into his left shoulder. It was then they noticed that through the shredded skin was another face, this one with pasty white skin and purple below the eyes. Shishi turned around and managed to hit the man with one of his tails, effectively sending him rocketing into another tree. Damn, I have decided I hate trees now, thought the nin as more splinters dug to his flesh. He then began to disappear, his voice echoing. Soon, Sasuk-kun will come looking for me. He will seek more of my power, and there is nothing you can possibly do. With those final words, the man was gone. The following is I'll make that Reaper 7 has no idea if he did God or not. Who the hell are you? Shouted Naruto, pointing his sword at the woman. It's pretty weird how you were saying Sasuk-kun, so I'm guessing you're one of his fangirls that managed to infiltrate the exams. I know you want to kiss your precious Uchiha, but is it necessary to disturb the exams? Now Naruto was genuinely confused. He heard rumors that fangirls have even infiltrated the Uchiha compound and left love notes or something. So it wouldn't be much of a surprise if this was a crazy fangirl that somehow knocked out a real Chunin. So imagine his surprise when the Chunin scoffed and said, I'm nothing like your female population here. They're just a bunch of weaklings, just like the rest of this village. I also think you're a fangirl. How many girls go around saying, Sasuk-kun will be mine soon? Sakura put in her 2 cents. After all, being the WLSX president, she was aware of all her past activities, including breaking and visiting the Uchiha district. That was something she regretted doing now. The Chunin looked at them strangely. Are all females here this unusual? She asked. I should know, I used to be one. Sakura said, her head hanging. Sakura sighed as she watched over her teammates with Shishi watching over the entrance to their small pit stop as Shishi put it. She sighed as she looked worriedly at her teammates. Naruto was in a type of comatose state while Sasuk was having a terrible fever. Damn it, she mumbled, not knowing what to do. Akayo then appeared with 2 rabbits in her mouth, both dead. Thanks Akayo, she said, taking the rabbits from the fox and beginning to skin them. You're welcome, Sakura-chan. Maybe you should rest while me and Shishi take over, suggested the demon, turning into her human form. Go on, I'll wake you up if there's anything wrong. Sakura thanked her and laid down, closing her eyes and letting sleep claim her. 3 Otonin were in the bushes, waiting for the right time to carry out their orders. Though, one of them wasn't as patient. Okay, where the hell did that girl come from? And not only that, where'd the smaller fox go? Demanded a confused Zaku, glaring at the slightly battle-worn Team 7. He was the one who looked like a hobo. Shut up. You want to give away our position. We have orders from Orochimaru-sama to kill the Uchiha, and that's it. It's simple, so let's wait here and attack at dawn, said Dasu, the one with bandages. Maybe we should wait a little longer. Those foxes don't seem normal. And I don't say it just because of their fur, said the only girl nervously. Oh, shut up, Kin. If you're scared, go tell Orochimaru-sama. I'm sure he'd love to use you for one of his experiments, Zaku said, glaring at her. She trembled a bit at the thought, but glared at him nonetheless. She didn't want that to happen anytime soon. Naruto opened his eyes and frowned when he felt a drop of water hit his cheek. He looked around and his frown deepened when he saw that his mindscape returned to that of a sewer. What the hell? He mumbled, standing and looking around. That's when he heard the sound of someone groaning in pain. He walked until he found the room to where Kyubai's cage would be. It was still there, but what he saw was what truly surprised him. The whole room was covered in snakes slithering off of the walls. Some were even wrapping around the pipes holding Kyubai's chakra and cutting it off. But what infuriated him the most were the 5 snakes inside the seal, each one biting into Kyubai's frail form. She was crying and groaning as the snakes kept trying to pull her apart. Naruto's rage grew, causing his eyes to become slightly slitted. "Get your fucking mouths off of her," he shouted, the room trembling. All the snakes stopped and either looked at him or hissed, though the ones holding Kyubai didn't budge. "Did you hear me, you damn shit? Get off." He lunged forward and was about to enter the seal, but all the snakes in the room suddenly covered the seal and began forming something. In a matter of seconds, a snake head appeared in front of him made of smaller snakes. They were pretty big to begin with, but this snake was almost as big as Kyubai. "Foolish ninja. This seal now belongs to me, and I won't simply be disposed of like any other," said the snake, sounding a lot like that man he fought earlier. "I said let go of her. Unless you really want to suffer, you will release her," Naruto said, a bunch of dark yauki swirling around him. On the roof, the blue pipe began to be covered in what appeared to be black water, darkening to the point it almost looked black. In Naruto's right hand appeared Red Queen and he began to rev it up. However, he revved it on the opposite direction, making it glow red. He charged the snake, Red Queen almost a blinding light now. "Fool. You think some sword will be able to—" He never finished his sentence as Naruto stabbed the snake straight in the nose. The snake's eyes widened before its face began to be pulled into the sword like water going down a drain. Soon every snake was gone, including the ones who bit Kyubai. He ran over to her, his mindscape slowly returning to the forest. He didn't notice that the trees that once had green leaves were now black, but slowly returning to normal. "Kayu-chan. Kayu-chan, please, open your eyes," Naruto said, shaking her lightly. Kyubai groaned lightly and opened her red eyes, seeing her container's worried blue orbs. "Naruto-kun, Naruto." She tackled him and hugged his abdomen tightly, fearing that he would leave again. What happened? "I remember that man placing his fingers on your stomach, then everything went blank. All I could feel was pain." She sobbed into his chest. Naruto gently rubbed her back, whispering into her ear loving things. She soon began to calm down and then looked up at Naruto. "How did you break the seal?" "You used that blade, and I don't think blades do that. My mom always wanted to make sure she knew what Pops was up to. So she used the blade and sealed the long-lost technique into it. It literally eats away any seal its wielder wishes gone. Mom wrote something in her journal about finding books from Semiro Sennin and my father's seals," Naruto explained, remembering the journal he found some time ago. Kyubai nodded her head, kissing Naruto lightly on the cheek. "Thank you, Naruto. But I think you should wake up now," she said, smiling at him. She gave him one more hug before he disappeared. Kyubai looked around and noticed that the leaves of the trees were now edged in black. "Shit," cursed Dasu, dodging another shadow spike. It seemed simple enough in the beginning, kill Uchiha, Sasuk, and anyone with him. Uchiha and that other blonde kid were out cold, making it that much easier. And just when they were about to kill the blonde girl and the pink-haired one, said blonde simply disappeared and the smaller fox appeared again. Then the pink head became a dark gray before turning into the larger fox, and the real pink head appearing after the one outside proved to be a henge. Back to the present, Dasu barely managed to dodge the swipe from Sakura when she used the same spike to slice him in half. Zaku tried blasting her with his blowholes, but she kept dodging and slicing him lightly. It was obvious that she was still getting used to the blade that other fox became, but that didn't help the fact that she was nearly skewering them. However, she was slowing down and the Odo team could tell. "Damn, I still haven't worked on my stamina. I better finish this quickly," thought Sakura, already running through hand signs as she blurred out of the Odo Nin's sight. Above them, she finished the hand signs that rocketed to the earth before slamming her arms into the earth. "Shadow style, black spike graveyard jutsu," she shouted. Instantly, the whole place was covered in black spikes, each about 10 feet long and 3 feet thick. The only places that had no spikes were most of the trees, where Naruto and Sasuk were resting, and where Sakura was now crouching down on. Of course, the spikes didn't do anything to Shishi and Akayo. They passed through them like mist. Meanwhile, Zaku was griping his chest while Dasu looked surprised and Kin was afraid for her life. This girl was a lot more stronger than they thought. Slowly, the spikes retreated and became like water before it all drained into the ground below Sakura, straight into her shadow. She began panting before dropping on one knee. "Now's our chance," shouted Zaku, pointing his arms from the tree he was in. He was about to blast her again, but found his holes clogged by the large fox's tail. Said fox smirked at him before bending down until his jaw was next to Zaku's ear. "Say goodnight, ninja," it whispered into Zaku's ear. Zaku probably would have screamed from that the fox talked. However, it felt like something hair-thin was crawling up his air tubes. Then, black spikes began sprouting from his arms, starting at the wrist and going up. In less than 3 seconds, Zaku's arms were completely gone, replaced by what looked like strings of flesh with a hand at the end. Only then did Zaku truly scream, making those around him look at his direction wondering what was wrong. Except for Sakura, who simply didn't want to look. The boy fell from the tree and hit the floor with a weird splotch. Sakura held her eyes closed, before peeking a little. She knew she would have to get used to this sooner or later. Needless to say, her food was soon watering a nearby tree. Both Kin and Dasu were wondering what the hell happened when they all felt a dark and evil aura come from the tree Naruto and Sasuk were in. The Uchiha slowly came out, the left half of his face and body covered in weird tattoos. Well, what do we have here? A party, and one I'm not invited no less. You should know better than to leave an Uchiha out of one, said Sasuk, his eyes blazing with his Sharingan. He noticed the body on the ground and frowned before turning at Sakura. Sakura, who did this? He demanded. Sakura nodded her head to the side and Sasuk looked to see Shishi was there, a grin on his face. Sasuk growled before turning to the other two, who were too shocked to hide themselves. Come on out. Dasu looked over at Kin, seeing that she too was scared. He was about to leave when Sasuk blurred and appeared next to him, his leg raised. Sasuk kicked Dasu on the back, making him tumble into the earth. The Uchiha's eyes were wide as he lost what little mind he had. He punched Dasu again and cracked a few ribs in the process, earning a cry of pain from the genin. Sakura ran through some hand signs and shouted, shadow style, shadow bind jutsu. Chains as dark as midnight erupted from the ground and other shadows before clamping down on Sasuk, effectively stopping him. He turned to Sakura, who still held the hand sign. What the hell are you doing? I need to kill my enemies, shouted Sasuk. Sasuk, stop. You need to calm yourself, yelled Sakura, her arms trembling as she tried to keep the jutsu stable. Shishi and Akayo appeared on either side of the Uchiha and wrapped their tails around him, restraining him further. Sasuk growled in anger and the purple chakra around him began to lash out on the chains and foxes. Shishi and Akayo yelped before jumping away from him, the chains shattering like glass and disappearing into nothingness. Sakura also cried out in pain as the jutsu's backlash hit her. She got up shakily, but her arms were heavy and barely able to move. Sasuk, control yourself, she croaked out. Sasuk ignored her and kicked the down Dasu again in the head, knocking him out. He blurred again and appeared behind Kin before yanking on her hair, earning a yelp of pain from her. And who might you be, wench? Sasuk said with a lecherous smirk. Shishi charged to stop Sasuk again, but the evil chakra lashed out again and cut his side. He jumped back and noticed that his wound is healing a lot slower than usual. Interesting, he thought. He turned to Akayo and said, careful with that chakra. It seems like some bastardized version of Yoki. Akayo nodded and growled at Sasuk. Take off your clothes, ordered Sasuk to the scared Kin. She looked up at him with fear evident on her eyes. You heard me. You're gonna help me rebuild my clan, wench. Might as well have the honor of being the first one. Kin glared at him with all the hatred she could muster. However, when Sasuk glared back, she could have sworn she saw Orochimaru for a second. She nodded shakily before bringing her hands up to her shirt. Her hands were also shaking uncontrollably as she began to unbutton it slowly. Sasuk, being the impatient asshole he was, became impatient and began to do it himself. Finally able to process what was going on, Sakura became pissed. "Sasuke," shouted Sakura. What the hell are you doing? Just leave her alone, her two teammates are already down. There's no need to hurt her as well. Sasuk turned to her and glared, causing her to flinch but continue glaring back. Now she was sure of it. She hated him, every damned cell of him. Call me I was a bitch. I can't believe I could have been with him. I'm glad Naruto set me straight, thought the Pinkette. She was about to fight more, at least to help the girl somewhat. After all, it was clear she didn't want to be with Sasuk. Before she could, the tree Naruto was exploded as said Jinchuriki leaped out, leaping before landing in an all-fours crouching position in the middle of the clearing. He stood up straight before his eyes landed on Sasuk, holding onto the hair of one of the Oto Nin. He looked around and saw a kid knocked out because of blood loss and probably pain. The other was unconscious and on the floor, looking pretty beat up. What caught his attention the most was the girl Sasuk had by the hair, tears streaming down her face. Naruto snarled before turning to the Uchiha. Sasuk, you better have a good reason why that girl is hurt. He growled, his eyes becoming slitted as he could feel a strange Yauki in his system. It felt unusual. No, it felt right. When he used Kyubai's Yauki, it felt like he was using a sword that seemed unbalanced in his arm. This Yauki felt like it was truly meant for him. He grinned, his fangs growing and his whisker marks become more pronounced. I like this. It feels more primal. Naruto's voice became that of a demon, sending chills down everyone's spines. And here I am thinking that it was just a legend, cried Shishi in his mind, a large grin on his face. Naruto sure is an interesting fellow. And now he's a very rare Hanyu. An Abyss Fox. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification. So when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.